Entry 1. Once in the year 2023, they were summoned to another world. More precisely, part of their city was summoned. Entry 103. The place where they were summoned was in a game. The game featured transcendent beings called players, and their city was summoned as a game piece. Entry 224. The players roll the dice and move their pieces forward. Wherever a piece stops, a mission appears. They must complete incredibly difficult and painful tasks. These tasks include battles, investigations, mazes, and the like. The figure must be protected until it reaches the barely existing finish line. This is their task as those who are considered part of it. Record 743, piece number 76. And he failed. The defeated figures are destroyed, and they share the same fate as the figure. That is why he is leaving this record. He does not know if these records will be passed on to anyone, but he hopes that they will help prevent the fate that awaits them. The most important thing is that they do not go against the players for any reason, no matter how strong their abilities or weapons are. In the end, people are just pawns in this game against creatures. Time passed, and one of the players found the notes. He considers these strategies to be quite good, although he already knows everything, except for one thing. The players can still be defeated, of course, if you have a good reference book with you. He is not going to suffer meekly in anticipation of his death, just because of some stupid game. Before he returns to his world, he will deal with the players and this game. That will be their end. That day was as ordinary and quiet as any other. No one expected it to be the last peaceful day in history. People did not understand what was happening and thought it was an earthquake or a terrorist attack. Part of their city had been transported into the game. In a panic, people tried to call someone, but there was no connection. The boy thought about spatial displacement. Could the plots of the novels and webcomics he read have become reality? A moment later, a notification screen appeared in front of everyone. They received a message that the game had started and they needed to throw a dice. The boy didn't understand what was going on. The girl noticed that something was flying towards them and decided to warn everyone. They saw a huge dice. When the number 3 appeared on it, they received a notification that figure number 8 had to move forward 3 squares. The ground began to move. Among the people who got caught up in the game were children. The boy told his mother that he was scared. No one understood what was happening. The boy realized that they had been called into the game, but they weren't players. They were pieces. He thought that the player was a creature who threw the dice. They, or rather their city, were just pieces chosen by the player. But if someone needed a piece, they could have called only the city. But then why were they moved along with him? After that, he received a notification that they were on the defense field. The difficulty and duration of the defense are set, and they need to roll the dice. The first level of difficulty was chosen. The defense lasts 3 days. The map was summoned, and they noticed that land appeared in front of them. No one understands what is happening. Everyone received a notification that the mission was about to begin. The game ends when all of their bases are destroyed. If the game ends, the character dies. One of the guys shouted what would happen to them in that case. Everyone started shouting that this was some kind of madness and begging to be taken back, but there was no point. If communication was important, they would have talked to them from the beginning. The best thing they can do is focus on these announcements. They received a notification that residents would be given basic equipment. Residents were asked to throw away their dice. Everyone received a cube with 100 sides. The items were distributed, and they all have a certain class. Normal, magical, heroic, legendary, and mythical are the highest. A man noticed that something was approaching them. They don't think it's rescuers. Then they saw that they were monsters. People began to run away and call for help. The monsters caught up with them and attacked. The boy realized why the people were needed. They were soldiers who had to protect the figure so that it could continue moving toward its goal. It was a game of dice with creatures that could be gods or demons. The boy was hit by a monster and knocked unconscious. A moment later, a girl appeared in front of them and destroyed all the monsters. People don't understand who she is. This girl is a character named Go-Hee-Ju. She is a normal resident and is at the first level. Her weapon is the Empirical Flame Dragon Fang, a legendary spear. It allows its owner to use the power of the Empirical Flame Dragon. She told everyone who was injured to run to Namsan Tower. The military and police formed a line of defense, and she told them to throw their dice as quickly as possible. The boy asked if it was that cube. Go-Hee-Ju replied that if you throw the cube, it will turn into equipment according to the number that comes up. Those with ordinary equipment should retreat, and those with equipment higher than magic should help her. The people threw the dice and, as she said, received their weapons, but they still didn't understand what was happening. But they decided to do as she said and raise their weapons. On that day, they lost their ordinary lives, and they began to lead a completely unusual life. On the first day of the new year, a huge number of people died and heroes were born. The character Chui Yul, who is at the first level, has the class of an ordinary resident. Here, in the 8th figure, he became the strongest. The others probably called him the worst trash. He dropped his dice and the number 100 fell out. He received the Demon King's Book of Personal Gain. The book contains a magical text of the mythical class. Cho Yul received permission to use the library of the Demon King Krasen, who desires everything and anything. This allows him to view all possible information. He can also find out the location of items, secret events, information about monsters, maps, and objectives at the start of a mission. But Krasina is the embodiment of monopolistic desire, so all the rewards earned by those who survive using the knowledge from this text will go to him. The owner of Krasina's book will receive all the rewards. 3 hours after the start of the defense mission, 3,102 people were killed. The number of wounded is 7,023. One base has been destroyed. Go Hyeju asked if that was all. The people were happy that they had survived. They had managed to win. They think she is simply a goddess. The Korean army arrived. The soldiers asked the wounded and civilians to get into the truck. They are evacuating them to the Namsan Tower. The commander told Go Hyeju that she did a good job, and she replied that it was nothing, but he noted that she had bought them time. Thanks to this, the army and police were able to mobilize and were sent to different areas. The character's name is Kwon Jae-yoon. He has the class of an ordinary citizen. He is an inquisitor of the cult and received a heroic class held in helmet. Thanks to his iron faith, the owner does not fall into a state of confusion, fear, or surprise. Go Hyeju asked if everything was over, and he replied that the mobile network and the internet were down, so it was difficult to assess the situation. They use shortwave radios to stay in touch, so they'll soon get info on what's happening everywhere. In the meantime, they head for the Namsan Tower, but Cho Yul stops them and says that it's not over yet. The boss will appear soon. That's what it says in this book. It contains information about the mission, the monsters, and the current progress. He offered to let them take a look, but they said there was nothing there, and they couldn't see anything. Go Hyeju asked if it was a manual that only this guy could read. Kwon Jae-yoon replied that he thought it was probably a reference book. He thought to himself that if that was the case, then the item was too powerful. Information is power. Kwon Jae-yoon asked if he could explain in more detail. He needed proof that the contents of the book were true. Chae Yul found information about his class and said that Helden's helmet was a heroic class item. It was one of 6 items in a set. Its owner was Kwon Jae-in. There were 21 days left until his retirement. Kwon Jae-yoon was surprised that it was a set. About Go Hyeju, he said that she had a legendary weapon, the Prometheus Flame Dragon's Fang. Unexpectedly, she loves to sing one song at karaoke. Go Hyeju told him to stop. This surprised her. The book even contains personal information, and it must be true. In fact, her love for singing one song was a secret. Kwon Jae-yoon agreed. He believes that this book is really like a reference book. If so, then their boss is really waiting for them. Kwon Jae-in said that they had tested the capabilities of this item. He will contact headquarters, so he asks them to wait a little longer. Some people sometimes think that if this world were a game, he would probably be a character with a flaw. Because the problems of this world are too easy for him. That's why they made him like this so he couldn't get out. It's as if a programmer found a bug and isolated it. Maybe one day he will be able to get out. Chae Yul didn't hear them calling him right away. Kwon Jae-yoon said he had received permission from headquarters. It was a risk for them, but they decided there was no other plan, and there was no time to lose. Headquarters had decided to trust his information. Therefore, he asked for as much information and countermeasures as possible. Kwon Jae-yoon agreed with him. Chu Yeol agreed, and asked how he could be heard. Then he said that he would now tell him about the defensive mission. In this mission, they must defend the base from monsters that attack every 6 hours. At the end of each wave, a boss appears. A 2-headed ogre of the first difficulty level. It uses melee combat and magic simultaneously. Thus, they win if they defend the base 4 times a day, 12 times in 3 days, and defeat the wave boss. He has all the information about the mission. If they use it and work out a strategy together, they will definitely survive. After that, he will look for a way to return to their original world. Go Hyeju was surprised that this man was thinking about more than just the mission, but also about what would happen next. Chae Yul said that now he would begin. He still needed to check everything, the things he couldn't see while he was unconscious. He reviewed the information about the Krasina book. It monopolizes all the rewards of those to whom the information was passed on, and the circle of those in the know includes not only those who heard the information from him, but also people who passed it on after hearing rumors and the like, any information that starts with him. Under his leadership, they defeated the boss. Kwon Jae-yoon reported that the first wave was over. The 8th figure recorded the total population as 193,256 people. The number of victims of personal gain was recorded. Their number was 176,542 people. 91% of the population was registered as victims in just 1 day, and this was the beginning of his sins that would never end. Until the very last moment of this game, the defensive mission is similar to tower defense games. Monsters move towards bases that must be destroyed. The players form an army to stop them. The battle continued, and Cho Yul gave instructions on what to do. First, you need to attack the monsters with long-range weapons that can hit a large area. While reloading, let them start the second wave and also use the second long-range weapon. At the first level of difficulty, the monsters have no intelligence, therefore they can be forced to move in the direction you want. You need to inflict as much damage as possible on the monsters, and they will split up. Then send in the squads with the best equipment. They will allow them to destroy these monsters. Choyul said to maintain the same position, especially in places where more people are needed. Choyul noticed that Krasina's book was updating information about the situation in real time. All he had to do was think about what he wanted to see and turn the page, and the information would automatically appear. With it, he could handle anything. He warned everyone to be on alert and told them what equipment would be suitable for keeping their distance. He also said that monsters would appear from the alley on the left in 30 seconds. He, like everyone else, would be able to survive. Kwon Jae-eun said that the operation was over and that the third squad should survey the area. His subordinate reported the situation to Choa Yuriul. Initially, the final decision was left to the commanding officer after considering Choa Yuriul's proposal. But now Kwon Jae-eun had the impression that Choi Yuriul was in command. He said that the book only contained data, then it was just a matter of his ability to control the entire city. Or was it another ability of the book? Cho Yul turned to Sergeant Kwon. He asked what was going on. Cho Yul replied that everything was almost over. Kwon Jae-eun asked if the boss of the last wave was approaching, and he replied that it was, but not to worry, because Go Hee-ju would take care of him in one fell swoop. After that, the giant monster boss Billy of the first difficulty level appeared before them. The giant was born weak and therefore abandoned by his relatives. He is very large but has no fighting power. Chu Yul asked Go Hee-ju if she was awake, and she asked why they didn't wake her up. Kwon Jae-eun said that they had just run out of signal flares. Go Hee-ju asked what was going on. Choi Yul said that was why they were there. If they went to the city, the bases would be destroyed in an instant. The good news was that he was very slow. He was also unstable in every way. Therefore, they could defeat him if they simply rained attacks down on him. Go Hee-ju said that they were the only ones there. Choe Yuriul replied that it wasn't them, only her. Go Hee-ju asked what she should do. He replied that items of a higher class than heroic have a hidden ability. Certain conditions must be met. When these conditions are met, its form may change, or a hidden skill may be activated. To unlock this ability, they must fulfill these conditions. But this book shows him all the conditions for all items. Go Hee-ju went on the offensive and asked if he was sure. Choi-yul replied that he was sure and that she should trust him in the book. She said that she didn't really like the idea, but she believed him. The monster struck her, and Kwon Jae-eun was frightened for her, but Chae-yul said that she was fine. All conditions had been met. She activated her hidden skill, Prometheus's Fang, and summoned the empirical dragon of Prometheus's Flame. This could only be done once per mission. With the help of her hidden skill, she struck the monster. Kwon Jae-eun thought that if they had used this skill in the city, the damage would have been enormous. But what's more dangerous is that it's from Choi Yuriul's book. Choi Yuriul asked Go Hee-ju if she was okay, and noticed that it was very hot there. Kwon Jae-eun believes that the book contains too much dangerous information. If used incorrectly, the consequences would be catastrophic. They received notification that the defense mission was complete. Residents outside the city would be returned. A reward will be given to those who survived. Everyone began to shout the names of Choi Yul and Go Hee-ju. 300 points will be awarded for completing the mission. 25% of the points are lost for the destroyed base, resulting in a total of 225 points. Contributions for fighting monsters, defending the base, and battling the wave boss will be awarded after calculation. An item shop has also been opened to all players. For 10 points in the store, you can heal yourself and remove all negative statuses. Lost body parts can be restored for 20 points. The girl told everyone to choose treatment first. Choi Yul was happy that now everything would be fine with the wounded, but then he noticed that his points had disappeared. Everyone received a notification that all rewards had been cancelled due to the personal gain sacrifice effect. Their accounts now had 0 points. People did not understand what this meant, why they had not received any points, and what personal gain was. They asked for their points back, because people are dying here. Go Hee-ju asked Chae Yura what was going on, and he replied that he didn't know either. Then everyone received a notification that by sacrificing 10% of the population, the reward would be doubled. And if they sacrificed 20% of the residents, the reward would be tripled. If they sacrificed 90% of the residents, the reward would be increased 100-fold. The highest number of points earned during the mission was announced. In third place was So In-sok. He had 312 points. Second place went to Kang Sung-won with 1,402 points. In first place is Choi Yul. He received the most points, 9,968,844,850 points. People began to ask why he had so many points. They were sure that it was a sacrifice for personal gain, and that it was definitely his doing. He did it to get all the points for himself. Choi Yul said that wasn't true. He didn't know the book had that ability. Kwon Jae-yoon told everyone to calm down because they needed to treat the wounded first. He thought that points could be exchanged or transferred. He asked if it was possible to divide them among the people, if he did not do it intentionally. Choi Yul tried to transfer the points, but due to the Demon King's thirst for monopoly, he was unable to do so. Christina refuses to exchange or give away items or points. He doesn't understand what this skill is, and people are shouting at him to give them back their points right now. He decides to try to buy healing items to share them with the people. But again, he received a notification that Christina refuses to exchange or give away items or points. Choi Yul told Go Hae-ju to burn the book, thinking that if they threw it away, everything would be fine. But then he noticed that the book was intact and undamaged. People asked for at least 10 points for treatment. People were dying and were angry at Choi Yul. They said they trusted him and now they wanted to destroy him. Choi Yul told Sergeant Kwon that the number of victims was growing and the residents were angry, but there had to be a way, at least something that would help. Kwon Jae-yoon pointed his gun at him and said that was enough and that it would be better this way. He decided that he had to be arrested. People shouted about what arrest he was talking about and demanded that he give them all his awards. They shouted that this fraudster must be destroyed. Go Hae-ju asked them to calm down. Then Kwon Jae-yoon said he had to run away. He should get out of there and find a way to fix everything. That was the best thing they could do right now. So he should run away right now. People noticed that he was trying to do something and shouted that he had to be stopped. Choi Yul increased the agility in the store 3 times. After that, he ran away. People were angry that he ran away. Then everyone received a notification that the next move would begin in 24 hours. People were confused, not understanding why everything would start so quickly. Kwon Jae-yoon told them to hurry to safe areas. The wounded were to be taken to cars. Those who were ready to fight should stand on the left, and those who wanted to evacuate should stand on the right. People should also regularly check their status windows and not leave the evacuation center. They should remember the locations of temporary bases, and also other evacuation centers. If they see Choi Yul, they should run away immediately and report his location to them. They need to quickly cover their ears and run as fast as they can. If they hear any advice from him about an attack, they should isolate themselves until the mission is over. If anyone becomes a victim of personal gain but conceals it, they will be considered in violation of the law. Those who conceal this will be punished accordingly. After a while, a new move began. The player must roll the dice. The 8th piece must move forward 4 squares. The piece landed on the Demon King's seal. This means that demonic columns will appear. They removed the seals and the guards of the columns. All demonic columns must be destroyed. If they are not destroyed within a certain time, the Demon King will be summoned. The mission time, number of columns, and difficulty of the column guards are set. The mission will last 5 days. There will be 3 columns. The difficulty of the first column guard is level 1. It is a doomed fallen angel wandering in search of its lost destiny. The second guard column is also level 1. It is a mad brain creature that cannot stop creating things. The more time passes, the better his creations become. The third guard column has a difficulty level of 3. This is the boss, the goblin swordmaster Jack the Swordsman. He has reached the pinnacle of martial arts and undergone a physical transformation. He is trying to remove the seal of the Demon King to challenge him. Kwon Jae-yoon was informed that the residents had begun to attack. The squad tried to stop them, but they are uncontrollable. Kwon Jae-yoon said that they should also go on the attack and asked about Go Hae-ju. His subordinate reported that she had already left. Kwon Jae-yoon thought that the perfect system and coordination had been destroyed in just 1 day. Go Hae-ju decided that before anyone died, she had to destroy the 3rd level guard. She tried to attack him, but the Goblin Jack stopped her attack. Then he struck her. At that moment, Choi Yul appeared. He caught her, and Go Hae-ju asked if he had returned. He asked if she had anything to pass on to the people. She asked what exactly. Choi Yul replied that he would use all their rewards himself. Go Hae-ju asked if he was serious. He said to tell them never to show their faces to him again if they didn't want their awards to be taken away. There was no way to return the awards to the people or get rid of the Demon King's book. He decided to buy stats with points. The game system asked him to name the stat and the amount he wanted to increase it by. Choi Yul said to raise all stats to the maximum. Everyone received a notification that Choi Yul was the first to max out his stamina, intelligence, wisdom, agility, health, and luck. He asked how many equipment cubes he had and received a notification from the system that he had a total of 423,512. Choi Yul said to get rid of all equipment below the magic class and automatically discard those that would give equipment above the heroic class. The dice roll ended and the obtained equipment was initialized. The number of legendary class dice was 142. The number of heroic class equipment is 1,023 units. He decided that if he couldn't get rid of them, he would use them for his own benefit. All these rewards and the power of the Demon King. He will protect this city in this game and return to his previous life. If this is the only way to redeem his sins, he doesn't care if people treat him badly. When the goblin swordsman Jack notices a strong opponent, he smiles and prepares to attack. Choi Yul apologized and said he didn't have time to play with him right now. He used his magical air shoes. They help him jump and glide with a force similar to flight. With their help, he can change direction in the air and move freely. However, mana is consumed continuously. Choi Yul said he would return soon and told him to wait for him there. Go Haiju was surprised that he just left, and then she noticed the goblin. She realized that he was really going to wait for him. Could it be that this goblin guard, Jack, doesn't attack first? In other words, he won't attack until he is attacked. Choi Yul decided that this was why he had to deal with the other column guards first. The people were angry that he had returned and wasted all their points. They knew this would happen and wanted to destroy him. Choi Yul learned that the unique traits of the column guards are revealed when certain conditions are met. Some of them make them weaker, but if the wrong condition is fulfilled, they become stronger, or a trait is unlocked that is unpleasant to deal with. When this Pillar Guardian destroys 100 people, it will turn into a fallen angel that will destroy all of humanity. The Guardian will become much stronger and leave the column to destroy people. Therefore, he must first get rid of the Guardian columns. They have possible undesirable traits and will simply unlock the traits necessary for the mission. The main thing is not the fact of completing the mission, but how to complete it. Kwon Jae-eun gave the order to stay 500 meters away from the columns until they find out what Choi Yul's intentions are. He wondered if he had failed to find a way to return their rewards, or if he had simply decided not to return them. But Choi Yul didn't seem like a bad guy, and he shouldn't have made a decision based solely on his feeling. A smart man like him had all this power and could conquer the entire city if he wanted to. Even Go Haiju, who seemed to be helping to restrain Choi Yul, became uncontrollable. So would they be able to complete this mission? Kwon Jae-eun noticed something strange and asked what it was. His subordinate asked if he was okay. They noticed that Choi Yul had landed and destroyed the first guard. In his hands, he held a weapon called the Divine Split. It was a legendary sword. It was a fragment of the blade that once divided heaven and earth and created this world. It had lost most of its power. The weapon turns the severed parts of monsters into objects. Kwon Jae-eun said that he had defeated the Pillar Guard. He did not expect to see him, but Choi Yul did not respond and simply disappeared. Kwon Jae-eun thought that he was not speaking out of personal gain. This gives the impression that he has no bad intentions. A subordinate told Sergeant Kwon that the column guard was still alive. The system announced that the condition for unlocking a unique trait had been met. It was necessary to take the wings and halo from the doomed fallen angel. The unique decay trait was unlocked, and a second-level decay beast appeared before them. The beast lost its faith and fell into sin. God no longer looked upon this creature. Kwon Jae-eun thought about the soldiers' miserable lives. There were only 3 monsters in this mission. This means that in terms of difficulty, they are equal to an entire horde. Is he really leaving such a monster for them? Then he told them to call for reinforcements and reported their current location. The soldiers immediately attacked the monster. The soldiers were frightened and began to flee. The system reported a negative fear status. The desire to fight changed to the desire to flee from the enemy. Everyone fled and began to call for help. Kwon Jae-eun attacked the monster, realizing that he needed to lure it away from them, at least until reinforcements arrived, if he could hold out until then. Kwon Jae-eun didn't notice that the monster was right behind him. He attacked it and struck it. Chu Yeol said that one was taken care of. Kwon's helmet activated a hidden skill thanks to the conditions being met. The system notified him of the activation of Heldon's ghost skill. It activates when the owner is on the verge of death. The skill is activated if he is attacked by a dark or decaying monster. At the same time, he is possessed by the ghost of Heldon, the heretic inquisitor. It lasts for 10 minutes. All equipment and skills gain divinity. Kwon Jae-eun spoke the words of the goddess's sword to the demon. Iron Club of the Goddess to those who have fallen. When the skill is activated, the owner loses their mind and attacks all dark or decaying monsters. Fanatic mode is also activated for all members of the squad. Choi Yul thought that this was even scarier than he had expected. Before that, Battalion Commander Colonel Kim Seong asked Sergeant Kwon if he understood correctly. He is giving him the vehicles, but he is on his own. Kwon Jae-eun asked if this was too generous for a mere sergeant. Kim Song called him brave. He likes that. Someone like him had the courage to be so straightforward with the battalion commander. But they have almost no information about the current situation. At times like these, they need nothing more than a calm observer. Someone calm and level-headed. Someone who always looks cool. Someone capable of making the right decision in an unpredictable situation. A cold, rational observer. Kwon Jae-eun told everyone to attack in the name of the goddess. His subordinates' weapons were imbued with divine power. Battalion Commander Kim Seong was confident that he was perfect for the role. As expected, he had a good sense of such things. Quan Jae-yoon and his subordinates defeated the monster. Choi Yul said he was right. The guard's stability had been reduced. So much so that even Sergeant Kwan's squad was able to defeat him. Even after decomposing, his stability remained the same. The independent reconnaissance squad made the greatest contribution to the victory over the decomposing monster guarding the first column. During the transformation of the decomposing monsters into new creatures, Choi Yul's progress in the case of the doomed fallen angel also disappeared. Sergeant Kwan also became the strongest participant and received all the glory. Choi Yul asked the Goblin Jack what he thought about it. The inability to speak was a little disappointing, but at least he was listening to him. Choi Yul suggested they have a bet. If he wins, he will destroy the seal of the Demon King. Meanwhile, the battle with the anti-human machine continued. After calling for help, Go Hee-ju arrived at the second column, but there was no end to them. Moreover, they continued to improve. She has to deal with this before it gets more dangerous, but there are too many of them, so she tells the people to retreat immediately. But they don't understand why, because they also need points. Moreover, she has legendary items, and they need to collect points. Some of them need to collect points to save their family. He won't let them die in vain like last time. Therefore, the column guard will be theirs. The boy used a crossbow of the Aaron Kingdom's magic class. The more items from the Aaron Royal Army the group members have, the higher their attack power. But the guard of the second column repelled the attack and attacked them in return. Go Hee-ju protected them and told them to run away immediately. They immediately fled. The monster of the second column found a risk factor and began scanning Go Hee-ju. He analyzed her body and magical abilities. He also scanned her character level and other data. After completing the scan, he began to create an anti-machine for Go Hee-ju. Go Hee-ju realized that he was making another new machine, so she had to stop him. Then she noticed that the machines were targeting her. But that was even better for her. She used her ability and asked everyone to move back as quickly as possible. Everyone started to run away. The guy yelled that she would destroy them all here. Go Hee-ju said that this other world was not so simple. In front of her appeared an anti-machine Go Hee-ju with a second level of difficulty, resistant to fire and equipped with a dragon fighter. The machine caused more damage to Go Hee-ju, automatically finding her and chasing her. The machine immediately attacked her. A moment before she passed out, she saw Che Yura, but didn't understand what he was doing. The anti-machine lost its target but found traces and began tracking. The conditions for unlocking the characteristics were met. The condition was to destroy the brain of the Mad Brain's owner. The Mad Order characteristic was unlocked. This is a repeat of the creation of the last item created. The speed of creation and volume are doubled. Manufacturing will not stop until the main target is destroyed. Che Yul thought that destroying the base took longer than expected. Too many people hid in fear. People tried to destroy the first column, but it proved too strong. They lacked firepower. Near the second column, people continued to fight the machines. The wounded retreated because if they died, it would be the end. Reinforcements arrived. Goblin Jack could easily get rid of them all, but there was no point in doing so. They had to win the game, not just this mission. To do that, the whole city had to become stronger, and most importantly, they needed to find a talented commander and champion. Go Hee-ju came to her senses and asked the goblin if he had saved her. He told her to be quiet, and she apologized, saying she was just surprised. But then she was even more surprised and asked if he was talking. Go Hee-ju thought he was ignoring her. Goblin Jack said that he had taken care of her wounds and that they didn't have much time, so they needed to start right away. Go Hee-ju asked what exactly they should start with. He replied that Che Yul said that meeting a great teacher after a crushing defeat and becoming stronger was a cliché. Meanwhile, the anti-machine found its target, and the distance to the target was 325 meters. It began to eliminate it. Cho Yul stopped the machine's attack and said that it had been caught again. He used the heroic class Mad Brain Connection keychain. He disorients the monsters with the machine's attribute and disarms panic traps and devices. The machine tried to lock onto the target. Choi Yul said that it might be somewhere there, and the machine fired, destroying the column. Then Choi Yul said that it was great. With that amount of damage, it should work. He thanked the machine. Then he said that it seemed like the problem was solved with its help, and asked about returning to the hideouts. Goblin Jack told Go Hee-ju to try using that power and not to forget that it wasn't her power. Abusing it would only hurt her. So instead of blindly borrowing so much power, she should use only as much as she could handle. She should not be controlled by the power, but rather control the power herself. Go Hee-ju asked if Che Yul was betting on her being able to defeat the robot. Goblin Jack nodded, and she asked if it was possible. He didn't answer, and she thought his silence was discouraging. He asked why she let him teach her. Was it because she trusted Che Yul, or was it simply because she needed to become stronger? Go Hee-ju replied that she didn't know herself. This was a mission game. There were many things she didn't understand, and she wasn't smart enough to find the answers. She just thought that she wanted to work on her body first, and if she continued to do so, she would be able to see something new. Goblin Jack thought that Che Yura was just using her, but in reality, she is simply a martial arts master who is following her own path. Go Hyaju thanked him for teaching her. He thought he should take teaching seriously. 3 days had passed since the start of the mission. The people sitting in the shelter didn't know when it would all end. The girl asked if they shouldn't go out and help. The boy said she was crazy. What if they lost points again? She asked, what if they failed the mission because they didn't help? They started arguing, but they were asked to be quiet. Then people heard a noise. A car burst in. Anti-car. Go Hyaju was trying to find Go Hyaju. She said that the target had been found and she was starting the elimination. Then the anti-machine began its attack and said that the target was moving. The people did not understand what was happening. They began to run away and call for help. The anti-machine said that the target had been hit and the elimination was complete. Then it jammed Go Haiju's signal. Go Haiju appeared before them, and the people said that this couldn't be happening. Was it really an angel standing before them? The conditions for the special event had been met. According to the conditions, they had to become apprentices to the Goblin Swordmaster Jack and inherit his martial arts skills. The reward was heroic class equipment, or higher, and the passive skill of a swordmaster's apprentice. She received illusory decaying heroic class armor. Goblin Jack asked why this armor was specifically for girls. After all, he had used it before. Chui Yul asked what the chances of success were, and he replied that it was 50-50. She possesses the armor of the best fencer in the Larnian Empire. The armor's defense increases depending on the amount of fire element equipment the character is wearing. This metal machine may be her sworn enemy, but now she has inherited the martial arts of the goblin. Goblin Jack thinks that if the seeds he planted bloom on time, this crazy monster will no longer be a problem for her. Because she has acquired the skill of a swordmaster's apprentice, her mastery of melee weapons is growing faster. 3 days, 15 hours, and 34 minutes after the start of the mission, the first column was destroyed. 3 days, 17 hours, and 21 minutes after the start of the mission, the guard of the second column was also destroyed. 3 days, 21 hours, and 1 minute after the start of the mission, the special anti-machine monster AGM was also defeated. 3 minutes into the 4th day of the mission, most of the residents returned to the game. When 4 days, 3 hours, and 44 minutes had passed since the start of the mission, the second column was also destroyed. At that moment, people thought they had done it. They had completed the first mission without the help of Chui Yul. That's what they thought. Goblin Jack said that his student had won, so he would keep his promise, although there was still a long way to go. Chui Yul almost forgot about it and said that now it was his turn. Meanwhile, Colonel Kim Sung contacted Sergeant Kwan. He noted that he had sent him to scout the area, but he had returned as a general. Kwan Jae-un apologized, and he asked if an apology was appropriate. But it didn't matter. He should provide protection to the wounded and go about his business. He would take responsibility. He would promote him. If he did well with this task, Kwan Jae-un wanted to say that he didn't need it, and realized that he missed his mother. Go Haiju said they had to go, and he asked if she was sure everything would be okay. She replied that she had promised her master. When they meet again, they will be enemies. Kwan Jae-un thought that this was a completely different story, and wondered if he could win. A third-level monster that even Go Haiju couldn't handle. Many would die regardless of the outcome. He was curious about what Chui Yul was thinking. They saw that the seal of the Demon King had been destroyed. Its destroyer was Chui Yul. As a result, the mission objective was changed. They must destroy the Demon King. If they fail, the game will be over. They don't understand what he's thinking and consider him crazy. Goblin Jack also didn't expect him to actually do it. In his opinion, there were many interesting people this time. He launched an attack against the monsters and said that it was a gift and homework. He will leave it to his protege, so his student should make an effort for the next time their paths cross. Chui Yul received the halo of a fallen angel. It is a legendary accessory that protects the character in the demon realm and in hell. Getting here turned out to be easier than he thought. He asked the Demon King if he was acquainted with the Demon King of Personal Gain, Krasen. The Demon King of Power, Kutumba, replied that he had never heard that name before, but how did a human get here? He has a 6th level difficulty and enjoys destroying things with his bare hands. He absorbs his defeated opponents to strengthen his fists. Chui Yul said that it seemed to him that the Demon Kings interacted with each other. He was unlucky, and it would probably take some time. Then he apologized for distracting him from his meal and noted that his opponent was already leaving and to wait a little longer. The Demon King of Power, Kutumba, said that he felt a little uncomfortable and then tried to attack him but was injured. Chui Yul said that his instincts told him that this was against the rules. Kutumba asked how this could have happened. He replied that it was just a misunderstanding and asked him to calm down. Kutumba asked how a pathetic human dared to speak to him like that. Meanwhile, the Goblin Jack arrived. Chui Yul asked if he wanted to switch places with him, and he replied that he could, but he didn't think his opponent wanted that. Chui Yul said that was true. Then Kutumba struck him, thinking that everything had gone wrong at the last minute. If Goblin Jack had fought the Demon King one-on-one, the hidden event of the martial artist's destiny would have been fulfilled. As a result, he would seek mutual destruction with the Demon King. Mutual destruction is an attack in which one is prepared to die together with the opponent. When this happens, the rewards for completing the quest should increase dramatically, and all the inhabitants would receive a lot of points. But there is nothing to be done here, so he will just wait until people collect their hunting points and finish everything before anyone dies. Chu Yeol used Einherjar's combat jacket. It is legendary armor for warriors and battles of gods. It increases defense depending on health. Kwon Jae-yoon told his people to evacuate those inside and not let the monsters get to them. These monsters do not have great combat power, but there are too many of them and they will not last long. Their claws cause great damage. Chu Yeol became the enemy of an entire city just for breaking the seal of the Demon King. If anyone dies today, he will be to blame. Go Hyaju was looking for the hideout. The boy said that this was the hideout from which the distress signal was coming. Go Hyaju replied that they had finally found it. She immediately went on the attack and then started shouting at people to hurry up and come here. The boy said that if only that madman Chue Yeol hadn't broken the seal, they would have already completed their mission. What was he thinking? The girl asked Go Haeju if she was really going to ignore it. She thought she would be angry when she heard what they had to say about her boyfriend. But it turned out that she was even more cold-blooded than she seemed. This girl's name is Kang Ji-woo. She has the class of an ordinary citizen. Go Haeju asked who said he was her boyfriend. Kang Ji-woo replied that it didn't matter and that it was up to her. Kang Ji-woo gave her a cookie and said that she was saying that he wasn't her boyfriend. She added that it was a thank you for saving her, so she wants to thank them in advance for taking them to a safe place. Go Haeju replied that of course they would. Then she took out the cookies, but there was only half left. Meanwhile, Chae-yul continued to fight with Katumbaba. Goblin Jack told him to back off and asked him what was wrong with it. Was he starting to like him, or was that not the case? Chue-yul replied that if they met in another world, he might invite him out for a drink. Goblin Jack immediately launched an attack. Then Chue-yul thought that he even felt a little sorry, but it was too late to activate his martial arts destiny. Even if he had more time, he would feel too guilty. Then he received a notification about the activation of a hidden skill. The system notified him that his friendship with the Swordmaster Goblin Jack had reached its maximum level, and the hidden skill Beauty had been activated. Goblin Jack told Katumba that he was still the Demon King. Therefore, it was time to use his last move. He thought he had to make a final move that would end his life for the sake of his friend and student. But Chue-yul stopped him and destroyed him himself. He received a notification that the Demon King Katumba had been destroyed. Chue-yul made the greatest contribution. All the summoned monsters were destroyed. Goblin Jack noticed that he was also beginning to disappear. Chue-yul acquired the skill to summon the 4 rulers and can now make a contract with a guardian spirit. To do this, she must have maximum friendship or fear rating. Chue-yul decided to take advantage of this opportunity. The system asked if he was sure he wanted to make a contract with the guardian spirit, the Swordmaster Goblin Jack. After that, Chue-yul said that he was a traitor to humans and an ally of monsters. It seems that he is losing his humanity more and more. At the end of the mission, the rewards were calculated. First place went to Chue-yul. He received 223,245 points. Second place went to Go Haeju. She received 4,543 points. In third place was Kwon Jae-yoon. He received 3,245 points. Kang Ji-woo became curious whether he was a child or the remnant of a huge bomb. Kwon Jae-yoon thought about how he didn't know much about games, but he could say that the game was lost in the defense of one base with a large number of troops. In that case, is it possible for an absolute unit to exist? Even if he has the maximum level, is there a higher unit, one capable of destroying even the most powerful Demon King? Could this be a phenomenon that the game could allow? The game system notified the creature of the detection of an anomalous unit and offered to choose an action to take against the object. It could be summoned, destroyed, postponed, or discarded. The creature decided to destroy it. At that moment, Chue-yul felt as if he was being watched. The game system displayed an error and was unable to execute the destruction command. Therefore, it returned to the previous window and began a thorough check of the selected object. The creature decided to hide the object. From this moment on, other players would not be able to see the selected object. After that, the creature continued the game. At the end of the mission, the results of the award cube research were announced. The boy used the announcer's voice. This is a magic tool that transmits the user's voice over a long distance. The range depends on the user's mana. The boy reported that there are 7 types of cubes, and they differ depending on the type of number on them. There is a 4-sided cube. It has a normal class. The hexagonal and octagonal cubes are magical. The decagonal, dodecagonal, and icosahedral cubes can also be heroic. In addition, the 20-sided dice can belong to the legendary class. There is also a 100-sided dice. After the first mission, it did not appear. Weapons, equipment, and tools are completely random. Kwon Jae-yoon thought that high class and usefulness do not necessarily go hand in hand. holding a heroic class spoon of destiny in his hand, which returns to its owner even when lost. He heard someone looking for a long-range damage dealer. Some people were also looking for people to protect the evacuation center. He asked Go Hee-ju if she was really going. She replied that she was. She thinks she has no place in the army. Many people are still hiding in fear, and she wants to help them. But of course she will help on the spot, and he doesn't need to worry about that. Kwon Jae-yoon believes that people are very good at adapting. It seems that slowly but surely they are getting used to this world. Choi Yul also believes that the residents are off to a good start. The troops and the champion who will become the center of the mission have taken their positions. But the most important thing is what they will do now. If his plans go awry, the city will be destroyed by its own inhabitants. He thought about what he should do first. Then Kang Ji-woo approached him. She is a 5th-level warrior. Choi Yul immediately recognized her and decided to look up her information in the book. Then he asked her how she got here, and she replied that she just climbed up. His answer surprised him. She said she thought he would cry from loneliness, but he must have gotten used to it by now. Chu Yo-ju asked what she meant by that, and she replied that she couldn't leave today and would come back again. He asked why again, and why she came here in the first place. Kang Ji-woo asked if he couldn't see that in his book. He replied that, unfortunately, consciousness was not considered part of that data. She replied that that was good. She just wanted to look at him, at the fool who had the opportunity to subjugate the entire city and yet chose to take the difficult path. Kang Ji-woo climbed down from the building with the help of a rope. Chae Yul was frightened for her and asked what it all meant. The city's experience level increased, and the living conditions of its citizens improved. They now had a new option to add or block friends. They could also send messages and make calls. The city's infrastructure would be partially restored. Chua Yul said that the more points the residents spend, the more experience the city gains. But the points he used did not affect the city's experience, even though he invested a lot of them. In that case, where did they go? It seems that this book is to blame for everything, and it is worth considering whether to continue using it. Kwon Jae-yoon was promoted to junior lieutenant. Watching this, Kang Ji-woo thinks they are doing well. She wonders where she should go to settle down more comfortably. After all, she is a fragile resident in a city full of danger. A new move has begun, and Chae Yul has received a notification that he has found himself in the trap of the God of Gold. The God of Gold has taken over the city. If the Gold God is not satisfied and his demands are not met, the game will be over. The Gold God's greed level is 2. There are 4 cards in total. 2 weeks are given for the mission. Kwon Jae-yoon does not think that anything can change. The task is to find the treasure of the summoned card. It must be found and brought to the city. The value of the treasure depends on the satisfaction of the God of Gold and can only be assessed within the city. People think they have plenty of time, but no monsters have appeared in the city, and if someone else completes the mission, they will receive a shared reward. But then everyone received a message that this mission does not include a shared reward. The individual reward depends on the satisfaction of the God of Gold. If they don't go looking for the treasure themselves, they won't get any reward, but some of them don't have any combat equipment at all. Moreover, this mission has a lot of details. Go Hye-ju decided to skip the details and move on to see the entire mission map with her own eyes. Chu Yul believes that the player is lucky when it comes to dice. If everything goes well on the mission, they will complete the first stage of the city development plan. Until then, he will use Christina's book and then find a way to get rid of it. After these thoughts, he felt as if someone had struck him with a sword from the book. He felt pain, but in a moment, it disappeared. Choi Yul doesn't understand what this is. He just saw a sword. He received a notification that there were no casualties in the previous mission. The system announced the Demon King's punishment. The Demon King, Christina, curses him for his laziness. Until the user provides him with victims, he will feel immense pain. The user's health will steadily decrease. If the health indicator reaches 0 and there are still no sacrifices, the user will die, and Christina's book will choose a new owner. A group of 4 people arrived in the jungle of Sector A to find treasure. They found a dungeon, and it seems that it has not yet been registered. The boy said that it was wonderful, and that the dungeon would be theirs. A member of the group asked if everything would be all right. If they report it to the army, each of them will earn 50 points. The guy asked what he would do with such a small amount. Now that they were in another world, they had to make history. The name of the group was Kang and Rosie. The leader of the group was Kang Do-up, a 3rd-level character. Kang Do-up said that something was approaching them and wondered if it was the monster gatekeeper. A member of the group said that its behavior was quite predictable. In the end, they attacked the leaders of the squads and the heads of the guilds. The whole world is just a playground for them. Then they saw that it was Chue Yul carrying the treasure. He said that the boss is considered to be a cripple. His weakness is lightning. He uses poison, so an antidote is essential. He is incredibly fast, so tanks should focus on protecting healers and mages. Kang Doyup told him to stop talking. Chue Yul said that there was also a hidden room in the dungeon. Kang Doyup asked him to be quiet again. Returning, Kang Doyup said he couldn't believe that they had become victims of personal gain on the first day of the mission, and that it wasn't fair. They had to do something about it. A member of the group asked what they could do against a guy of the highest level with a mythical weapon. He suggested that they just forget about this failed mission and lie low in this isolated camp for victims of personal gain. Everyone discussed where Chou had found them. Some said it was in the jungle, others said it was in the canyon. Everyone was also disturbed by his face, because he looked like the devil, and that must be his true face. He told them to bring him more personal gain sacrifices. The guy said that when he saw that expression on his face, he got really scared and thought, why do we need these sacrifices or whatever? I'll just look for the treasure. But he didn't want to play into his hands, so he returned to the camp. The others replied that they had decided to do the same. They couldn't just let him manipulate them as he pleased. Chou collected 2,452 personal sacrifices. The Demon King Cressina was somewhat satisfied, and his punishment weakened. Chou thought that he was finally becoming a little more patient. And what kind of punishment was this from the Demon King? There was no mention of this in the item description. This book does not actually reveal all the information about itself, but this was to be expected. It seems that the Demon King believes that he has taken control of him with his punishment, but by the end of the mission he would understand who was really in control, so it was worth a try. In Sector B of the canyon, the Imperial Griffin flew to the nest of the Imperial Griffin, where Chue Yul was waiting for him. According to legend, the Griffin inherited the blood of a dragon. It has a 3rd level difficulty. Meanwhile, Go Hee-ju was fighting a chamber troll. This is a troll that has evolved to adapt to the living conditions of the canyon. She remembered the words of her goblin teacher Jack that power is not meant to be controlled. Instead, let it flow and choose its own path. As a result, she defeated the monster and thanked the master for it, because his student had become a little stronger. Then she saw Kang Ji-woo. She greeted her. Kang Ji-woo replied that she could address her informally. Go Hye-ju asked why she was following her in that case. Kang Ji-woo replied that it was so she could take full advantage of her discoveries. Go Hye-ju was surprised by this answer. She said it with such pride that she didn't even know how to respond. Kang Ji-woo asked her what had happened. After all, she wouldn't abandon a weak resident in this dangerous place. Go Hye-ju asked her to wait a moment and sent a message. She sent Woongi the coordinates so he could pick up the treasure and share it with her. He replied that he would come and get it right away. At that moment, the troll was watching them. Go Hye-ju said that her bag was quite small, considering that she had been carrying it all day. She replied that her motto was quality over quantity. She couldn't judge the treasures until she brought them to the city and had them appraised, so she had to choose the ones that she thought were the real thing. Go Hye-ju asked how she knew it was the right thing, and she replied that she knew with her eyes. Go Hye-ju thought she was a little strange, but she looked cool, and perhaps that was her spiritual power. Kang Ji-woo asked about her friends, and she replied that she had gotten rid of the monsters on her way there. Kang Ji-woo asked if she really knew nothing. The monsters are not enemies on this mission, and besides, this is not a peaceful mission like a treasure hunt. It will be a full-scale individual battle because there is no shared reward. You can only claim the treasure after an evaluation. Then someone would get the idea that attacking people was easier than attacking monsters. Meanwhile, a robbery had already taken place at the hotel. The investigators were delighted that the detective had finally arrived. He is accompanied by 6th level Han Do-sik. Detective So In-suk is a 14th level investigator. He asks if this is another robbery. He was told that it was. Apparently, the man had unexpectedly lost consciousness while appraising the treasures and then woke up, but without the treasures. So In-suk said that they should immediately return the treasures to the God of Gold. Kang Do-sik replied that they should. After all, the appraisal takes a lot of time. It can take anywhere from 1 hour to 12 hours. The system seems to encourage people to steal treasures while they have the chance. So In-suk asked why he was talking as if the system was encouraging people to steal. It was such a pathetic way of thinking. Kang Do-sik replied that he thought the explanation was clear enough based on human behavior. The investigators watched their argument. One of them said that it was hard to believe that he wouldn't let Detective So, the brown bear of the crime division, get the better of him. Another agreed with him and said he didn't think he was a police officer. He thought it was Chue Yul. His colleague replied that it wasn't him. He replied that Chue Yul was behind them, and he was sure it was him, so In-suk immediately grabbed him and covered his mouth. Then he struck him with the legendary Pungbek Gauntlet. It is one of the 3 divine relics of the ancient dynasty. It holds the power of the wind god. Kang Do-sik said to sound the alarm for Chue Yul and evacuate the people. He was surprised that he attacked immediately, although his equipment and level put him at a disadvantage. Professional habit deserves respect. but he will be even happier if this professional habit causes him to die at the hands of Choi Yul. Sun In-suk said that he didn't even dodge, and didn't look even slightly surprised, so he asked what he was up to. Residents began exchanging messages that Choi Yula had been arrested. Some saw it themselves, and some heard it from a police officer they knew. It is also known that he did not resist during the interrogation, and may not be such a bad person after all, but some believe that this is all part of his plan. Everyone is surprised that he surrendered and was arrested, but for many, this is an opportunity, so they grab their equipment to earn as much as possible. This time, Choi Yu-ul won't get in their way, and all the treasures will be theirs. People immediately began to form groups to go in search of him. In Sector A of the Jungle Goblin Village, Huang Minwu defeated the goblins with the help of the Owl Warrior's tomahawk. He said that everything was clean here, and that, of course, it had always been his duty to keep order. He noticed that the goblins were trying to escape. Li Wu-jin, with the help of Elfarana's heroic pride bow, decided to stop them, but one goblin managed to escape. Huang Minwu said that one had escaped and warned that they should use other weapons. Li Wu-jin replied that bows and arrows were the norm in fantasy. He replied that he would just let the goblin laugh at. Li Wu-jin said that it didn't matter because they had a sergeant. Park Seong-gyu destroyed the goblin and said that they would run 10 laps around the training ground as soon as they returned. He informed the commander that they had finished with the outer territory. Kwon Jae-yoon replied that that was great, and that they had also almost finished here. The goblin said that their god would soon descend upon them. Once he appeared, no one could prevent their demise. Their end was as clear as the trees in the forest, but Kim Kwon-soo used an explosion ring and destroyed the goblin. Kwon Jae-yoon said that attacking during transformation or summoning was cheating, but they were soldiers, not anime characters. A subordinate reported to the commander that the target had been found. These were the 18 citizens who had been reported missing. Most of them were seriously injured. Therefore, they would need reinforcements. The military command headquarters agreed to send reinforcements. Colonel Kim Seong reported that a construction unit would also arrive. They planned to make this goblin village their forward post. He told Kwon Jae-yoon that he had heard that Cho Yuria had been captured and asked if he knew what he was planning. Kwon Jae-yoon replied that he did not. It is not Krasen's books that frighten them, but Choe Yula's mind, which absorbs them and knows exactly what to do with them. It is very difficult to predict the actions of such a person, but they can be sure of one thing: he is not their enemy. Kang Du-sik said that even a person of the highest level can get hungry, so In-suk asked if he was serious about talking to him. Cho Yu-ul is now a criminal, a fraudster, a robber, and even an assassin. Cho Yu-ul replied that yes, that's all true, and he admits it. So In-suk said that he had been working in this field for 20 years, and that he only needed to look at a criminal to know what he was. In his opinion, he was a good guy. Everything that happened to him was an accident. Kang Du-sik said he thought it was a perfect situation for the Good Samaritan law. Although it does not apply in Korea, it is a law that prevents punishment for those who cause harm while providing assistance. So In-suk said that it was good that he turned himself in, and that he would try to change people's misconceptions about him. Chu Yeol remarked that he didn't come here for help. Then a police officer burst in with urgent news for the detective. He reported that there had been an attack. The criminal had heroic-grade equipment, so there were difficulties with his arrest, and such incidents were continuing. But they don't have enough people. Kang Du-sik and So In-suk left to deal with the incident. Kang Du-sik said that when it comes to a mission without a shared reward, he is sure that there can be no question of cooperation. That's how it should have been from the beginning. Chaos for the newly established order corresponding to the new world and the new government. So In-suk said that he really is a scumbag. Let him practice thinking like a reasonable person. He doesn't understand all the complications of another world. Moreover, they are all still human beings. Whether it's another world or something else, he has only one mission. Therefore, he must arrest those who do not want to behave as befits people, and that is his only mission as a police officer. He stopped a criminal. And then he said he was arrested for robbery, assault, and attempted murder. If he resists, he will suffer. So what will he do in this situation? The guy said he would surrender. So In-suk detained him. For a moment, the guy thought he was facing a real monster. Kang Du-sik said that earthly laws no longer made sense. Therefore, they should just work together to become the kings of this city. With his help, it would not be difficult to do. So In-suk said that this is why he is keeping him close, because he is the most dangerous guy in town. Kang Du-sik thought that he would have agreed with him before, but he couldn't know what Che Yura was thinking. Why did he give up in front of the community? And it's only been a day since the mission began. He said that they would probably be very busy now. Seo In-suk asked why. Kang Du-sik said that if Che Woo was arrested, it would be a great opportunity for people to prove themselves. Seo In-suk said that then, the city would be in complete chaos. Does he really think that's what Cho Yul wanted to achieve? But that's unlikely. Kang Du-sik thought that this was his way of getting people to act. So Insuk asked if he was even listening to it. After all, he was saying that Choi Yu-ul was a good guy. Kang Dusik wondered what would happen next. People would hide from him as soon as the next mission began. Choi Yu-ul believed that all that was left to do now was to be patient. He had 92% of his resilience left. The number of victims of personal gain was 2,352 people. The Demon King craves new victims and is dissatisfied. Choi Yu-ul used the hair from the Monkey King's tail. It is a heroic class tool. The wool from the tail of the stone monkey that became a god can create an alter ego for its user. He asked his copy to be a good substitute and to hold out as long as possible without being caught. He also used a phase transition cloak. This legendary cloak is a magical scientific product. It protects against interference from the material world. A police officer entered and asked why it was taking so long. He told him to hurry to the exit. Choi Yu-ul's alter ego just glanced at the police officer. The cop asked if he was trying to make him a victim for personal gain. They intended to take responsibility for it. Regardless of whether he would do it or not, he should leave. Alter ego Chvei Yulia left and said he was ready to go to a special isolation ward. He heard that it had been prepared especially for him. Moreover, he wanted to sleep. The griffin waiting for Chvei Yul on the roof suddenly took off into the air. The police officers did not understand what had happened. They thought they should take a picture of it. Choi Yu-ul took off his cape and said that the residents had begun to act, so the first stage had been successful. Now it was time to move on to the next stage. 4 days had passed since the start of the mission. The residents divided into 2 camps, adventurers and guards. The adventurers left the city in search of treasure, while the guards watched over what was happening inside. Everyone is free to choose their role. The residents, unable to compete, found their own way to survive, and it seemed that the mission was going well. In the jungle sector where the goblin village used to be, they built an outpost. Such a large-scale project was completed in just 2 days. The version of people from another world is very frightening. If those who possess such power were to unite, they would easily accomplish the mission. But now the situation in the city is not the best. Crimes related to treasures are on the rise, including fraud and petty theft. The police are trying to do everything they can, but it's difficult. They lack both manpower and equipment. Kwon Jae-yoon asked Colonel Kim Seong if they should also take some measures, but he replied that it was dangerous. Throughout human history, nothing good has ever come of the army acting as the police. Until the police officially request assistance, they will do what they are supposed to do. Even if a request for help comes in, they will only support the police. They cannot take on the role of maintaining public order. Kwon Jae-yoon said that even if the world changes, people do not change. This is a little sad. Meanwhile, people continue to commit crimes. The man said that if they combined them like this, it would create a poison. He used the missing magic pearl. It is a magical sphere. The magic pearl was thrown away by Yamugi, who worked hard to become a dragon before becoming a flying lizard. The item has a cumulative effect. The more it is used, the stronger the effect. The sphere can create various poisons and control them. The man who possesses the sphere said that he does not intend to destroy it yet. He still has many combinations of poisons. He can try them all on him. The man replied that there was no need to do that and that he would give him all the treasures he had. The attacker replied that adults always say that. This experience is the greatest treasure. After that, he used the poison. After a while, So In-sok and Kang Do-sik arrived at the scene of the crime. Kang Do-sik said that it was a very convenient weapon. So In-sok remarked that he was sure the place that had been reported was somewhere around there. They found the man who had been poisoned. Kang Do-sik said that it was very interesting. They hadn't even touched the treasure. Seo In-suk noted that they hadn't destroyed it either. They found a whole bunch of people who had been poisoned. Kang Do-sik said that it all happened after the disappearance of the great demon king Choi Yu-ryul. Another demon king appeared from the darkness and lurked. That was exactly what happened. So In-sok remarked that he had told him that Choi Yu-ryul was a good guy. But he admits that it was all his fault. Kang Do-sik was surprised that he agreed with him. So In-sok said that in that case they would have a very serious conversation. Kang Do-sik asked if he thought Choi Yu-ryul would say anything. He replied that he didn't think so, and in that case he would need to ask those around him. Chuyul thought he had caught a cold. But how could that be when he was at the highest level? The system reported that the gold god's satisfaction level was 674%. That wasn't very high, even taking into account the treasures that were still being appraised. But there was nothing he could do about it. Choi Yu-ul found more treasures and arrived in the desert sector. He asked the griffin if they were already there and said that she was very smart. He would be back soon and she should rest for now. No matter how hard the inhabitants tried, he had already taken all the valuable treasures. He told his own god of gold to eat more and grow faster. He has his own god of gold, a little boy. The golden god is still a child who needs love and care. Corporal Li Wu-jin, Huang Min-woo, and Private Kim Kwan-soo said goodbye to their commander and asked him to assign them to another unit. Kwon Jae-yoon said that he was only going there to report on Choi Yu-ryul, so there was no need to be so dramatic. They asked him to bring back some ice cream. and something else to chew on. After he left, they rejoiced because it was time for a party and a holiday. Watching them, Sergeant Park Sung-gyu thought that they could relax for one day. Moreover, the time for a large-scale raid on the dungeons was almost over, and this would relieve them. He was more concerned about the commander. He left alone. They asked the deputy commander to join them for a 5-hour mix of girl idol songs and to take all the alcohol they had hidden. It was time to have some real combat fun. Park Seong-gyu thought he couldn't leave these idiots alone and go with him for the sake of everything sacred. Goblin Jack said everything was ready. He pressed his pain points, so it shouldn't be too bad. Chu Yul thanked him. Goblin Jack noted that it would only dull the pain, not stop it. Chu Yul said that was enough. Jack simply accepted the fact that he had become one of the 4 rulers as if it were something normal for him. That's why he wanted to know so much. But he would ask questions after everything was over. For now, if Sergeant Kwan was in town, it was time to loot empty houses. They were located in the jungle sector. On the way to the city, Kwon Jae-yoon realized something. Private Sa-gyu-min asked what had happened. He told her to turn back because it was an ambush. After that, they were attacked. Kwon Jae-eun thought they had completely lost their minds. One of the attackers said to keep attacking. Kwon Jae-eun wondered if they would start chaos by striking back at civilians. So he asked Private Sang-gyun-min if he could escape from them until reinforcements arrived. He replied that he could. The crime rate in the city was worse than he had imagined. Strong people had left the city, leaving only police officers and civilians behind. It was the perfect environment for criminals. If really strong thieves appeared now, the city would instantly become the most dangerous place of all. Private Sun Gyu-min said that something very dangerous was obviously following them, and that it was too fast. While fighting the Abyss Lizard to get into the dungeon, Cho Yul realized that the pain point technique was really effective. His body felt much lighter. Goblin Jack told him not to overdo it. The aura of this place was similar to that of the demon realm. All the stronger demons are there in the underground city of Taklod, the Abyssal Lizard. It is an underground city that leads to the demon realm. In it, the abilities of demons and monsters are enhanced. Chahue Yul thought that the Demon King was also a devil, so his punishment would be even more severe. Therefore, he wanted to hurry up and leave the city with the treasures. They already had enough, and satisfying the God of Gold was not the main thing. It was simply the easiest way to complete the mission. It also meant that he would receive the maximum amount of reward. On the contrary, he wanted to get as much as possible. Second Lieutenant Kwon Go-haiju and the chaos that now reigned in the city were all part of the plan. They are all part of his plan to collect the aforementioned rewards. Kwon Jae-yoon remembered how Colonel Kim Seong gave him a gift in honor of his promotion. He received it as a reward for the mission, but he thinks he needs it more. He also provided his subordinates with good equipment. Kim Song asked if he needed anything else, and he replied that he did not. He just cannot get used to the fact that the army has sufficient funding. As a gift, he received a heroic-class instant shelter tool. It creates a safe zone. Its effect extends 3 meters. The duration of the effect is 3 minutes. The duration may be reduced depending on the environment. Kwon Jae-yoon said that they would get into an accident if they acted recklessly. After that, the attacker jumped onto the hood of the car. It was the same guy who used poison as a weapon. Kwon Jae-yoon said he wanted to talk to his leader. His subordinates have no business here. The man noted that he is a master of insults and he likes him, but he is the leader, and he has no intention of listening to him, no matter what he says. He should just listen and do what he tells him to do. Unless, of course, he wants to die. Private Sang-gyu-min said that the car was melting. Kwon Jae-yoon thought it was corrosive fog. He doesn't know what it is, but it has a wide range and is very dangerous. It could become a weapon of destruction if the situation gets out of control. But right now, they need to take care of their own survival, so he said he would surrender if they listened to his condition. He offers to voluntarily become his subordinate. He can see that he is not in his right mind and will make him more human. The man said he had just crossed the line. Private Sang Gyun-min asked why he was continuing. Kwon Jae-eun realized that it wasn't working, but it was enough to create a breach for reinforcements. So In-sok arrived just in time to help, using the ability of his glove. The attacker thought he had gotten carried away. The wind prevented him from controlling the smoke. He didn't know who this guy was, but his compatibility with him sucked. He decided to use the Giant Slayer. It was a heroic-class slingshot. It was the weapon of a little boy who had destroyed a giant. He thought he liked it and tried to attack them. So In-sok saw the slingshot and was surprised because he wasn't a child. At that moment, Kwon Jae-yoon knocked him down to protect him from the attack. Private Sang-gyumin told him to get in the car. So In-sok said to leave him behind. He would catch up with them after he caught the boy. Kwon Jae-yoon noticed that there was more than one enemy. Others would arrive soon. Co In-sok replied that a police officer could not run away when faced with a criminal. Kwon Jae-yoon said to consider it a strategic retreat. So In-sok replied that if they retreat now, there will only be more casualties. Then Kwon Jae-yoon asked if it would be the same if he died now, especially since the criminal had already escaped. The criminals asked Go Hee-ju why she was there. Wasn't she in charge of external affairs? They decided that they needed to escape. One of the criminals asked about their reward, and another wondered if he really thought they could succeed with Go Hee-ju as their opponent. Go Hee-ju told them to stop and offered to talk, but they threw a bottle at her. She thought it was a beer bottle. The man standing next to her said that it was poison, and that she must not let the bottle break. She threw it up in the air and caught it. Then the man said that it was a great blessing that it was in the city. Go Hee-ju asked who he was and who these people were. He replied that he had no idea. He had encountered robbers before, but he had never seen such an organized group. Many people had been affected by the poison. It was probably a dangerous poison that could kill you. Most antidotes didn't work against it. They could lose the treasures she had given them. She remembered Kang Ji-woo's words that some people might think it was easier to fight people than monsters. Go Hee-ju asked Woong-gi to stop searching for the treasure for now. Something was wrong, and she had a feeling that something bad was surrounding the city. Kang Ji-woo watched Choi Yu-rim but realized that it was fake. She wondered what he was up to if he had created such a fake. If Chae-yul isn't in the city, there's no point in her being here. A great battle is about to begin in this place. Goblin Jack asked if he was counting on a big battle happening. Chae-yul replied that he planned for chaos to reign in the city. But he didn't expect someone so crazy to show up. Goblin Jack said that in that case he could just destroy him. He replied that he couldn't do that. Something more anarchic was needed, if he understood. Goblin Jack replied that everything was as expected. His thoughts were unreadable. Cho-yul said that soon he would understand everything himself, but now they needed to clear the dungeon. This was the deepest part of Taklodo. The Demon King of Investigation, Takloa, said that it had been a long time since people had sunk so low. He was glad to welcome him to his city. Chae-yul said he didn't care, and asked if he knew the Demon King Krayson. Takloa replied that he didn't like the tone in which he was asking the question. Chae-yul said that he would dislike his behavior even more and attacked him, but was unable to do so because of his protection. Takloa said that his behavior also left much to be desired. Cho-yul thought that this magical barrier neutralized all physical attacks. It was magic that instantly blocked high-level spells. The Demon King Takloa was completely different from the combat-oriented Kutumba. It is also the complete opposite of Second Lieutenant Kwan's group, which is focused on physical action. If Second Lieutenant Kwan brings his army here, they will be destroyed in a second. And besides him, there are an unusual number of dangers here, cursed items and plague-stricken monsters. He will get rid of all other dangers. He will also lower the difficulty level for the entire area. Chae-yul decided to use Musculus. It is a legendary axe. The axe has been elevated to godhood by pushing the body to its limits. All physical attack power is converted into magical attack power in proportion to the strength value. He will reset the difficulty level for the inhabitants to the initial level. Representatives of the police and military gathered in the conference room. So Insok introduced himself and explained why he had called them there. At first, it was because of Chae-yura, but the situation has changed. A madman has appeared in the city. For now, they are calling him Imugi. Kang Do-sik said that they need to arrest Imugi, but it is impossible to do so with their current police force. So Insok said that was why he was proposing a joint operation involving the army, the police, and capable citizens. Go Hee-ju agreed. She believes that these people look very dangerous. Kwon Jae-eun thought that fighting between civilians was inappropriate. The longer it goes on, the worse it gets. Let them win the battle, but if the mission fails, everyone will die. But the fact that they started the mission knowing this means they're confident they can win against what's happening in the city and against Chae-yul. Takloa said that he had been summoned many times, as a result of which he burned countless cities and brought suffering and death to many people. For a long time, none of them could even get close to him. But who would have thought that there would be a person capable of harming him with only one power? Cho-yul said that this was his last chance and asked again if he knew the Demon King Krasen. Takloa asked if that question had anything to do with this challenge. Cho-yul asked if he meant the mission. He replied that he did. They also receive missions according to their reasons. Usually, it is to destroy people. There are also those who have different reasons for the same calls, and like humans, their reasons sometimes change. Cho-yul told him to wait. He asked if he was allowed to tell him. Takloa replied that it didn't matter. The more a person with this book knows, the sooner they will meet their demise. Choi-yul asked if he knew about this book and about Krayson. He replied that he was very sorry. He could not watch the obvious destruction that followed this book. Choi-yul asked him to wait. He asked what he knew. Goblin Jack told him to stop because they needed to leave immediately. Takloa said that because he had been able to see him in his confusion, the end of this call was not so bitter. Finally, he said that he would wait for the death of figure number 8, whom he had summoned. Goblin Jack asked Cho-yu if he was okay, and he replied that he was, but he wondered if the more he learned, the closer the end was. It seems that this is a book that brings obvious death. Goblin Jack asked if he wanted to gather more information, and he replied that he did not. After all, Tecloa is the only demon king in this mission. It is enough that there is a demon king who knows Christina. Therefore, he suggested that they focus on their original goal of adjusting the difficulty of the field. In 3 days, it would all be over. Goblin Jack wondered if his students would be able to survive those 3 days. 3 days passed. The people were informed of the location of the safe zone. Imugi's gang was still at large, so everyone had to stay on the main road. The nurse informed the doctor that they had run out of potions and antidotes. The doctor said that it didn't make sense. There were fewer casualties during the mission than there were from the fights between people. Meanwhile, So In-sok and Go Hae-ju tried to catch Imugi. He suggested that they simply surrender, because they would not be able to catch him, even with 2 people equipped with legendary gear. Just look at the state of the city. Even when the battle began, many people didn't care and were only looking for treasure. There were only those who hid and tried to take advantage of the situation, and all because they had no leader. An absolute leader who would lead the entire people, and the role of leader is obviously for the strongest person. Go Hae-ju said that the strongest person is Choi Yul, so In-sok was surprised because he considered himself the strongest person. Imugi said that the fact that Choi Yul had not yet appeared was probably because he was not confident of victory over him. Although he had prepared a gift for him, Kwon Jae-eun thought that he had a high density sufficient to block bullets. This was only with the help of passive defense. The more they competed with him, the more skills he gained. His growth rate was very fast. Therefore, it was necessary to deal with him as soon as possible before it was too late. Imugi said that he was not like Choi Yul. He can share points and items as much as they need and pass missions very easily. They all just have to listen to him and automatically agree with everything he says. So In-sok said that if he has enough time to think about such nonsense, he should go outside and look for treasure. He tried to attack him, but Imugi apologized and said that it wouldn't work anymore. After that, he attacked them in response. Go Hae-ju managed to activate a protective barrier. He said that they would no longer be able to defend themselves against his poison with either fire or wind. After he marinates them in it, he will only spare the one who screams the most pleasantly. Of course, he already had the scream he needed. He wanted to attack Go Hae-ju, but Seo and Seok protected her by covering her with his cloak. She said that she was higher in rank, but he asked her to be quiet, let it be age or work, but it would be the right thing to do. Imugi said that this was not what he wanted. After that, the Goblin Jack came to their aid and repelled his attack with poison. He told his students that he was a little sad. He couldn't believe that they couldn't stand up to a third-rate guy like him. So In-sok was surprised that a monster had protected them. Go Hae-ju was also surprised when she saw her master. Imugi asked why the column guards from the last mission were here. Goblin Jack replied that they needed discipline, but it was time. Therefore, they would postpone it until next time. After that, everyone received an urgent notification that another God of Gold had been found. The God of Gold had already matured and was ready to enter the fight for supremacy. As soon as he reaches maturity, his existence is revealed to the inhabitants. The content of the mission has changed. From this moment on, you can choose which God of Gold you want to offer treasures to. The God of Gold who has offered the most treasures by the end of the mission will win. The inhabitants of the winning God of Gold will receive an incredible reward. The inhabitants of the losing God will receive nothing. The local god has 185,432 treasures. There are 34,773 participants. The people found this handwriting familiar. There is only one person who could have done this, and it is him. The mature desert god of Gold has collected much more. He has 38,552,895 treasures. There is only one participant. Everyone thinks it's Choi Yul. They knew it was him because he was acting very quiet. Choi Yul believes that he is the creation of a villain who will unite the city. Although it is a cliché, it is the most reliable method, and he cannot abandon such a role as a psychopath suffering from protagonist syndrome. He relies solely on his legendary equipment. People began to discuss that it was impossible for Choi Yul to have surrendered so humbly. Physiognomy is a part of science, and this guy has the face of a thief. Therefore, it is necessary to gather things and return to the city. But now it is dangerous there because of Imugi. But if they don't do anything now, they will lose everything again because of Choi Yul. So it doesn't matter if it's Imugi or a snake man. It doesn't matter. Imugi tried to attack Choi Yul with poison. He is angry because he dared to turn him into some kind of tool, so he wants to destroy him. But he doesn't understand what's wrong with this griffin. He swallowed a special poisonous bomb that was intended for Chu Yula. He drank all of his poison. The main diet of the Imperial Griffin consists of poisonous monsters, such as the Basilisk and the Hydra. The Griffin has a resistance to poison on par with a monster boss. Imugi thought that he was an elite who was not considered a boss. Choi Yul approached him and asked if he was curious why his poison had no effect. This task would be his homework, so let him try to solve it instead of mocking other people. After that, he struck him. Then he said that he was Choi Yul, who monopolized the desert god of Gold. If they brought treasures to the desert god of gold, he would sacrifice them for his own personal gain on all future missions. So let them try their best to fight for the remaining missions. After that, he flew away on a griffin. Go Haiju, So In-suk, and Kwon Jae-yoon thought he was just a terrible actor. After that, an emergency meeting was held regarding the mission. In the week that remained, they had to find more treasures than the god of gold, Choi Uriul. Go Haiju said that they needed their help to do this. So In-suk said that everyone knew that Choi Uriul was a huge disaster, but they couldn't just sit in the corner and do nothing. The way to deal with evil is the same as on Earth. It is to work together. Go Haiju added that this banal method was the best solution. Humanity had used it to defeat evil throughout history. Everything related to Choi-yul was connected to the missions of this world and their return to their original world. To overcome all these misfortunes, let them borrow their strength. The people decided to support them and began to raise their hands. A guide to mission number 1 was created in the city. The local alliance was organized in the nests. Using enemy creatures on the ground as a base, it became easier to destroy monsters, as their powers were visible to the naked eye. The value of the treasures was small, but sometimes they managed to hit the jackpot. Dungeon is a collective term for cave or basement structures that cannot be seen in their entirety at once. Despite the fact that the value of treasures is often high, there are many variables, and due to the high level of danger, entering alone is prohibited. It is recommended that troops and trained adventurers cooperate and enter together. Woon-gi controlled all the treasures and evaluated. He asked his subordinates if this was the last one. They should hurry up and load it. But at that moment, they were attacked by monsters from the nests they had robbed. The people tried to block them and protect their loot. They almost reached the city where they could evaluate their finds. At the entrance to the city, people noticed them and tried to clear the way for the vehicle. The third stage of the mission is the Treasure Appraisal Center. This is where the treasures are kept during appraisal. To ensure security, soldiers, police, and private security guards are stationed here. Some managed to find the idol of the true god. It is a legendary treasure worth 1,000 points. The doll is made in the form of a god and has no special abilities. The man was very happy to have found a treasure of legendary class. Some even envied him. But no matter how hard they tried, they still couldn't catch up with Choi Uriul. The gap between them didn't narrow at all. The jungle and ravines have been almost completely cleared. Only the desert where Choi Yul was remained. There was also one last map they hadn't been to yet. These were areas they had postponed visiting due to the high risk. But they had many questions. Would Choi Yul let them pass? And would they have enough equipment and people to cross the desert? And what to do about defending the city, which will be defenseless when everyone goes after the treasure. But now it is possible. The police realized that Choi Yul had deceived them. So In-suk asked if this was the Choi Yul they had arrested. Kang Do-sik believes that they have been completely deceived. If he had dealt with the desert god of gold from the beginning, the people would not have left the city, because until then, most of them were afraid of Chae-woo. He used himself as bait to get people to act. In other words, he provoked outrage that surpassed fear. But they cannot leave it at that. So In-suk believes that if he uses this method, it does not matter how the mission ends. Choi Yul will become even more isolated from the city. Kang Do-sik thought that now he understands what kind of person Choi Yul is. He's not just playing the cards in front of him, but most likely calculating the entire game with the other cards in his hand. And if that's the case, then they need people to unite and become stronger, because he has definitely prepared a move in case the people win. It would not be a trivial card like unite your efforts and find the treasure. Kang Ji-woo learned something about the treasure hunt mission. Victory can be achieved in another way, by destroying the god of gold. She is confident that she can sell this valuable information for a very high price. On the last day of the treasure hunt, So In-suk tried to make his way through the desert, but Choi Yul stopped him. So In-suk struck him and said that regardless of level, weight is secondary. They managed to collect a lot of treasures for the local god of gold. The value of the treasures is 37,970,000. 156,342 people are participating in the collection. Imugi also joined the team to defeat Choi Yul. There are 24 minutes and 33 seconds left until the end of the mission. Choi Yul said that he didn't have much time left, so the members of the local alliance should work harder. 4 days earlier, Go Hyeju was very surprised when she saw Imugi. It turned out that he was just a high school student. In her opinion, he was still wet behind the ears. His real name was Kang Seon-won. He was level 24. Kang Seon-won told her that she was very noisy but that he would call her if he needed her. Go Hyeju replied that it was her job to watch him. He said that after such a defeat, he wanted to attack her, but she reacted immediately and stopped his attack. Then she said that she was faster than his ability to activate the magic pearl. Moreover, he had the body of an ordinary person. He asked if she had heard anything about his subordinates. Go Hyeju replied that she had, and that they had split up very easily, and that he didn't seem like a very good leader. Kang Seon-won said that he couldn't judge the attempts of the weak to survive by joining the strong. All he had to do was step out and step on them, and they would immediately fall back at his feet because that was human nature. Go Heiju said that she understood everything and that he had 8th grade syndrome. He replied that his magic pearl was a mythical item. It was still in development, which is why Chai Yul defeated it. But he would finish developing it into a true mythical item. And then even Chai Yul won't be able to defeat him. This means that sooner or later, this city will belong to him. Go Heiju thought that, of course, if it weren't for Chaewoo, everyone would be in danger. But he said that the pearl was still in development. This means that he can just leave it alone. Meanwhile, Kang Jiwoo returned to the city to sell the information. Everyone was discussing the mission. A man said that he had been in the dungeon, and they had almost died, but they had won. Therefore, he believes they can handle larger danjas. Another man was told to pay a fine for displaying weapons in the city. Kang Jiwoo realized that in a few days, the city would be filled with the spirit of struggle, and it would be difficult to sell information. It is easier to work when there is chaos. So she decided that there was no better time to call and phoned Go Heiju. She asked if she was okay because she was worried. Kang Jiwoo said they needed to have a serious talk. She just asked him to introduce her to someone who could buy the information from her. But in this place, they were all important people. Go Heiju brought Kang Seon-won to discuss their next steps with everyone. Kwon Jae-yoon said that before they started talking, it was okay that Imugi was there. Kang Seon-won asked if he would get in the way. Kim Seong pointed out that he was the one who called him. Imugi is their outstanding strength, not to mention that leaving Go Heiju to guard him is a great loss for them. But if they needed to get rid of all their forces right now, so In-sok wanted to say something, but Lee Chul-min interrupted him. He suggested that he just listen to them, so In-sok agreed. Kang Ji-woo also joined in to share her information. Colonel Kim Seong said that if her information was true, they would be able to destroy the God of Gold before he grew up. Although they would face devilish difficulties in fighting Chai Yul, he thought it was worth a try. That is why he wants to use Imugi. Kang Seon-won said that in the end, he was needed by the city. They agreed on this. Goblin Jack asked if it might be worth increasing the number of victims for personal gain, because the Demon King's punishments count. Choi Yul replied that it was not. Many people in the city need to receive rewards. The people he turned into victims this time were unfortunately in dangerous dungeons. Or they went in search of treasure and became those who needed to be isolated from this mission. Then he noticed that they had guests. Kwon Jae-yoon said that they were already there and that they needed to prepare for battle. He also contacted his people and told them to get ready. Goblin Jack wanted to attack, but Chae Yeol said not yet. Since ancient times, the weakest have traditionally been sent to the final stage. Kang Seon-won covered So In-sok and Go Haiju with his poison, and decided to use them as bait against the griffin. Go Haiju asked what he was doing, so In-sok told her that this guy had no brains at all. They managed to damage the griffin, and it began to fall. Kwon Jae-yoon told everyone to run away from the car and hide. When they find a good spot, they should open fire. Kang Seon-won decided that there was no need to waste energy right now. This was not his ultimate goal. They think they can use him and get the rich Chae Yura, but they are wrong. The only ones who will be used here are them. Colonel Kim Seong said that they wanted to start with negotiations, but it seems that this was not part of Choi Yuryul's plan. Kim Song said that everything had already begun and they needed to hurry there. The plan to destroy the God of Gold, Choi Yuryul, turned out to be a lie. Of course, if they had been in time, they could have succeeded in their mission, but it was obviously impossible to accomplish such a feat. The goal of this plan was to find the treasures past the desert sector and reach the last sector. Calculating the time remaining and without rushing from side to side, they had to pass through and take as much treasure as they could carry at one time. It was necessary to drop off as many people as possible and, in the end, leave Imugi in the weakened city. Therefore, a false plan was devised to subdue the God of Gold, Choyuria, and destroy Imugi. Eventually, they reached the last sector. But Colonel Kim Song did not understand how an ordinary earthly city had ended up here. He suspected that they were not the only ones who had been summoned to this game, but who would have thought that the confirmation of his guesses would be like this? The people did not fall thanks to external forces. They were isolated and divided. They finished after they stopped competing with each other. There they found treasures and lifeless bodies. The man said that these lifeless bodies had been there for at least a year. Kim Sung asked if their mission had lasted several years. For them, it had only been a week. The man replied that if that was the case, then even though the game started on the same day, it could be assumed that the two cities spent time differently. It was too early to be sure, but the assumption was correct. It turned out that the players who created this game and summoned them were beings capable of even turning back time. While the colonel and his men were searching for the treasure, Go Hee-ju and So In-sok were fighting the griffin. Go Hee-ju struck it. Then she apologized and said that they had come for victory. Choi Yul and the Goblin Jack watched the battle. Chu Yoriel noticed the empirical fangs and gloves of Funback. This is the best equipment even among the legendary class. Not only do they have the highest attack and strength stats, but they also give their users additional stats. Therefore, When they were at the first level, they were able to cope with superhuman combat power. The downside is that most attacks hit a large area and can cause enormous destruction. To control and master such power, they need to work as well as possible as a team. Chueyul decided to congratulate them on passing the first stage, so Insok told him that it was enough and that he wasn't here for gold. He came to save him before he was completely isolated from the city. Chueyul said that he should arrest him if he had enough talent. So Insok tried to attack him, but Chueyul struck him. Go Hiju realized that he was in danger, so she decided to protect him. After that, the Goblin Jack decided to join the battle. He said that the only one who responded was an inexperienced apprentice, so he needed to be more careful, otherwise he would accidentally destroy everyone. Quan Jae-yun thought about the Goblin Swordmaster. He knew that he was a column guard from a previous mission and the boss of the raid. He was higher level than the other column guards. Hundreds of people spent half a day trying to defeat the guard who had lost his strength. But could they defeat a stronger enemy with so many people and without a Mugi? Chueyul returned to the canyon sector, to the Imperial Griffin's nest. He praised him for his good work and told him he could rest. Thanks to his regenerative abilities, he would recover quickly. Chueyul apologized for using him like that. He did not think it would cover his guilt, but he would protect his nest until the end of the mission. Chueyul used a legendary weather-changing bullet. This bullet is capable of changing the weather in a small area. The duration of its effect depends on the user's level. Chueyul remembered Officer So's words. He expected the strongest man in the city to come after him, but he did not expect such words from him. He told him that he had come to save him. Even though he can predict actions, it is difficult to guess a person's feelings. Goblin Jack defeated the army and asked if that was all. So Insok realizes that they are incapable of anything more, and that he is simply a monster. Go Hee-ju decides to try to negotiate with him. She asked the master to let them pass. Goblin Jack replied that if she wanted to convince the fighter, she should let him fight. Quan Jae-yun said it was time to retreat. They still had a few days, and the enemy was not intent on destroying them. They should not rush and should think everything through. Cho Uriel returned and said that it ended sooner than he expected. Goblin Jack replied that Quan Jae-eun was a man of incredible intelligence. He thinks like a general, not like a fighter who acts first and thinks later. A raid is no place for lone heroes. It requires strategy and cooperation. Quan Jae-yun believes that they should gain experience points on this mission. Then they should divide these points among several groups. They cannot allow too much power to be concentrated in one place. Goblin Jack asked Cho Yuryong what he had done with Imugi. He replied that he was going to follow him. Then Goblin Jack asked if he was aware that he had a difficult personality. Kang Seon-wan believes that the man's wind turned out to be a light breeze. But if he gets through this storm, he will be able to destroy the God of Gold while the others deal with Choi Yuryul. The guy told his boss that it worked, but he wondered how Kang Dusik came up with that. He replied that Chai Yul was not going to achieve the mission's goal at all. He is using the task to get more rewards, so he tried to think like Choi Yurim. Before simply offering the treasure, he raised its value as much as he could, and the result, as you can see, was an incredible success. They can outbid Chayul's treasures, and the expedition to the Sand God will be successful. Are there two cases where the residents win? Did Choe Yuryul think it through? Everyone worked on the creation. The first type of treasure must be moved to Zone B. Jewelry treasures are located in Zone D. They don't have enough people for the metal treasures. In addition, everyone needs to move carefully because it is unknown what might break in. It should also be remembered that items of heroic class and above cannot be repaired. Due to the sandstorm in the desert region, the treasures will arrive at night. Kang Do-sik said that someone must have items for repair, and that they should be found. If you light up the canyon area, they will get there faster. His subordinates called him Hen Nim. They were surprised because it just slipped out. This form of address is used when communicating with criminal authorities. So Insok said that Do-sik is very strong. Go Haiju noted that if he left the city, it means that he is really strong. He believes that there is no better word than resourcefulness to describe him. Therefore, in his opinion, Kang Dusik is much more dangerous. Even if everything had been different, he would not have left him alone in the city. But words no longer help as they did before, so it is necessary to simply proceed with the matter. Kang Seon-wan feels that his skill in using the pearl is not improving. And isn't that a matter of practice? Chu Yul said that he is giving him an opportunity, but he is not even using it. He will not be able to improve his skills by hunting weak mobs. He would have to deal with those who were stronger. Until now, he had only hidden, competing with weak mobs or people. His poison doesn't even work on elite monsters. Kang Sun-won thought that the pearl was broken. Chue-yul believes that Imugi would have grown if he had competed with Go Hee-ju, but he is not going to tell him that. It's enough for him to be a petty thief. Goblin Jack attacked again and blocked their view. They used fire to distract him, but they realized that it wouldn't work. Quan Jae-yun said that he was leaving and that everyone should get ready. They thought they had succeeded. Goblin Jack broke through to them and grabbed Go Haiju. He said that they had worked well together, but it wasn't enough to break through his tiger god aura. Kwon Jae-yoon asked if they still needed reinforcements. Goblin Jack told Go Hye-ju that she had passed the test, so she should go ahead. It seemed to her that she had mastered the martial arts of this world. The decision to unite is useful when someone feels weak. She remembered how he said that if she was his student, she had to stand firmly on her own 2 feet. Go Hye-ju promised that she would try her best. Goblin Jack stepped back. Kwon Jae-yoon thought about the exam and wondered if he was testing them or training them. If so, what would happen if she failed the exam? He said that it would be more difficult to move forward. His subordinate reported that he couldn't see either Chayura or Imugi. Kwon Jae-yoon said that Chayura knew they were coming, so they should remain vigilant. Kwon Jae-yoon asked Go Hye-ju if she could jump over the tornado, and she replied that of course she couldn't. Seo In-seok said that he thought it would work. Go Hye-ju asked what exactly would work, and then Seo In-seok raised the wind. Kwon Jae-yoon said that Funback was the god of wind. He wondered if any equipment could have such power, but the sight was incredible. Seo In-seok said that he wouldn't be able to do what he wanted using Funback's gloves. Chuyol said that this meant that Funback had begun to recognize Officer So. Kwon Jae-yoon said that Chuyol was here. Then Choe-yul noted that they were faster than he had expected, so now it was time to begin the final stage. He used a free ticket of the heroic class. The ticket allows the user to teleport to a place they have been to before. It allows the user to teleport a resident within their field of vision, and does not have the ability to teleport those with a higher level than the user. So In-seok asked where they were, and Go Hye-ju replied that she thought they had gone too far. Kang Seon-won approached them. He said that the bait was still alive. Then he noticed them and wondered what was wrong with them. Their energy had changed significantly in just one day. Go Hye-ju asked if Chae-yul had sent him there. Kang Seon-won replied that he had been there since he opened his eyes and asked if it was Chae-yul's doing. Was he afraid that his god of gold would be caught and expelled? Chae-yul joined them and said no. Since ancient times, there has been a tradition of competing with the final boss in a separate stage. Kang Seon-won told him to stop joking around. He asked why he didn't start the 2nd and 3rd stages of his transformation. Then he attacked him. Chue Yu-ryong said that it was a wonderful atmosphere. Kang Seon-won remarked that while playing with these losers, he had learned one thing. The more he attacked them, the better they behave. Later, they were very gentle, and how could he forget that? Chue Yu-ryul said that it was just as he thought, and that he would make an excellent thief. Kwon Jae-yoon said that he had lost contact with them. Park Sung-kyu said that they were probably competing with each other. A subordinate informed the commander that they were running out of ammunition. Park Seong-gyu said that they had driven Imugi out of the city, and their plan seemed to be successful. Kwon Jae-yoon said that they were still not sure if they could beat him in terms of the value of the treasures. Although it was a fake plan, they would see it through to the end. Now they need to find out where Hen Nim is and scout the area. They only have about 2 days left and no time to waste. The only thing they could do now was to finish what they had started. Meanwhile, people continued to collect treasures. During the fight, Go Hye-ju suggested that Chae Yu-ryul just talk. Chae Yu-ryul said that now was the time for a typical scene with the final boss. So they would try to get drunk out of arrogance. The god of gold had tremendous stamina, but he was almost powerless in battle. If someone touches him even once, he will send them to the god of gold. Kang Seon-won thought he was a very good actor, but watching him, Go Hye-ju and Seo In-seok thought he was a terrible actor. Then Kang Seon-won asked Choi Yu-ryul if he should hit him again, but one hit would not be enough. After that, he attacked him. Choi Yul asked if this was a full power attack, but even that was too easy. Choi Yu-ryul hit him. Go Hye-ju and Seo In-seok thought that he hadn't learned anything. Then Choi Yu-ryul asked what they wanted: to rest, to gather themselves, or perhaps to run to God for gold. Go Hye-ju said that there was a huge gap between their goals and Imugi's goals, but they would not mind striking him with all their strength. Woongi asked Colonel Kim Seong if he would be okay. He replied that they had too many treasures and couldn't take them all. Therefore, they should take the guards and residents to the city. He would go with the volunteers and return on foot with the remaining treasures. If they dump the treasures and take them to the desert, they will gain some time. So In-seok tried to attack Choi Yu-ryul, but he said that such an attack would do nothing to him. Perhaps he forgot that he was stronger than Jack. Go Hye-ju said that because of his shoes, they couldn't tell where he would fly next. So In-seok asked if he was a dragonfly. She said that he wasn't even using them to their full potential. Go Hye-ju tried to remember what her master had taught her: how to defeat someone stronger than her. Then Kwon Jae-yoon contacted her via radio. Go Hye-ju was frightened. Then she explained that she was so lost in thought that she couldn't say a word. He replied that everything was fine and that thanks to her he knew their location. She said she couldn't talk and that according to Chae Yu-ra, he was the god of gold. After that, the connection was cut off and she didn't have time to finish. Go Hye-ju thought he had hung up and wondered if she should call him back. Then she received a message from Kwon Jae-eun. He wrote that he would call back later and that she should just listen for now. If Choe Yu-ra said anything about the god of gold, it was likely part of his strategy. If she heard the details of his strategy, then she was now a victim of personal gain. Go Hye-ju asked why, and he replied that she would understand later. Right now, they needed to figure out what had happened. He would work out a plan and send it to her later, and they should play for time. Go Haeju doesn't understand how they are supposed to stall for time and how to continue competing. Isn't it a waste of energy? Moreover, everything is becoming even more chaotic. She has no more ideas, so all she can do is continue competing. Kang Seon-won came to his senses and noticed that Go Haeju and Seo In-seok had passed out. He realized that they had screwed up and were useless. He asked Chae Uriel if he agreed with him that they were legendary idiots and incapable of anything. Chae Uriel mentioned the abandoned magic pearl. They needed to focus on how to develop it. If he used the pearl foolishly, it would consume him. Kang Seon-won tried to attack him and asked what that meant. Chae Uriel said he was just warning him. Kang Seon-won thanked him and then sent him away. Kwon Jae-eun contacted the Communications Security Department and said he would soon reveal the details of his plan. Meanwhile, the value of the local god of gold's treasures had already reached 15,991,370. There were 97,741 participants, but thanks to Kim Seon, they managed to gather more. The local god of gold's account now contained 26,891,366 points of treasure value. The number of participants increased to 116,554 people. Finally, the last day of the treasure hunt mission arrived. The value of the desert god of gold's treasures is 38,552,895. The locals managed to collect a little over 37 million treasures. Kang Seon-won said he was tired of it. When he earns enough points, he will definitely raise his level. So In-seok told Go Haeju to prepare for the final push. Shu Yeol believes that the effect of the acupuncture point is gradually weakening. It's not that easy to control your strength, but it's still incredible. Kang Seon-won said that the old man is pretty good, but the last blow will be his. Tae-so and Sok told everyone to hold on because they are retreating. He jumped onto the ship and used the force of the wind to move it. Kang Sun-won told him to wait and asked what kind of tricks he was up to. The soldier asked if they had lost him, but so In-seok told him to look ahead because there was no time. Now they need to move as fast as possible. There are 15 minutes and 3 seconds left until the mission is complete. Cho Uriel said that the operation was coming to an end and asked Go Haeju why she was there, then saw that she had drunk a potion to restore her stamina. She said that during the first mission, he had taught her a secret skill called the Fang. When your stamina is at 100%, you have to wound yourself with a sword. Go Haeju raised her sword and decided she had to do it. Cho Yu-ul told her to wait, because that was not the case. She had not fulfilled the main condition, and if she used this skill now, she could die. But she did not listen to him, and wanted to do it her way. Empirical Fang is a spear that possesses the high-ranking fire attribute of Prometheus's dragon power. By fulfilling a hidden condition, the user can summon Prometheus and use his powerful breath. The empirical dragon of flame is also called the Sun Dragon, so Prometheus can only be summoned at sunrise or sunset. Cho Yu managed to stop her in time and asked if she knew about the last condition. Go Haeju replied that of course she did. It was all Sergeant Kwan's plan. It is impossible to guess what Choi Yul is thinking, but he is still a man whose actions can be read. Shu Yeol said that he had miscalculated. Although he could rush after them, it would be better to finally finish everything here. Moreover, he had achieved everything he wanted. There were 7 minutes and 23 seconds left until the end of the mission. Kwon Jae-yoon said he was approaching. Everyone needs to get ready, grab their weapons, and move in for the attack. They noticed that Imugi had arrived with So-and-so. He grabbed the god of gold and told everyone to stop and come out. Kwon Jae-yoon told everyone to attack. The people finished gathering their armor, sewed everything together, and said that everything was ready and needed to be shown to the god of gold. They didn't have much time and had to do it quickly. They managed to take the desert god of gold from Imugi. The people continued to offer treasures to the local god of gold. There was 1 minute and 35 seconds left until the end of the mission. Cho Yul asked Go Haeju if he could ask her for something. He said that people would end up divided by mistrust, fighting, and despair, because that is the nature of humanity. In the time remaining, the people managed to offer enough treasures to win. The mission was accomplished, and the local god of gold was victorious. Kang Seon-won was delighted that he had won. With such a reward, he would be able to live well. But Kang Seon-won received a message that due to the effect of personal gain, all his rewards had been revoked. Ordinary residents who found themselves outside the city were forcibly returned. Kwon Jae-yoon said that they had done a great job. So In-seok remarked that all that was left to do was get drunk. Everyone received a notification that their award points would be doubled. This was thanks to the blessing of the local god of gold. The highest scores were calculated. Third place went to Kang Ji-woo. She scored 33,442 points. Second place went to Sun Tae-eun, who assisted Colonel Kim Seon. He received 45,455 points. Park Won-ki took first place with 324,432 points. People began to throw him up in the air and praise him for his excellent work. He said that it was all thanks to Go Hee-ju and that he had done nothing. But now he feels very good and promised to buy everyone various things. Kwon Jae-yoon received a notification that the members of his squad who captured the enemy god of gold would receive a special reward. They received a 12-sided die. The chance of dropping heroic class items increases dramatically. Kwon Jae-yoon thought it was very generous that they received double bonus points in a separate cube, but what else could he expect? The god of gold blessed the city, and the city's experience increased by 10% before the start of the next mission. The god of gold was satisfied and left the city. The next hit will be carried out in 24 hours. Choi Yul said that although everything ended well, the situation could have been more dangerous. The mission is complete and the Demon King's punishment has passed. His endurance is now 10% and 4/10. Goblin Jack said that this was not so good because he was still an enemy of the city. Choi Yul pointed out that he was no longer their enemy. Now they had decided to call him a demon. Goblin Jack asked if that wasn't worse. Choi Yul replied that the city had defeated the demon on its own. Now, little could break them. Jack asked what that meant, since he had done everything for them. Choi Yul asked him to be quiet. Jack remarked that he couldn't hear him at all, and he replied that he wanted to see how the city would develop. Now the city had earned points and freedom. He thought that during this break between moves, significant changes awaited the 8th city. Everyone shouted that they wanted to work for Park's delivery service. Some had truck driver's licenses. Everyone dreamed of becoming delivery kings. Park Won-ki asked them to calm down and pointed out that he had already explained that these points belonged to Go Hee-ju. They said that they were the people who had helped her. There are even more reasons to join her because she fell into the clutches of Che-yura and became a victim of personal gain, but she is still a heroine. She gave her life to fight for the city. She is the angel of flame and the idol of the 8th city. If they can be with her, they will give their lives for her. Before that, Choi Yul said that when people fall into despair again and find it difficult to lift their heads from their grief, she will become their hope and support. After seeing the hopelessness, she must make them rise again. Remembering this, she decided to turn to them. So she told the people of the 8th city that she was not as beautiful as they thought she was, but she could see their desire. She could see that they wanted to defend the city with her, so she told them to follow her, and she would gladly fight alongside them. Guild is a term that refers to an association of merchants and craftsmen in medieval Europe. In gaming, the term refers to an organized gathering of people with similar ideas and goals. So Insok asked if it was something like a club. Kang Du-sik replied that some of them were, but each guild was different in some way. Guild members can be bandits, mercenaries, merchants, or just good friends. So Insok asked if they could organize something similar. He replied that the feature had been available since the beginning of the game, but they didn't have enough points. It takes 1,000,000 points to found a guild. There are 3 legal guilds that were founded with 1,000,000 points. The others are just preparatory guilds where people join. The first legal guild is called Delonix. It is also known as the Go Hee-ju Guild. The head of the guild is Go Hee-ju herself. Her deputy is Park Woong. This guild has the most members. The guild's goal is to protect the city and its inhabitants. They mainly carry out missions. At first, the organization was called the Go Hee-ju Guild. However, due to Go Hee-ju's dissatisfaction, it was changed to the name of her favorite flower. So Insuk said that Go Hee-ju is very reliable. This sets her apart from her peers, so there will definitely be no problems here. Kang Du-sik said that the second guild is called the Army, or the Army of the 8th City. The guild members distinguished themselves in their first mission, and the organization still has a considerable number of points at its disposal. This was achieved thanks to the systematic spending of funds. They managed to achieve this under the command of Colonel Kim Seong, and also thanks to the diligence of Sergeant Kwon Jae-yoon. So Insuk said that these two are also as good as anyone else, and that there is no need to fear for the future of their army. Kang Do-sik said that the latter is the last legitimate guild in the kingdom, and is also called the Amugi Guild. After their defeat by Choi Yul, they still keep legendary weapons, just like Choi Yul himself. But it should not be forgotten that their guild almost took control of the city, which is impressive. Many people have joined the guild. Among them are many who are eager for power. The guild has only one goal, to destroy Choi Yul and take over the city. So Insok said that the guild leader is an opportunist whose confidence is overflowing and who will not rest until he defeats Choi Yul. In addition, it is also vital for them to become stronger. Kang Du-sik asked if he was talking about the police. They were busy protecting the residents. They were also fighting crime, and now they didn't have enough points to start a guild, and maybe they just didn't need one anymore. So Insuk peered out the window and asked if that was why he had started training. A large crowd had gathered near the building. They all claimed that they wanted to serve under Kang Du-sik, or more precisely, in the police force. Therefore, they asked to be accepted. So Insok asked what he had been doing while he was away, and he replied that he had just been working very hard. Did he really think he could gather people to take control of the police? So Insuk thanked him for that. Then he noted that now it would be very easy to take them all together. After that, a subordinate entered to report something and noticed their argument. He said that while working on this case, they noticed something strange. The victims of personal gain received their awards. So Insuk asked what that was. The police officer gave him a list of awards and said that the list included former criminals and those wanted for serious crimes. Kang Dosik said that he had been wondering why there were no other criminals besides Imugi. It turns out there is a reason for that. The police are too weak. What if they can no longer protect the locals? Seo Insuk said that he understood everything and would accept them all. They are all being transferred to the police. Seo Insuk asked Kang Dusik if he understood everything, and he said whatever he wanted. Kang Dusik thought about how Che Yul is not only a restraining factor for Imugi, he also has his own long-term plan. It is gradual and well thought out. He is completely confident in this method. Meanwhile, the army tried to increase the number of guild members. Kim Seong doesn't understand why there are so few volunteers. They put out ads inviting people to join the army and even welcome those returning to service. Kwon Jae-yun said that perhaps they were scared off by the wording return to service. However, those who do come, regardless of the circumstances, serve faithfully. Kim Sun asked what serious conversation he was referring to. Kwon Jae-yun said that they were running out of fuel and ammunition. Colonel Kim Song replied that he had already received the report. Food is also in short supply, and the only thing they have enough of is electricity. Everything they use belongs to this world, and it was time to produce replacements to be self-sufficient. The irony was that their civilization was in decline. They were lucky that the inhabitants were full of energy, so they would not resist. But he has something else. He found the city's record. They were written by a human animal. People left a lot behind in the ruin before they died. This is only the organized part of what happened. By combining these records and their experience, they must create their own book of strategies. Kang Ji-woo told Choi Uriel that he could see he was satisfied. He asked why he should be dissatisfied and what she had forgotten here. She said that there was a very nice view from here. Thanks to him, she had a good time on this mission. Choi Uriel asked what she meant. She asked if he was creating a guild, and he replied that all participants would become victims of personal gain. That was obvious, so why would he even want to create one? She said that he was preparing something for the victims of personal gain. If he decided to do so, would he accept her as the first member of his guild? Choa Yul replied that he could not give a definite answer. So she said that was enough kindness for today, but if he needed help, he should call her at any time. If he could believe in her honesty, she would become his victim for personal gain, and he should just let her know. After that, she went downstairs. Choa Yul thought she was an interesting girl, but sacrificing personal gain and the punishment of the Demon King were not part of his strategy. This mission helped him gather the city and begin to develop a strategy around Christina. He received no reward after this mission. Having lost the mission with the God of Gold, the residents did not receive any rewards, and it turns out that Christina was also left with nothing. He made it clear that if anyone messed with him, he would be the first to respond. And if he doesn't get a response, he'll have to explain to Christina until he understands. If the prediction is to be believed, the king will quickly realize that this is not worth pursuing. His greed will be enough to remind him of the words of personal gain. And Christina knew that he could make his greed flow like water. After that, someone appeared in front of him. Choa Yul realized that it was Christina, and immediately tried to attack him, but found himself on a chair. In a moment, a table with fruit appeared in front of him, and he was dressed in different clothes. Choi Uriel does not understand what is happening. This was somehow different from the previous Demon King. It was a kind of heterogeneous, absolute pressure emanating from his very person. This must be Christina, the Demon King of personal gain. He thought he needed to calm down a little because he was very agitated. Christina is not in the mood for battle right now. He thought he needed to get him talking and find out as much as possible. He tried to say something but realized he couldn't utter a word. Christina said that the only reason he was here was out of curiosity, and so that he would have nothing else to worry about. But he would leave it up to him to decide whether it would remain just curiosity or something more. Yul understood that this meant there was something he could do for him. Christina told him to get out of the way of pride. There were 6 other people besides him, and he had no one to replace them, so let him choose. Yul understood that he was reading his thoughts, but did his thoughts not bother him? Christina said that if he chose curiosity, everything would remain as before, and if he became useful to him, he would gain new opportunities. Choi Uriel wondered if it was the same book. Christina said that as soon as he made a decision, the book would change upon hearing it. Choi Uriel wondered if all the punishments would disappear if he became useful to him. Christina said that he had confused thoughts. He only said that he would give him the opportunity to be useful to him, but perhaps he would turn out to be completely useless. And because of that, he would lose his favor. Choi Yu-il thought that he had to endure too much for his entertainment or benefit. Christina said that this was precisely why he was interesting to him, or perhaps that was not enough for him. If he proved useful, he would be given a unique opportunity. He would be able to decide the fate of all objects. Choi Yu-il was surprised by this answer and did not know what to do. The city's level increased thanks to the accumulation of enough points. In one move, the city rose from the first level to the third. Many people saved their points instead of spending them. Kang Ji-woo said that it turned out they weren't just throwing dice. Only the names of the players remain, and they did nothing at all. The player from the fourth city didn't seem to want to play at all. It remains to be seen whether they enjoy such a carefree game, or perhaps they have no interest in their city. Safe play is a style of play where the player leaves the outcome of the game to chance. As a reward for raising the city's level, an assistant was summoned. The assistant is called an NPC. It automatically attacks enemies who attack the city. An NPC attack is a hostile action, so you need to be careful. The NPC is not a game character. You cannot play as it. After receiving a notification about the appearance of the NPC, people became frightened. To them, it is like a strong guard. Kang Ji-woo said that if the message was to be believed, they would not just stand there. She wondered if the real game was about to begin. The creature playing the game decided to test for anomalies. As a result, no anomalies were found. The anomalous object was denied registration. The player decided to conduct in-depth testing. During the process, the object could die. The game system asked the player if he wanted to continue, and he confirmed his request. Cheveyul asked Krasen if by everyone he meant those in other cities as well. He was surprised that he was able to speak. Krasina replied that he had asked if he was more interested. Cheveyul thought that too much was at stake, but on the other hand, he was curious to see if he was really capable of playing such a big game. The Demon King was definitely not that simple. Krasina said that it was time to make a choice. Cho Yu-ul asked permission to ask one question. Chao-Yul wanted to know what his mission was, or more precisely, what his goal was. He replied that he had no mission. He only wants to take possession of everything that belongs to these players, everything they know and don't know, everything they have and everything they hide. That is his goal. He wants to get everything, down to the last soul and bone, absolutely everything, and he will take possession of it all. Shueyul thought that he was making all the players his enemies. Krasina said that was enough, and let him choose. The second Demon King considers them to be higher beings, who give missions called challenges. Therefore, he understood what he had to do. Krasina said that it was an incredible and at the same time obvious choice. He would forget this conversation, and it would not remain in his memory. They must not let him see them. Choi Yu-ul said that then, nothing would change. Krasina called him his child and replied that sometimes even the fact that nothing has changed is enough, but let him not worry. Cho Yu-il forgot everything and thought that he had just dozed off, and that Krasina had not answered him. Kang Ji-woo tried to run away from Go Hei-ju, but she caught up with her and said she had been caught. She offered her to join her guild. But Ji-woo again said that she didn't want to join and asked her to stop chasing her. Go Hei-ju was upset and asked her again to join because they were friends. Kang Ji-woo regained her composure and said that they were not friends and that she should stop crying. She would be better off alone, and she should find someone else. Go Hei-ju grabbed her and said that she didn't want to lose her, that she was very cute and her little girl. Kang Ji-woo called her a slut. Meanwhile, the army trained relentlessly. The recovery function could only be used between missions. The commander told everyone except those with serious injuries to use the recovery function in 30 minutes. The function not only heals wounds but also restores stamina. It's like a person has had a good night's sleep. The function greatly improves physical condition. It was with its help that the next 24 hours were spent with incredible efficiency. The children were told what to do during the mission. First of all, evacuate to a safe zone. Only contact communications in an emergency and use the bulletin. Everyone prepared and recovered. They did not need sleep and devoted all 24 hours to preparation, right up to the last second. The city's residents felt it firsthand. Those 24 hours were crucial for survival. Kang Seon-won organized a fight and told his subordinate to deal with him, because they would all be healed in 10 points anyway. The strongest would become his right-hand man. 24 hours passed, and a new hit began. The players have to roll the dice. The 8th piece moves 3 squares. They ended up in the tower in the cannon. The cannon tower map is a joint action mission. Pak Won-ki asked if that meant the residents would have to become one team. The game system began searching for a target for the joint action mission. There was a random call for pieces that also landed on the cannon tower square. Piece 17 was called. Go Hee-ju said that this was another piece and that someone else had been called to this otherworldly city, and another city that had not yet fallen. So Insok asked if such a city existed on Earth. Kang Du-sik replied that it did not. If it ever existed, it had certainly changed. After that, a map was generated. Kwon Jae-yoon's subordinate asked why the map was blank. Another replied that it looked very nice with the cannon in the middle. The game system announced that the difficulty level was calculated according to the sum of the numbers rolled on the player's dice. The total score was 11. The cannon tower would randomly attack the city, and the players had to capture the cannon tower. The mission will end as soon as the time runs out. Choe-yul thought that there were 11 levels of difficulty, one for each floor. The system announced that the duration of the mission is determined by the sum of the numbers rolled on the player's dice. The mission would last 7 days. After that, the mission began, and the cannon tower immediately launched an attack. Go Hae-ju and So In-sok tried to stop it. So In-sok told her not to try to destroy the cannonballs. If it was difficult or didn't work, she should throw them where no one was. But Go Hae-ju was confused because the city could be damaged, so In-sok said that everything was fine and there were no casualties. Kang Do-sik remarked that nothing was fine and asked if he had forgotten everything. The point of the game is to protect the city, not the residents. The stability level of the 8th figure dropped to 91% and 6/10. Choe-yul said that no matter how many residents remain, if the city lay in ruin, the game would be over. He decided to check on the progress of another figure. Its residents turned to the almighty local god of protection. They asked the one who cast the dice to perform a miracle for his slaves, for those who smile and acknowledge him. Colonel Kim's son noticed that the card protects the city from direct physical attacks, but if the damage limit is exceeded, the card will be destroyed. He said that this was the same card that was written about in the Journal of the Fourth City. Choe-yul realized that the players were using cards and dice. Here are 2 ways that allow them to interfere with the course of the game. He feels that they have become objects in the game. The game system announced that the last cannon was aimed at the 8th figure. There were 59 minutes and 58 seconds left before the attack. Meanwhile, the soldiers managed to reach the tower. The other cannons are silent for now, so they are probably reloading. They noticed contact and movement ahead. Kwon Jae-yoon said it was an ambush and that they needed to attack. He was informed that the 2nd and 3rd vehicles had been partially disabled. He asked if there were any casualties and was told that there were 2 lightly wounded. But this would not affect the course of the battle. They continued to advance. A soldier said they would arrive as soon as they sorted things out here. Kwon Jae-yoon told him to remember that even if his arms and legs were severed, he should just make it to the break between missions. He understood why the map was so simple. The map transforms, and you have to keep that in mind. The map could change at any moment, regardless of factors. His subordinate asked if it might be a good idea to take Go Hae-ju with them. Kwon Jae-yoon said that would be unnecessary. If she went, there would be no one to defend the city from the cannon. It was better for the 2 of them to stay inside the city. Then Kwon Jae-yoon said that they were now moving to the tower to conduct reconnaissance, and that he would inform everyone of the plan later. Since they needed to unite with the residents of the 17th city, they had to make a good first impression. Kang Seon-won said he was busy and not to bother him. Kwon Jae-yoon asked the private if he thought they would be able to prevent the battle. There were 47 minutes and 32 seconds left before the last cannon would fire. Kwon Jae-yoon noticed 3 shots and asked if each cannon reloaded differently. His subordinate said that Imugi must have already reached the tower. A man approached them and said that they were probably too late. He noticed their clothes and remarked that they looked just like their city. The first generation must be talking about them. Kwon Jae-yoon did not understand what the first generation was. The man apologized for his late greeting and said that his name was Robel and that he was pleased to meet them. His full name was Robel von Lexus. He had reached level 62. Robel offered an alliance to their city in the name of the Lexus dynasty. It had been protecting this city for 150 years by the grace of God. Kwon Jae-yoon said that before they formed an alliance, he had something to explain. They do not speak on behalf of their entire people, and he represents the interests of the army of the 8th city. Robel said that they have not yet united. He understands because they have also dealt with something similar. In that case, they need to wait a little longer before forming an alliance. Therefore, he asked him to convey their intentions to their people first. He believed in mutual non-aggression. Neither of them would stand against the other. The question of life or death of the attacker will be decided by the will of the victim. Kwon Jae-yoon thought that destroying the enemy in self-defense was only natural. Robel said that it was all for the protection of their people. Therefore, he should not misunderstand him. Kwon Jae-yoon replied that he understood him. Robel gave him a book. He said that it contained a way to get rid of the cannon tower. It was a sign of their friendship. Jae-yoon asked if he could find out where he got this information. Robel replied that it was simple. They had already fought the cannon tower during their first mission. Kwon Jae-yoon said that this was a repeat mission. This meant that they might encounter something again, so they had to be prepared for it. Kwon Jae-yoon thanked him for his concern and said that their message would be passed on. They would provide them with information about friendly forces, whose position toward the alliance would coincide with theirs. They would also report on the danger. Robel said that sounded good and that they could consider it a good start. He suggested that they meet again in 24 hours. Kwon Jae-yoon asked if they should patrol outside. Robel replied that it was impossible to just walk into the tower. There were certain procedures, and there was no point in trying to just walk in. Meanwhile, Kang Seonwan has already reached the tower, but he does not understand why it will not open. Roble said that it would be difficult to prepare, so he should not slow down, because their city was not being defended by them. Cho Yul read about the 150 years in the book, and said that they also had some kind of inadequate player. Jack noted that he looked calm. Then Choi Yul said that he was actually busy. Meanwhile, Go Hye-ju dealt with the core. Choi Yul flipped through the pages and finally found what he was looking for. The book said to deliver the object to the right place. The reward was to save 100 people from personal gain. Cho Yul asked what this additional quest was, and the reward seemed strange to him. The bulletin was unsigned, and was probably the work of Krasin. He wanted to at least see him and imagined him to be a terrible monster. He didn't expect it to be easy, but he waited for a response and his method worked. So now it was time to carry out the order. He had to start pulling on the rope, and they would meet at the end and see who could pull whom. People noticed that Choi Yul was flying. The man called to let people know who was in that direction. The guy said that Choi Yul had been spotted. The girl said that everyone should remain calm and remember what they had been taught. The city's NPS assistant confirmed the target for further investigation and began testing. The reloading time for the last gun was over. Go Hye-ju remembered how the Goblin Jack said that her power was borrowed. She had to use as much strength as she could handle. Apologizing silently to the master, she decided that she would have to put her whole soul into it. So In-sok realized that his wind would only get in the way. Meanwhile, Choi Yul had already arrived and used Taltum. It was a legendary throwing weapon. According to legend, this magical projectile was capable of destroying an evil god. It can be used 10 times per mission, and the less it is used, the greater its penetrating power. Choi Yul said that he would only use it once, and then fired it at the core. The system announced that all of Taltum's charges had been used up. With this weapon, he managed to destroy the core, so In-sok told Go Hye-ju that she did it. Go Hye-ju replied that it wasn't her. Seo In-sok asked if it was Choi Yul again. She replied that the power remained even outside the city. They would not be able to cope with this weapon and its capabilities. The last cannon aimed again at figure number 17. The next shot would be fired in 59 minutes and 58 seconds. The map changed according to the impact of the last cannon. Kwon Jae-yoon's subordinate said that the walls were strong and would be suitable for hiding. Kwon Jae-yoon thought that the last cannon fires once an hour and the map changes each time. This is unlikely to help them understand the nature of these changes. They need to make sure that this information is accurate before they can begin to develop a plan. Kwon Jae-yoon said to join up with reinforcements. Due to the change in the map, their vehicle was destroyed. A subordinate shouted that it was his favorite car. Kwon Jae-yoon thought they needed horses. Chu Yeol found the coordinates in the book and arrived at the right place. He needed to take a 10 by 10 piece. 2 times 1 centimeter, 2 times 10 centimeters up, and 1 time down. Next, he had to place the figure he had made on the book. Choi Yul did so, and as soon as he placed the figure, it disappeared. His order was fulfilled, and as a reward, he could replace 100 victims of personal gain. Choi Yul was surprised that everything was already ready. He did not understand what kind of order it was. Christina received the figure and said it was wonderful. It was a fragment of the key that opened the great door of collapse. He had proven his usefulness and would now be under his protection until he no longer needs him. The NPC's assistant found him. The system granted permission for further investigation. Choi Yul asked if she was an NPC and why she wasn't in the city. The NPC was given the right to act autonomously and attacked him. But Choi Yul managed to catch the NPC and thought it was some kind of malfunction. He doesn't understand what's wrong with her. The NPC's abilities have been upgraded to level 600. Compared to the ability level of the research target, she had become stronger and began the first stage of in-depth research. She began physiological research by inflicting damage on him. Choi Yul does not understand why she is so strong. An NPC usually has a level of 180. The NPC opened an isolated area. Choi Yul realized that he had to get out of there first and attacked her. But she grabbed his leg and said that until the research was complete, he was not allowed to participate in the game. Choi Yul said that she only talks about her research and asked what that means. What did he do wrong? She said that he had reached a level that was significantly higher than what was possible at this stage of the game. The subject was suspected of cheating or exploiting bugs. Choi Yul asked if it was just because he had reached the maximum level at the very beginning that she thought he had cheated the system. If he understood correctly, then why were such items created in the first place? After that, he showed her his book. She said that she was conducting an in-depth investigation into the legality of the object, and that after passing it, the registration of anomalous objects would be terminated. If the research failed, the object would disappear. Choi Yul asked her to wait because he hadn't done anything. Did the developers really not care about the players' opinions? The head of the travel guild told him to check the potion supplies, essential medicines, and everything else. He was informed that everything was in place. Sun Tai-yun said that the Guild of Travelers to the Other World was preparing. His subordinate asked why they were on bicycles. He said that there was almost no gasoline left in the city and they would need it when things got worse. Now they should listen to him carefully. They were not going there to fight, but to explore the otherworldly realms. The eighth figure was gradually losing its strength. Now the strength level was 82 and 49%. So Insok said that they hadn't even started yet, and there was already so much destruction. Go Hyeju replied that everything was fine. The spirit of the city has changed, and that's what matters. So Insok said that everything was finally working as it should. Kang Dusik said that one card had been allocated for the mission. Therefore, they only needed to defend one side. Go Hyeju's help during construction would not hurt. Sun Taiyun marveled at the incredible material and its elegant structure. His subordinate climbed up the mountain and asked the guildmaster to save him. Park Wung-gi told everyone to take cover. The transport vehicle was in the field, and they should check the guild chat as often as possible. One man asked if they could melt these cores. Another replied that they were quite strong and asked if he remembered how Go Hyeju couldn't break them. They were too heavy to just drag away, and calculations had to be made. Kang Jiwoo examined the cores and had an idea. She thought that this information could be very profitable, and she wondered who she could sell it to. So Insok believes that many people in the city are unstable. Evil mad dogs, thieves in the shadows. They will block the cannonballs and stall for as long as they can. They didn't notice that someone was watching them, dressed in armor that made them look like shadows. These are the clothes of the Dark Ones, ideal for secret operations. The strength level of the figure 17 is 99% and 21/100ths. Roble said that this city had potential, and that it hadn't been a month since they had settled here. Hank Set asked if they had let them know. He is a high-ranking resident and is currently at level 33. Emma Hilt noted that this is a joint mission, so why not let them develop? It was even better for their city because fewer of their people would die. She was also a high-ranking resident and was at level 47. Kane Vior, a high-ranking resident at level 50, said that if this had been their second mission, they would have gotten rid of them and everything would have ended differently. Roble said not to get ahead of events. So far, everything is going according to his plan. Their city was dealt a lively resident card. The movement speed of all residents increased. The effect will last for 6 hours. The residents of figure 17 increased their speed for 3 hours. Roble said that God's revelation had come upon them. Therefore, he addressed all the inhabitants and said that they must bring victory to their God. He believes that they are the Lord's chosen one. They are inhabitants of the Lord's city. Roble used a legendary one-handed sword called the Stormbringer, which causes thunder. The one-handed sword has a thunder spell called Chain Lightning. Roble thought about the city of the unfaithful people who were not loved by God. About the hateful people who were deprived by God. He believes that such a city cannot win in the sacred game, for their powerful items are worthless and their high levels are worthless. The NPC's assistant pushed Chve Yulia away, and he told her to get out of his way. He didn't care about her. She jumped away from him, and he asked if she had already reached the maximum level, and he thought to himself that now he had met someone who was his equal, but in reality he was very afraid to fight her. He was only cool because of his clothes and magic. Although he had studied martial arts with Jack, he still hadn't mastered all the techniques. The NPC attacked him again. He asked when she would finish her research. The NPC said that according to the first point, there was a 98% chance of the system being tricked again. The subject takes such measures when his life is in danger. The second point requires confirmation of the possibility of repeated errors in different situations. It is necessary to check whether errors occur under certain conditions. Chue Yul thought that she had decided to finish him off once and for all. But she didn't care about his death and wouldn't even bat an eye, so he decided to call Jack, the Goblin Swordmaster. Together, it would be easier for them to deal with her. The NPC said that summoning familiars or companions inside the isolated area was prohibited. Chve Yul asked if he would have to survive until the end of the research. He thought that this would only add to his problems, and that it would take a very long time. He needed to get to the city before the last cannon attacked again. The NPC said that she was continuing her physiological research. Chue Yul thought that she was using simple blows, but the problem was elsewhere. He didn't know how to deal with her for even a minute. He said that he definitely wouldn't survive. Christina said that wouldn't happen and decided to help him. The NPC confirmed the survival of the research subject and said she would continue her research. He unlocked a new skill from Christina's book. It was mastery. The subject could master one of the confirmed masters. It can also use their abilities. You can possess one of 4 masters. The chosen master cannot be summoned during a mission. Chuyul asked why he hadn't said so before. The system informed him that he could use the abilities of the Goblin Swordmaster Jack. Turning to Krasen, Chuyul said that he really hated him, but now he would finally be able to deal with this prank. Therefore, he changed his mind about punching him in the face as soon as he saw him. After that, he continued his battle with the NPC. He realized that level and weapons were not the key to absolute power. In any game, even if you have a low level or poor equipment, the main thing is control. Control is what will allow him to stay on top. In this case, Jack's martial arts are much closer to perfect control. These are martial arts. mixed with maximum physical strength. Goblin Jack appeared before him in the form of a ghost and said that it was hopeless. Chui Yul was frightened and shouted the word ghost, then asked Jack if he was possessed by him, and was now in a state where another soul had entered him. Jack remarked that he had also frightened him. Chui Yul asked what exactly was hopeless and whether she was stronger than him. Goblin Jack said that with his body, he would not be able to defeat her, and that was why it was hopeless. Cho Yu apologized to him. Then the system offered him to transfer control of his body, and he agreed. Jack immediately used the 7 steps of the terrifying wind. This is one of the footwork techniques Jack invented. The movements are fast and straightforward. Next, he used the Heavenly Wolf Saber, a lunar attack with a wolf's fang, and one of Jack's sword techniques. Cho Yul told Jack not to destroy her. Jack used the 3-part sword shot and realized that he should have said earlier that he wanted to keep her alive. Cho Yul said that he didn't even have time to say anything. Then he returned to his body and said that it was okay. Now is not the time for that, and they need to get down to business. If you use the reconciliation function, the NPCs will stop considering him an enemy. They would also be forcibly sent back to their starting location. It is useful to ensure yourself against the event that someone accidentally quarrels with an NPC. The problem is that you first need to detain the NPC to do this. It doesn't matter how you do it, the main thing is to detain them. He asked if the research would stop after he pressed the button. He pressed it and asked why nothing happened. He doesn't like it. The NPC said that the physiological research was complete and no abnormalities were found. Che Yul doesn't understand where she got that from, because after he pressed the button, she disappeared. The NPC said that she was starting the final study. Choe Yul realized that the sound was coming from the mountain, but he didn't care about the sound. Right now, he was worried about the words about another examination. Meanwhile, Quan Jae-un was studying the book he received from Robel. He said that everything was clear and that they needed to go and check everything. He would lead them, and Min Woo should follow him while everyone else covered them from behind. Quan Jae-un used the item. His subordinate said that it was a new thing made from the bone of the god of gold, and that it was simply incredible. Among the weapons provided, there are some that must always be carried with you, even when not in use. There are also items that can be summoned or released, although if the equipment is not of the summonable type, it will be difficult to do so. Besides, it is impossible to carry such equipment in a car. Quan Jae-un used a heroic class held in shield. The faith of his followers is capable of performing miracles. The shield creates an energy barrier that is a sign of divinity. The strength of the energy barrier is determined by the degree of team cohesion. Quan Jae-yong learned about the preliminary preparations for entering the tower. It is possible to enter through the doors located on the mini tower. Once inside, you will see the goblin who controls the tower. The goblin must be destroyed, and then something must be found. At his workplace, you need to look for a low-level identity card. If you collect 100 of these, they will turn into a high-level card. Collect another 100 high-level cards, and they will turn into a master card, so you will have to repeat the same actions many times. With this card, you can enter the cannon tower, but there is one restriction. There cannot be more than 10 people in the group that enters. You need to collect as many master cards as possible and take enough people with you. Kang Soon-won thinks this game is stupid. His companion told him not to worry because she would think of something. Ji-woo approached them and greeted Imugi. She mentioned that she had some information that he would really like, and asked if he was interested. Woo Sol-gi, Kang Seon-won's companion, said that they were standing in front of Kang Ji-woo himself, one of the best treasure hunters. Kang Seon-won was surprised. Woo Sol-gi was an ordinary citizen with a level of 17. Kang Seon-won approached Kang Ji-woo. He asked how she dared to have anything to do with him. If she didn't want to get hurt, she should just tell him everything. She asked if he wasn't afraid to talk to her like that, even though these matters would now determine how they would treat each other in the future. In the last mission, she was the one who obtained information about the God of Gold, and doesn't that prove her abilities? Moreover, she took second place, if he remembered. Woo Sol-gi asked if they would pay attention to her. This girl came here knowing who he was, and that was all he needed, at least to listen to her, and if she talks nonsense, they will simply destroy her. Ji-woo said that they would be able to talk, and surely she was already a grown-up girl. Woo Sol-gi said she hoped she wouldn't disappoint her. She really sincerely hoped so. Ji-woo called her sweetie and told her to smile more often because it was very cute. Kang Seon-won thought about how this sweet conversation made him feel a little scared. Robel and his team collected cards and received another high-level ID card. Henset said that they had already collected 12 cards, which was pretty good. Robel asked how many people they had lost. He replied that 42 people had been killed and another 123 wounded. He told them to be more careful, but their determination was unstoppable. However, thanks to their sacrifice, they had made tremendous progress in this mission. Robel said that everyone should know, "Let no one die for the gods, but live for them." Henset told His Highness that it would be done. Robel thought that based on the information given to them by Mr. Chae-un, the strongest man in the 8th city was Choe Yul. But for some reason, people had stopped seeing him. Even if he had some kind of dangerous weapon, he had enough strength on his own. They knew only one thing: he still did not use it for the benefit of the city. His cowardice had nothing to do with his ability. The investigation continued, and the system announced that all active effects would be temporarily removed for the duration of the investigation. Choi Yul felt that he could not move. The NPC began researching his sensory and explicit memory. She entered his subconscious. In all of the examined memories of the anomalous object, the creature is recognized as guilty of contact with an atypical creature by the game system. He saw in his memories how people began to accuse him of being the victim of personal gain. They asked him for at least 10 points. The NPS learned that there was no contact with atypical beings, so it expanded the area of memory research and began investigating game memory. In his memories, she saw him working and his mother calling him. He asked her how she was and how he was. That was all he wanted to know. His mother replied that everything was fine. He was definitely fine and had nothing to worry about. Then he asked how his father was doing. She replied that he was strong and would manage. Choi Yul asked if she didn't know that he was smarter than him. After saying goodbye to his mother, he said he had to go to his part-time job. He would call her back later. Choi Yul asked the NPC how long she was going to torment him. This was already a violation of his personal boundaries. The NPC sensed danger because the subject was resisting the investigation. Due to the possibility of damage to the equipment, the investigation was suspended. The investigation into contact with atypical beings has been completed, and the memory investigation has been completed. As a result, no anomalies were found. In-depth research has been completed. No anomalies were found, so the subject is cleared to play and returns to the mission at the appropriate time. He received a health bonus that automatically restored his stamina. Choi Yul thought that he had finally recovered. But couldn't this have been done earlier? During the Demon King's punishment, he was also unable to recover. Even if his level is maxed out, he is only as strong as the game allows him to be, but he will become even stronger. And he would surpass the limits set for ordinary residents and objects. The 17th figure used a black steel shield that blocked one attack on the city. The shield was destroyed when the cannon fired. The figure's endurance level is 98% and 24 hundredths. Choi Yul decided that he had to become equal to the players, or even surpass them. People noticed Choi Yul. They thought he had fallen asleep there, but what was there to fear with such equipment and skill? The man said they needed to leave. They didn't need to become victims of personal gain. Then he saw Kim take out a weapon and asked what he was doing and if he had lost his mind. Kim approached Choi Yul and held the sword to his throat. Choi Yul asked why he was doing that. Kim said he also wanted to ask him that. Who did he think he was? Did he really think he could deceive him and the others? He had competed, trusting him and doing his bidding. And then he competed again and was ready to die, but lost everything. He was 10 points short of saving his dying daughter. She was only 7 years old. The man wanted to strike him with his sword, but his sword broke. Choi Yul noticed that some people had forgotten what would happen if he was disturbed. Kim's comrades wanted to warn him to cover his ears, but Choi Yul used an acupuncture point to paralyze his opponent. Therefore, they could not utter a word or move. Choi Yul said that if he wanted revenge, he should first reach a higher level. Only then should he start thinking. He would have to make them victims of his personal gain so that others would not be tempted. They would leave and tell others not to talk to him. But it was unclear whether they would become victims of personal gain even without approaching him. Kim apologized for making them victims of personal gain. The man said that everything was fine and that he understood. Of course, Choi Yul angered him, but he is speaking sensibly, so he should not do that again. First, he needs to improve his skills and find good equipment. He needs to be strong enough to take revenge. Kim said he would become stronger and deal with Choi Yul with his own hands. This man's name is Kim Yoo-jung. He is an ordinary resident and has a 9th level. He said he would deal with him one fine day. Jack asked why he made them victims for his own gain when he could have just let them go. He replied that if he had let them go, the brakes would have continued to fail. Moreover, his friends would also suffer, and if they stayed here, they would surely die. After that, a doomsday machine appeared in front of him. It was an octopus of the 5th complexity, and a freely maneuverable vehicle consisting of several mini-towers. Its parameters were increased due to the combination of mini-towers. The octopus immediately attacked him. Choi Yul knows that after a while, a field boss appeared. Defeating the field boss gives you 1 master card. It can be used to enter the cannon tower. Getting a card this way is much easier than spending time collecting ordinary cards endlessly. But this method is much more dangerous. Choi Yul used one of Jack's sword techniques, the Heavenly Wolf Saber, Black Wolf's Descent. This martial arts technique attacks by falling on the enemy from the sky. Jack said that he had too many unnecessary movements. The pinnacle of skill is to use energy and use it most effectively. Wide movements are unnecessary. Chui Yul said he understood everything. Jack noted that this happens when you want to learn something quickly. A cool head is your friend, but haste is your enemy. Chui Yul thanked him for his help. Jack asked if he would enter the tower, and he replied that it was too early. If he went in now, he wouldn't be able to complete the mission. There was little choice. It was either victory or death. So until he went in, he had to finish everything he hadn't done yet. Jack said that he was always coming up with something, and he didn't know what to expect from it. Just think about it. He dared to break into the Alliance headquarters. The king said that he came when he felt like it, and now he wants to see their god. The rumors about him have been confirmed, and before them stands the evil of the 8th city himself, Cho Yul. Cho Yu said he had a few words for their player. Was it true that they had tried to betray them from the very beginning? The king asked what he meant, and Choi Yuriul replied that he knew everything. He knew that the residents were languishing in anticipation, wearing their armor. It seems that many of their residents had invaded their cities. All they could think about was how to stab them in the back at the end of the mission. The king said that there was another conversation, but since this was a book, there was no point in changing the subject. Choi Yuriul said to stop the nonsense or everyone would die in his strong grip. The king remarked that he was too boastful. He had heard about his strength and had seen it in action, but until now, he had never had to compete with real gods. Choi Yul was challenged to a duel. The player chose a card that summoned the user's object and another object to the battlefield. The level of the summoned object will be adjusted according to the lower level limit of the object. Choi Yul is at level 99. The mayor of Lemel von Lexus also has level 99. He said he would get rid of him and that no one would interfere with God's plans. He used Zweihander, a large two-handed sword of the mythical Jupiter class. Zweihander has the god's name engraved on it and has power over storm. Then he said that the book had told him too much and attacked him. Even if he has the highest level, he is still small fry. He spent a pitiful month of his life in battle, and even on equal terms he could not defeat him. Choi Yul dodged his attack and counterattacked. Then he said that he hadn't spent half his life in battle, but he had. Now he hopes that the 17th player understands everything. Lemul von Lexus said that he didn't have much of an opponent. Quite funny. His subordinates immediately rushed to his aid. Choi Yul said that from now on they were on a joint mission. According to the rules of the joint mission, he noticed that everyone was hostile towards him. Goblin Jack felt some kind of energy. It was similar to a thirst for blood, but to be more precise, it was most likely madness. Quan Jae-yoon doesn't understand what's going on and why the army is retreating into the city. The player drew the Mad City card. The inhabitants of this city have gone mad and are attacking other creatures. The abilities of the inhabitants increase significantly. Chu Yol jumps out of the window, and Jack asks what's going on. Chu Yol replies that it's obvious. Their evil plan has come into action. But how is that possible? It's hard to believe. It's such a stupid move. What kind of love is it if they are just pawns in the hands of the players? The townspeople surrounded him on all sides. The player drew a targeting card. This ability determines the priority target that all residents attack. The Strong City card also continues to have an effect. This card will remain in effect for another day and 6 hours. Choi Yul thought that targeting the tower would take all day. If so, the first to engage in battle with these creatures would be ordinary residents. Goblin Jack asked if he would trust him with this task, and he replied that he would not. He would have to deal with this himself. People rushed at him, and he began to destroy them. The player tried to check the information about the enemy's secret character, but the game system rejected his request. Choi Yul said that he might not hear it, but he would fully repay the player for the time he had spent. And when he had held the government in an iron fist for 150 years, when he had destroyed everyone, Jack asked if everything was okay. Choi Yul replied that it wasn't. He had prepared himself for this, but in reality, it felt different. It would be difficult for their city to cope on its own, and no matter how shameful it was, they would have to deal with this matter as quickly as possible. Everyone received a notification that player number 17 had irretrievably lost all their items. The player was eliminated from the game and reborn as a highly complex city-devouring boss. Choi Yul was surprised that the player who lost became a city-devouring boss. It turns out that players are not supreme beings. When the number of the player's objects began to gradually decrease, he sent a complaint about the 8th player. The reason was possession of an abnormal object. However, the investigation found no anomalies, bugs, or system fraud. He lost his status as a player. The 17th player was expelled from the game and made a city-devouring monster. The system thanked him for playing. He decided to attack the city. The 8th player rolled the dice and drew the last escape card. With it, you can end the mission and move your piece by rolling the dice. All rewards earned during the mission are cancelled. But player number 17 struck and destroyed the city. The 8th player could do nothing about it. A moment before the city was destroyed, Choi Yu felt as if he were falling into an abyss. He did not understand what had happened and hoped that everything was all right with the city. Then he saw Christina in front of him and shouted his name. Christina touched him, and he remembered their previous conversation. Christina said that, as they had agreed, He had proven that he could be useful and that from now on, he had been given a chance. Chahuayul asked about the others. Krasina replied that his city had been destroyed, and all the objects had fallen with it. The City Devourer is a special version of the player. No matter how hard the objects try, they are powerless. Chuayu fell to his knees and couldn't believe that this was really happening. Krasina said that since the only ones who could deal with the City Eater were the players, his defeat was inevitable. Cho-Yu asked what kind of game this was, who these players were, and why he was still alive. Krasina replied that he knew the answers to all 3 questions, but he would not give them to him yet. Now they had to hurry to return his city and its inhabitants. Choe-Yul asked what he had just said. Krasina replied that he had heard correctly. He said that now they would return his city and its inhabitants. Then Chahuayul asked him if he really dared to doubt Krasina. Chahuayul replied that he had nothing left to lose. Krasina said that he would allow him to use his own strength, and that he would destroy the Devourer who had brought them so much misery. If he succeeded, he would return what had been lost. Cho-Yul asked what he had in mind. Did he really want him to destroy him with a single sword? It sounded like nonsense. After that, he returned to the city. The Devourer of Cities immediately attacked him. Chahuayul felt terrible pain, but it seemed that he was still alive. After that, the book spoke to him in Krasina's voice. It said that the City Eater was the strongest creature in the game. Even the players tried to avoid competing with him. Although he had given him enough power to match the City Devourer, he could not give him any more. Chahuayul asked if he meant that if he lost, it would be his fault. The City Eater used a meteorite summoning card. The number of meteorites is determined by rolling a 12-sided die. Krasina said that now he is equal in strength to the players. All his items and skills were endowed with the same power as the player's card. Cho-Yuryul decided to try to strike the City Devourer. He managed to hit him hard and was glad that it worked. Cho-Yuul turned to Krasin and asked what else he needed. Chahuayul asked if the Devourer and the players all looked like that. He replied that of course they didn't. They all looked different. In addition, their cards and strategies also differed from each other. The City Devourer used a thunderstorm. This card causes a thunderstorm over a large area. Choe-Yuul thought that if that was the case, then there must be Devourers who were much stronger than this one. In his opinion, it was a disgrace. If only the other players were like him, everything would be much easier. Because this Devourer is terrible at this game. Choyul used the legendary Stormbringer and mythical Jupiter sword. As a result, he obtained the Sword of Control. This is a special skill that allows the user to control weapons remotely. He said that this Devourer has gained weapons but still keeps his distance. This means he avoids close combat. It also only uses area attacks. In his opinion, it is insignificant. The Bridge Eater used a bombardment card that fires various types of artillery. Cho-Yul is confident that this Bridge Eater is nothing special. He knows nothing about one-on-one combat and just wildly throws around a bunch of cards. Choayul used a free movement ticket. This is a heroic class tool that allows you to teleport to previously visited locations. Krasina said he could get there faster but would go slower. They will make him afraid of the silhouette slowly approaching. That way they would throw him off balance even more and he would use his cards less wisely. No matter how much the monster fought in countless attempts to attack without strategy or tactics, it was pointless. Choyul said that this was how he would end up. He used chain lightning and said that he must have had a lot of fun. Fighting him is like fighting a god. Chahuayul used a weather change sphere. It is a legendary tool that changes the weather in a small area. The duration of the effect depends on the user's rank. The user can choose the type of weather. He also activated a special ability called Overload. This is an exclusive skill of Jupiter that absorbs the surrounding elements of thunder attributes. Upon reaching the overcharged state, the user gains thunder damage. Choayul said that the Sword of Control is not equipped, so this is possible. He attacked the City Devourer and received a notification that an enemy in a state of electric shock takes double damage from Jupiter. He also activated the Wrath of the Thunder God, Jupiter's special innate skill, which immediately releases previously accumulated elements of thunder attributes. Chahuayul told the City Devourer that he was not yet dead, and, surprisingly, very resilient. He wanted to know so much. But now, everything must be revived. Choayul struck him with his sword, and something strange began to happen. He asked what it was. Krasina told him to step back because he was still needed. After that, the City Devourer turned into a large cannonball. Chahuayul asked what the egg was. After that, a crack appeared in it, and Krasina emerged. Chahuayul wondered if that was all. Krasina said that he had not breathed air for 1,000 years, and that it was as terrible as ever. Choyuryul remarked that it was time to end the conversation, and that he should finally keep his word. Krasina did as he promised, and returned the city. Choyul was glad that the city had returned, but he was curious about where everyone had gone. He said that this was not what they had agreed upon. Krasina remarked that he was very impatient. The Devourer's power was only enough to restore part of the city. If he wants to revive the objects, he will need more Devourers and more power. Choyu asked if he was stupid. In addition to the power of that devourer, he had all the power he had gathered before. The points used by the residents become experience points for the city. This allows the city to raise its level. In the process, players receive something like money, and this money is used to buy cards. This is the cycle of points in the game. In this way, players establish new strategies and cards, but the points he spent did not go to the city. Where did they go? Christina said that this was incredible. It was like eyes looking beyond the limits. Even through the despair of his city's destruction, and even during the battle with the creature of absolute order, the Devourer. He guessed right, and he really does have power, but the thing is, now is not the time to use it. And let him not doubt him. His promise will be fulfilled, and now let him see how the game looks. Yahello said he didn't see it while he was fighting the Devourer. Christina replied that it was simple. Everything he is allowed to see exists, and everything else does not. He needs 3 more Devourer's bodies. If he returns with them as promised, he will revive all the objects, and the 8th city will return to the game. Christina's figure appeared in the body of the new player. Yahello realized that he had no choice but to defeat the Devourers. The Devourer used a flight card that grants the user the ability to fly for a certain period of time. Yahello noticed that he was very fast. Then the Devourer split, and Yahello realized that he would have to deal with 3 Devourers. The Devourer used a force barrier that protects the user with a non-attributive energy barrier that absorbs a certain amount of damage. Yahello was surprised that 1 card was enough to create barriers for all 3 of them, so there weren't 3 of them. They were components of 1 Devourer. He thought that they were charging forward with their barriers. The Devourer used a 1.5-meter sword of the ordinary class. The effect of the cards was divided between them. 1 is enough. Now Yahello understood everything. Christina said that humans and Devourers have different talents, and also different abilities, so he shouldn't be disappointed. He couldn't lose to a local hunter who lost in this pathetic game. But if he loses, his future will not be so bright. Yahello told him to be quiet because he was distracting him. So he should just keep quiet and be ready to save everyone. Christina said that he shouldn't worry. Everything that needed to be prepared was already ready. Go Hiju asked what had happened, because it seemed like they had died. Kang Ji-woo said she didn't think so. Everything here is dim, and in a word, it's definitely not paradise. Christina addressed them. He told them to listen to him. His name was Christina. He was their salvation and their resurrection. Now he was player number 8. Kang Seon-wan asked if he was a player and if that meant he was the final boss, but if they destroyed him, he would become stronger. After that, he couldn't say a word and froze. Woo Solgi noticed that he had fallen silent and frozen as if time had stopped. Christina said that he had ordered them to listen, not talk. Now they were all on the brink of life and death, but they had a chance. If they go through the door of life, they will return to the game, and if they go through the door of death, they will meet their painless end. 2 doors would open before them, and only they could decide which path to take. People were surprised that he was telling them to simply die. But if they return, they will find themselves back in this hellish mission. Go Hyeju raised her hand and said she had a question. Christina allowed her to speak, and she asked when the doors would open. Christina decided to show them what was happening. Go Hyeju was surprised when she saw Che Yura. Kwon Jae-yoon said that he had been wondering where he had gone. Christina said that as soon as he wins, the door will open. Go Hyeju asked who would win, and he replied that it was the embodiment of hopelessness. They would meet him when they returned, so they should choose wisely. Those who did not want to compete with him had no place in his city. Choi Yul activated the gravitational sphere of his magical martial art. It activates a powerful gravitational pull. This gravity pulls in everything nearby. The user can also be affected by the sphere. With the help of gravitational pull, he was able to deal with the Devourer, but suffered heavy damage. The Devourer's attacks are too strong, and he does not have time to recover, so it is worth considering automatic recovery if he cannot use it in battle. Christina said he would repeat it. Choi Yul noted that he knew he didn't have time, so he should call the next one. This would be the last one, and by destroying it, he would bring everyone back. The Devourer immediately used the Moonblade card. Kwon Jae-yoon asked if they would have to fight these monsters if they returned. The girl said that they couldn't even breathe with normal monsters, let alone these ones. The boy said he didn't want to fight them. Shu Yul noticed that the Devourer only used physical attacks. That was his style. He could find a million ways to defeat the monster. If only he had the time, but he didn't. So he decided to give control of his body to Jack. He decided to leave the matter to the one who could handle it like no one else. Jack said that he was always teaching him something. Choi Yul replied that he could explain, but Jack said there was no need. He knows who he has to deal with. Jack quickly defeated the Devourer, and Christina said that the door was open, and the choice was theirs. They could choose a life filled with despair or peace after death. Choi Yul returned to the city, and Christina told him not to misunderstand him. He had kept his word. Now people have a choice that only they can make. Choi Yul said that he should at least say that this is the end of the mission with the tower and the cannon. Christina replied that, of course not. The mission was still ongoing, even now. When his city fell, the 8th player fled, tucking his tail between his legs. Then he took control, although he did not have enough strength to return to the moment when the city had not yet been destroyed. Yahello asked if he meant that he had run out of resources so soon after becoming a player. Christina replied that before the game ends, a countdown appears for the player. He was given this time. It was also given to all the objects that had taken some action. After that, the 8th player returned to the game and the mission resumed. There was 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 11 seconds left until the end of the mission. Yahello said that there was only 1 hour left. He asked if he could now stop worrying about sacrificing his personal gain. Christina replied that he was right. The city now belonged to him. Therefore, he no longer needed any sacrifices. Yahello said not to make him laugh by saying that it was his city. The real owners of this city were his people. Yahello immediately rushed into battle to destroy the earthworm's doomsday machine. Yahello warned that it was already on its way. The earthworm had a 5th level of complexity. It was an autonomous machine consisting of several towers. Its characteristics were enhanced by the merging of the towers. Yahello said that it had started and she confirmed contact. Everyone is warned to stay away from the research target and not to attract attention. Yahello was informed that the distance between the machine and her was 500 meters. It is located at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock refers to the clock face. This is a method of indicating the direction of the target. 12 o'clock is in front. Yahello said that he should not let his guard down. Yahello remarked that it was all thanks to her becoming stronger. He will finish this soon, and she should take care of protecting the city for now. He decided to use the master's map to enter the tower. The master's card was confirmed, and he was allowed to enter. Once inside, it was forbidden to leave the building until the mission was complete. Upon entering the cannon tower, he found himself on the 1st floor. It was a small town of goblin. Yahello said it was a disgrace. It was much more profitable to complete this mission slowly. Christina replied that he should save his greed for later. He used a bounty hunting map that transports the user to the mission boss and only works in the space where the boss is located. Christina said that it was only a small sacrifice on the way to a great victory. The goblin used fire and shouted for the man to die. The goblins rejoiced, thinking they had destroyed the man, but received a notification that the boss on the top floor of the tower had been defeated. Yahello defeated the queen of the Mad Brains, Cold Overbrain. All the products of the Mad Brains are under her control. He completed his mission, and the 8th figure was victorious. The residents who were not in the city returned inside. Yahello also returned, but not all the residents were happy to see him. Still, some were grateful to him. The old woman said he had done a good job and threw him a bottle of drink. Yahello bowed to her and then flew away. Kim Yoo-jung told him not to forget that not everyone who came back to life wanted to live. He was a savior, but there would be those who wanted him dead. There were 24 hours left before the next mission. Yahello said that the people had been revived, and all victims of personal gain had been freed. Then he took his sword and waved it in front of Christina. Christina asked if he had stopped. Yahello replied that he should stop because it wasn't even his real body. Besides, he still needed him. Christina said that was very interesting and asked what his next plan was. Yahello asked if he was asking him that question. Christina replied that his task was to use him to reach the end of the game. Besides, he knew this city better. Yahello said that was probably true, and asked if he would do it now that he was on equal footing with the players. He replied that he would try, but first he had to give him something in honor of his conquest of the city. Yahello doesn't understand what's going on and why some kind of building has appeared in the city. Christina gave him a training center. This building was erected by a player in his city for training with a virtual opponent. No rewards or points are given for training. The only goal is to gain combat experience. Even if you lose, the object will not be destroyed, which is very cool. But sometimes things are different. This training center is special. It is thrown into a real location, not a virtual space. He can even earn rewards and points. Of course, if he dies there, it's game over. Yahello said it looks pretty good. He decided to familiarize himself with the training center and inspect the main control center. He had been working on a plan to prepare the city's forces for a long time. The problem was finding a suitable location for this plan. But with training grounds like theirs, he could send them to individual cities. First, he decided to work with Yahello. He apologized for being late. There were only 18 hours left. As soon as she was transferred to the map with Christina's abilities, time would start running differently. A maximum of 1 year would be allocated. If she felt danger or wanted to return, she could break the hourglass of return. In this world, there are many ways to become stronger, but he asks her not to exhaust herself to death. To achieve his goal, the owner of Prometheus's Fang must find her. He also sent So In-sok and Kang Du-sika for exclusive training. They ended up on a map of a mountain, abandoned by the god of an old dynasty. Their goal is to find the spirits of the rain and the god. Kwon Jae-yoon also went on exclusive training to the map of a tomb where evil slumbers side by side. His goal is to awaken the tomb's ruler and take over his will. Next, Yahello decided to work with Kang Seon-wan. Kang Seonwon asked him what he was doing there and if he wanted to open the door. Choi Uriel said he was giving him one last chance. His pearl turns into light or darkness depending on his deeds. If he behaves well, she will become a dragon. But if he continued to live as before, it would turn into a Gancheori, a creature that Imugi can turn into after abnormal weather conditions. Usually the decision is made after prolonged observation of his actions, but according to him, this time can be significantly reduced. Of course, he can leave right now, but then he will fall even further behind in his skill development. Kang Seonwon said that he doesn't care about the opinion of these good-for-nothings, and when they become stronger, but he doesn't like that he assumes such an attitude towards him. He will make him regret his decision. Kang Seonwon chose darkness and went to exclusive training. He ended up in the isolated place of Imugi. His goal is to survive. Chu Yeol said that this is what he did with the leaders of their city. Ordinary citizens can only participate in virtual training. Sun Tae-eun suggested that his friends go to training with Ogama again. His friend pointed out that they also needed to rest. Another man said that he had already been trampled 3 times, so they needed to think of a plan. Kim Yoo-jung also decided to go to training. He said that the goal of the training was Choi Yu-ryul. The system notified him that the difference between him and the selected target was too great, but he said to leave everything as it was. In the end, he made it to training. Choi Yu-ul watched all the battles and decided to talk to Christina. He told him that it was time to talk about something important and asked if he would tell him who he was. Because he didn't look like a normal demon king or player, Christina replied that it didn't matter. What really mattered was that after they reached the end of the game, they would all return to their own world. He vouched for this and there was no doubt about it. Choi Yul noted that he had evaded the question, but he didn't expect an answer, although he guessed what he might say. Choi Yul asked the 8th player if he knew what else was important, the one who was the player before him. He had heard that if a player lost all their items, they would become a devourer. What would happen if he lost the city? That didn't mean he would lose his objects. If he left the city himself, wouldn't that mean he would become a devourer? Christina replied that the answer was simple. He hadn't lost all his items. Choi Yul asked what that meant, and if he had another city. If so, then everything falls into place. Now it was clear why he didn't spend much time on them, and why it was so easy for him to get rid of them. They were just an appendage that provided resources to the main city. He couldn't gather many resources because of Christina's book. Therefore, he didn't even bat an eyelid when abandoning them. Christina said that this was true, but not all players had several pieces. This player is very special. 3 cities gathered in a single burst and couldn't take a step into this city. Everyone who tried to enter the city of the player who was previously the 8th figure was destroyed by a character whom everyone called a monster. He used the blossoming of the paradise plum from martial arts. These are strikes with filigree movements. One of the residents of another city used the spirit of adventure. This is a legendary class traveler's firearm that conquered an unknown continent. He also used a macaroni western. For a certain period of time, bullets will not be spent and the reload time will be reduced. The city resident dodged all the bullets. A knight crept up behind him and said he would destroy him, but he struck him. The knight does not understand when he miscalculated or if everything was lost from the very beginning. He does not know this and is afraid. He fought them for a whole week and didn't hear a word, a cry, or a shout. They didn't even call out to each other. It was like a snow-white silence, a city of death, and he towered above it. No one would ever find him. This character's name is Choi E-on. He has the maximum level of 600 and the class of mayor. A new round has begun, and the players must roll the dice. The inhabitants of another city have reached the dungeon assault flower. Dungeons will appear from time to time in the city. Their task is to enter the dungeon and defeat the bosses. When the countdown ends, the dungeon doors will open and monsters will rush out. This mission is a joint action mission. Therefore, a random figure was summoned to the same map. Choi Yul said that the feeling of being summoned was something new. The city of figure number 8 was summoned to the city of figure number 32. The mission lasts 5 days and has begun. Choi Yul said to compare Christina's book and the tablet, then download the data into this form and sort it by difficulty from A to D. This would make it easier to understand what was what, and he would go and negotiate an alliance with the 32nd city. Christina asked if he was sure they needed someone else. Surely they could make do with his subjects. Choi Yul said that his mission was to bring back as many people as he could, so if they wanted to save them, they would have to form an alliance. Christina told him to remember how the alliance with figure number 17 ended. Choi Yul said he would not give up. If he were one of those who gave up after the first failure, he wouldn't have gotten this far. Christina wondered how long he would remain so blindly confident. Choi Yul went to the city of the 32nd figure to negotiate an alliance, but he was refused. He said he would provide them with all the necessary information, but the mayor replied that he didn't care and told him to leave. Mayor Carlson Border, level 97, believes that he does not need this information. He will not get there anyway. He said that all their heroes had died, and only about 1,000 people were left alive. They had reached the limits of their development long ago. They have nowhere else to go, so he should ignore them and go his own way. Yahello thought that he was completely out of touch. No matter what he said, it was like talking to a brick wall, so he would have to act differently. Carlson Border said that the same fate would befall them. All they had to do was see this city and this man. Go Hee-ju went to the dungeon of difficulty level A. This was the highest difficulty level. She ended up in a fragment of the abyss. Her opponent was Fenrir, a 5th level enemy. He was a wolf bound by his hatred for the gods. Go Hyaju said that the power she gained over the last year in battles with Prometheus's Fang lies not only in the fact that she borrows the power itself, but also in the fact that she takes over part of his body. Go Hee-ju quickly dealt with the wolf and cleared the dungeon of the fragments of the abyss. Now she was the best fighter. Christina said that this object's skill had grown amazingly fast. He was not mistaken in transferring his authority in this area to him. Choe-yul said that it would now be difficult to negotiate with that city. Krasina said that they would not interfere with them, and that it was not enough for him. Choe-yul replied that they would not survive to the end of the game if they left them. Krasina replied that it was worth doing without foreplay and that his master was listening to him carefully. Choe-yul asked what master and what nonsense this was. Then he said that he had thought about maybe kidnapping their city. After dealing with the dungeon, Go Hee-ju decided to move on to the next one right away. But she noticed that something was happening in the sky. Player number 32 used a magic rocket. It was magic that released clumps of mana. Despite its weak power, it always hits its target. Christina said that there are only 2 events after which a player descends onto the playing field. The first is when the player loses all their objects and becomes a devourer, and the second is during PvP. Christina's opponent agreed to PvP. Christina said that although the consent of both players is required, he can use his power to force the other player to agree. Choe-yul defeated player number 32. Christina can choose how to remove piece 32. This could be dismantling the recruitment of objects, or putting them in reserve. Christina said that dismantling the piece and using its resources would be the easiest option, but he decided to put the city in reserve because he cannot refuse such a serious request. Choe-yul noted that he did not ask for anything. Christina said not to forget that he was doing this to his own detriment. Choe-yul said that he was a joker and that he could absorb the power of that player. He replied that he was not interested in her. It was interesting that this piece of the key had already been used. Choe-yul drew attention to this piece. Christina used it every time he did something against the rules. Was he cheating with it? Christina said to let him take a look and asked if it would work. Choe-yul asked what exactly. Christina replied that the figure 32 had disappeared, and all its dungeons were moving. Now they had twice as many dungeons. Choe-yul asked if that was true. In his opinion, the residents of the 8th city were already ready to act on their own. But they could follow his plan and do everything perfectly. Christina asked if he meant that some people were still against him. Choe-yul asked him not to rub salt in the wound. The player who was previously the 8th figure used a survey card. It allows you to see some information about the player according to the selected number. The player decided to share information about the 8th player with all the other players. After that, a new turn began. The 8th figure's city arrived on the police and thief map. The mission was to catch the goblins, so Insok caught one of them, but the other goblins said that they would have to catch them all. Otherwise, all the stolen points and items would belong to them. The goblin thinks this is a great city to hide in, all because it was developing rapidly. The man caught him and said that he had finally been caught. Kang Ji-woo, Kang Do-sik, and many other residents of the city worked to catch the thieves. They put them in a cage. The goblin asked Kang Do-sik if he thought he was so cool for catching them. After that, things calmed down. Regular missions were carried out under the leadership of Choe-yul with the help of Christina's book. Meanwhile, the residents dealt with the cleanup themselves. The mission was finally over, and Christina used his player abilities to restore the city. He made a cornfield, and then they acquired cheat items. They also destroyed the Devourers to strengthen their abilities. Speaking of the missions that were carried out jointly with other cities, they destroyed players and kidnapped the city. One of the last Devourers proved to be stronger, and Choe-yul was slightly injured during the battle. Between missions, the residents trained constantly. Go Hee-ju realized that she would have to memorize the numbers. Each training room has its own unique number. The result was an unprecedented strengthening of the 8th city. The city now has an industrial zone, a residential area, a farm, and a training center. In some cases, they didn't even need his advice. Choe-yul asked how his plan was going, and Go Hee-ju replied that they would manage. Goblin Jack said it looked reliable, but as always, trouble comes from where you least expect it. Their city arrived at the duel field. The next mission was a random call from 1 to 3 figures. The mission was to destroy all the objects belonging to the other figures. This surprised and even frightened the residents a little. Kwon Jae-yoon said that there had been missions like this before. Kang Do-sik noted that it looked like a battle between players, or, to be more precise, a battle of objects. So Insuk replied that people would still have to destroy each other. Go Hee-ju said that she had prepared herself for this, but it was still too much. However, there were also residents who liked it. Kang Seon-won said that it sounded fun. In his opinion, it was a great mission and just what he needed. Choi Yu-ryul was upset by this mission. Christina said that even if he competed with them, he wouldn't be able to take out 3 of them. Therefore, he suggested reducing the number of figures in advance. Choi Yu-ryul asked if they would stand aside and watch people destroy each other. Christina said that it would be better not to talk about that. Choi Yu-ryul pointed out that this happened before he made the deal with him. The 3 cities united against them to destroy them all and immediately launched an attack. Christina said that they had formed an alliance. He used a stone wall card that built a stone wall to protect one side of the city. He asked Choi Yu-ryul what he was going to do, because they couldn't defend themselves indefinitely. Choi Yu-ryul replied that there was nothing they could do. They would have to destroy all the players as quickly as possible. Christina remarked that he knew he would say that. So he challenged all 3 opponents to a duel, and they agreed. Christina told Choi Yu-ryul that he was with him. Each of them used a card. Choi Yu-ryul said that they had to win quickly. The longer he lingered here, the worse it would be for him. He decided that he had to make every effort to deal with the first one. Christina said that this was an unusual alliance. His opponents used a squeeze that compressed the physical body of the target, reducing their maximum stamina and agility. The players struck him, and he fell. After that, the Goblin Jack joined the battle and said that this was unexpected. His martial arts work even against them. Choi Yu-ryul noted that Christina said that all his skills and equipment are equal in strength to the player's cards. This also applies to the summoning of the Lord. Christina noted that this does not mean that the Lord gains strength equal to that of the player or the Devourer. It would be much more useful to use his skills that enhance his own abilities. Christina asked Choi Yu-ryul what he thought. The soldier said that the wall would soon be destroyed, and that they needed to prepare for battle. Kwon Jae-yoon noticed that Lee Woo-jin was nervous. Therefore, he warned his men that if they felt unsure of themselves, they should retreat. This was not the same as destroying monsters. Lee Woo-jin refused. He did not want to retreat alone. After that, the residents of the other city finally destroyed the wall. They rejoiced that it had finally been destroyed and that their city would now be victorious. As they approached, they saw a desperate lone figure. Kang Seon-won was waiting for them. Some of them said that the first kill would be theirs. The people behind them told the others to move faster, but then they noticed that their people were turning back, and they didn't understand why. Kang Seon-won said that he was undoubtedly becoming better. One man asked him to finish him off once and for all, and he replied that he did not want to. The karma of his magic pearl increased, and his evil tendency parameter exceeded the permissible value, triggering changes. He said that if they wanted to die, they should destroy themselves or fight each other until they died. Goblin Jack said that his opponent was strong and he didn't expect that. Sometimes fighting to the death against a strong opponent is more valuable than fighting for your life. It is better than dedicating thousands of years to training. Therefore, he would gladly accept this lesson. The player used the elemental shield. It is excellent at defending against elemental attacks but weak against physical damage. Christina watched their battle in the city. In his opinion, Jack would not last long, and the objects would not be able to withstand the forces of the third city. Christina said that it seemed that Choi Yu-ryul was still trying to stall for time and wondered what he was waiting for. Breaking through the wall, a resident of another city said that he was Kim Yunan from Hongdae. Therefore, they should hurry up and lay down their weapons. Park Won-ki asked if he was from Kinsando and why he was behaving this way, and he replied that it was his godfather's will. His godfather is one of the players. Isn't it obvious that their cities are reflections of the player's desires? And all that can be said about their city is that the player dislikes them. So let them just lay down their weapons and surrender. At that moment, Kang Seon-won crept up to him. Kim Yunan told him that he would destroy him, and that he wouldn't even feel a thing. Kang Seon-won asked him what he was talking about. He destroyed him and said that he liked to feel pain. For the destruction, he received points and the items of the destroyed object. Kang Seon-won continued to destroy everyone who approached the city. Park Won-ki asked why he was poisoning them. Go Hyeju told him to stop because they were their allies and asked if he had lost his mind. She saw all his rage and asked him what was wrong with him. His evil tendency had reached 100%. The owner of the magic pearl began to transform into Ganshiori. Go Hyeju told the old man to save the people. The people who were with Park Won-ki retreated and told her to tell everyone to retreat. Go Hyeju said that the situation was getting worse. It turned out that all the trouble was his fault again. Go Hyeju engaged in battle with Kang Seon-won, who had turned into a monster. The mayors of other cities who were trying to break through to them noticed that they had destroyed their own wall, putting their crops at risk. One of them is named Miyamoto Kojiro. He is at level 224. The other is named San Chul-dong Koleo. He is at level 193. Miyamoto Kojiro said that there is no city weaker than this one. They cannot cope with 1 or 2 dragons. It's like a battle of monsters, and it's really impressive. So let them show who the king of monsters is here. Miyamoto Kojiro summoned his monster, but unexpectedly, Chahuayul appeared and destroyed his monster, saying that it was very close. Turning to Kang Seon-wan, he said that he had been trying to guess the moment when he would become Ganchiori. Then he told Go Haiju to go back and protect the city. She asked him what about him. Cho Yul said that he had to get rid of all the trash he had been carrying all this time. She doesn't know what's wrong with him, but he looks like a madman. Christina said that whatever he was planning, he should hurry because he wouldn't last long with his temporary skills. He used the dart card 3 times and asked Che Yul if he was listening to him. Yul said that it was good that he had become a Gancheori and was now much more useful to him than a dragon. The owner of the magic pearl turned into an Imugi. Depending on his karma, he would become either a dragon or a Ganchuri. He was worried about what would happen if he changed his mind and became a dragon, but he was grateful to him for his stubbornness, the fool of this world. Ganchuri's fear reached its maximum level. He decided to take advantage of the recruitment of the 4 rulers. If the level of friendship or fear of a lord reaches its maximum, it becomes possible to conclude a contract. He signed a familiar contract with Ganchuri, formerly known as Kansen-wan. He can recruit a maximum of 4 people. Now he has the goblin Jack. Chue-yul reached the dungeon assault cage. He then told the frightened people from other cities to pass through and return to Jack. Jack told the player that he could wait for now. Chue-yul returned and apologized, saying that rescuing people from the trash takes a lot of time. In all games with level-ups, people gain power that exceeds the limitations of their weapons and skills. They also improve their characteristics based on their desires and abilities. Few of them wear unique sets. Using such sets gives significant power, but one mistake can cost you your life. It's all or nothing. Chue-yul received a passive skill from the essence of Ganchiori and activated the embodiment of self-destruction. He poisoned the players, and their health points began to gradually decrease. Chue-yul's stats will increase in accordance with the number of his anomalies. The more time he spends in the self-destruction embodiment, the more additional anomalies are added. To be more precise, the more anomalies, the faster his stats grow. The mythic class is high risk but also high reward. He created an unknown complex potion. Unlike Imugi's poison, Ganchori's poison ignores the enemy's resistance to it. Chue-yul used the poison against the player, and the poison of unknown origin paralyzed his body. His reaction speed, attack power, and defense ability decreased. Chue-yul warned Jack of the danger above. Chue-yul said that the poison's effect on him would soon wear off, and that it would also affect him. Jack did not understand what that meant. But then he realized that Chue-yul had secretly poisoned him with an unknown complex poison. All his characteristics temporarily doubled. Jack immediately went on the attack. Then he said that he barely saved his face. After that, he passed out because the complex unidentified poison had dried him out. Only 1 player remained, and the obstacle was incredibly strengthened by several shields. If he didn't destroy the shield, the barrier would continue to regenerate. All this had to be done in 1 move. The system notified Chue-yul that due to the self-destruction effect, he was affected by a disruption of order. His poisoning progresses to a severely poisoned state. Due to the self-destruction effect, he is affected by a decrease in stability. His characteristics increase in accordance with the number of his anomalies. He struck the player and realized that this was not enough. Krasina said that he lets people take the easy way out while he takes the hard way. Is it really a matter of guilt? Is such human nature possible? It would be great if he used his intelligence without hesitation, but his human nature holds him back. Chue-yul's list of anomalies includes slowed movement, reduced stamina, blindness, silence, overload, loss of smell, hunger, and reduced endurance. It also includes decreased endurance, decreased resistance, weakened attacks, increased mana usage, weakened defense, and lack of regeneration. And finally, severe poisoning. His characteristics will grow in accordance with the number of anomalies. Chue-yul said that he has many increased characteristics from anomalies, but the bonuses from self-destruction are more significant. He told the player not to move because he couldn't see anything. After that, he dealt him the decisive blow and defeated all the players. Hanchari's possession was cleansed, and Chue-yul sighed with relief. Jack also came to his senses and asked if he was okay. He replied that he wasn't, but he would recover soon. Jack said that it was good training, so he should thank him. Chue-yul apologized and said he could take Jupiter for that. Jack replied that he wouldn't refuse and that he liked the sword. Then he asked if he was now his new master. Chue-yul replied that he was, but that he was a little rude and needed to be trained. By the way, why did he choose Ganchori? He is an Imugi who couldn't become a dragon. Ganchori cannot possess a magic pearl. This means that the pearl will choose a new Imugi. Kim Yu-jung, who wants to take revenge on Chue-yul, found it. He hopes that this will help him win. Everyone noticed something strange. They don't understand what's going on. Chue-yul also does not understand why the mission is not complete. they received a notification that a new player has interfered with the mission. Christina said he didn't think they would see him again so soon. The true owner of the 8th piece is the one who made it to the end of the game with him. He is his idol and his sworn enemy. Christina tells everyone to prepare to attack the player. Chue is surprised that Christina is going on the offensive. Christina understands that if they don't strike now, they will lose. He wanted to send a PvP request, but it was denied. The player used the sanctuary, and PvP is prohibited during missions. The player used the absolute seal, and all player actions were frozen for a certain period of time. Christina was surprised by such moves and such speed. The previous players were just bait to learn their tricks. Jack said there was nothing to be done, and there was only one way left. Chue replied that he knew. This time, only destruction remains. Christina said that if the abandoned figure had not fallen, he used the cards to check. It was very thorough, as always. They were found earlier than he expected, and they are not ready yet. He felt sorry, but it seemed he would have to sacrifice the 8th piece. Chue said they needed to strike the enemy quickly. Jack replied that he understood. Chue thought that this super powerful weapon was for devourers and players, but it had no relevance to the matter at hand. He didn't have enough skill. Chue said to organize the residents by level, their strongest against his strongest. As soon as Kwon Jae-eun came out with his people, they were immediately attacked. Chue thought it was impossible. Kwon Jae-eun thought that their movements were being read even in their own place. So In-sok and Kang Do-sik also went on the attack. Kang Do-sik said he had good equipment and decided to take a sword, but he was immediately grabbed. He thought that they had one weapon for all of them. Kang Do-sik realized that he should not make any unnecessary moves because they could sense everything. It was as if they were acting in unison. Kang Do-sik managed to defeat those who had caught him. He and So In-suk were surrounded on all sides. So In-sok asked how they could touch the police. Kang Do-sik suggested leaving because there was no point in fighting. But So In-sok asked if he really thought they would let them go, and then said that they were advancing. After that, they noticed that they were surrounded by Amugi's poison, but they didn't understand how this was possible since he was dead. Kim Yoo-jung, who found the pearl, told them to come here because they wouldn't last long and to hurry up. Meanwhile, Go Hee-ju fought with Choi Ao-ong, and he wounded her. She realized that his attacks were slow, but she couldn't predict them. And her attacks don't even work. It's not so much that their actions are being read. It seems that she and the others are moving as they want to. But Go Hee-ju cannot give up. She drank an elixir that restores health and all anomalies. After regaining her strength, she saw Chae-yul and asked if everything was okay and why he had appeared so unexpectedly. Chu-yo-ryul asked her to leave the matter to him and return to the city. Go Hee-ju doesn't understand what's going on. Jack tells her to listen to him. He will help her, and she should go and protect the people. Go Hee-ju thought that it was probably not worth getting involved. Chae-yul and the master were nervous, and she probably misunderstood everything. Chua-eon said that they hadn't seen his brother in a long time, and that he was happy to see him. Chua-yul noted that he had recovered. That's very good. He couldn't explain everything right now, but he would just listen. There was no need for them to compete. Chua-eon asked if he was trying to ruin the game and return to their world. It was very like him, but he would lose. To win, he would have to destroy him. He hadn't been able to do that before. Jack told Chae-yul that he wanted to destroy him, so he should get out of his way. But in an instant, Choi-eon turned him into a ghost and then struck Choi-yul with his sword. He said that everything was fine, and that he should lie there for a while as if he were dead. When the time came to open his eyes again, he would be met with a wonderful feeling of happiness. But Choi-yul got up and wanted to strike him, saying that he should just sleep a little. Choi-eon blocked his attack. Choi-eon knew everything and saw everything. He said that enough time had passed since they stopped playing like that. When they were children, the doctor said it was because their brains were too active. That's why their bodies couldn't keep up with them. Their mother asked the doctor if both of them had this problem, and he said yes. But their mother noted that Yul did not suffer as much as he did. The doctor explained that Yul's body had learned to cope with this power. It's like multitasking. When the human brain divides its attention, its efficiency decreases significantly. Yul analyzes and comprehends. He also predicts everything he sees at the same time. He reboots his brain to reduce productivity. For Yul, the best medicine is a constantly changing environment. The only problem is Eoni. He has no interest in life. It's just amazing, and he needs some kind of stimulus to reboot his brain. There is something that Eo likes. Christina told the player that he must have had a reason to throw away his best object, Chue-yul. He has a subject with incredibly good compatibility. Chue-yul mentally turned to Krayson and said that they needed to get out of there. Christina replied that he would gladly do so, but there was no way out. Chue-yul mentally told him to use cheats or leave him there. Just don't tell him that's what you want to do. Christina said he had thought about it but wouldn't do that. But he wasn't lying when he said there was no way out. If they had the power of the rulers, he could have destroyed Choi-yul. But the Dimension Disconnection card had been used against them. This imposed a ban on summoning and recalled all previously summoned creatures. Choyu apologized and thought to himself that even if he had those powers, nothing would have changed. On Earth, they had a way of dealing with such situations. Christina was able to make the Absolute Seal lose its power. He used a card that burned bridges, which reset all movement and escape cards, and Armageddon, which is the beginning of great destruction. Then he told the player that he knew it wouldn't do much, but never mind. His target was a little evil. Yul said that he was cheating in his dishonest game, but of course, that wouldn't work on Ioni. Christina told Yul that he always calculated every move he would lose and gain in battle, and his conclusion would be the result of that calculation. Eon said that this was very banal. It was a pain to be the target of such a low-level player. He threw a sword at the player. Then he saw that Christina was using cheats. His player used the Great Escape card. He had to abandon the reward he had earned and run away as fast as he could. Eon said that it was interesting, and after that, the 8th city disappeared. Yul said that it was good that Eon did not have the ability to use such a thing. It would only make things worse. However, he was wounded by the sword and fell. Everyone received a notification that the mission had been completed. Yul quickly recovered and said that he certainly did not expect this. Christina asked if he thought he could handle it, but Yul did not understand what he meant, and then said that the game had become extremely difficult. Christina said that the plan needed major changes. He used an emergency evacuation map that evacuated residents to the city bunker. If the bunker was overcrowded, those who remained would not be able to find shelter. People immediately rushed to take cover. Christina said that about 70% of the residents had survived. Yu said that so many people had been wiped off the face of the earth in an instant. Everything was as expected, and it looked like the city of Choeon. Christina said that it needed to be repaired before plans could be made. Yul wanted to say something, but Christina replied that he knew. He was probably looking for ways to fortify the city. Just like with the training grounds, Yul said that the time had come and he understood him. Christina replied that of course he did. After all, it was part of the game. Christina used the map. Yul asked if it was a card call between missions. There are a lot of bridges appearing there. Christina said that this was a special mission and access was restricted to players, and only once. It was an open world also known as the Remnant World. Kwon Jae-yoon and his subordinates decided to explore the Remnant World. They found the target and called the collection team. They managed to find fireweed. It is a magical ingredient used in healing potions. When used directly, it has no effect. Kipre tastes similar to strawberry. Kwon Ji-yoon said that there are a lot of resources here. It's a great map for collecting items. You can earn a lot of points and equipment here. But if you can't find a way out of here, you could be stuck here forever. Also, the residents who aren't in the city when they have to leave will be left behind. Park Woong-gi said that more and more people are leaving this place and it seems that nothing can be done about it. Ji-woo noted that even Chai Yu-ra was beaten to a pulp, so it's obvious why they're running away. Kang Do-sik thought that it had been 4 days since they moved here. Chue Yu-ra was still downloading guides but wasn't showing herself in public. He must be up to something. Chae-yul told Krasin about the 753,224 rounds and how many defeats there had been. As he had expected, it was impossible to win here using conventional methods. Christina told him not to make him doubt that he had made the right choice in selecting him. Cho-yul noted that they had enough time and that he himself had spoken of a century in a moment. Christina said that he had spoken, and that if he wanted, he could sit here forever. There were 2 reasons why they were using a world without players. The first is to develop like player number 17, or to surrender the game without wanting to end up in the belly of the Devourer or fight a battle. Here they will hide until the end of the game. That is the nature of his name, the remnant of the world. Cho-yul said that for now they would put Cho-eon's operation on hold. In a fair fight he cannot be defeated. It may sound petty, but he must turn the tide of battle in his favor. To do this, he needs to know everything about the players and the game itself. Christina asked if he wanted to destroy Eon after learning all the available information, but he was just a pawn. It wouldn't be difficult to organize. Choe-yul asked if he wasn't agreeing too easily. Christina replied that he was too curious to see how far he could go. Moreover, if he loses, the defeat will be his alone. Cho-yul thought that even if he died, he still had a way out. Then he asked what it was, and Christina replied that he could return to his world as soon as the game was over, and that there was not a shred of a lie in that. The world had simply become part of the game. Such was the fate of a world that had become food for the game. Cho-yul said that it didn't matter whether he won or lost. The outcome was already decided, and who even thought of that? Meanwhile, Cho-eon tried to find the Demon King Christina. He is the Demon King of Greed, and one of the highest-ranking Demon Kings he has ever had to destroy. Cho-eon realized that he was using the player's powers. This meant that he could take the player's place. Cho-eon completed his mission. The pieces of the player he destroyed were transferred to his player. He now had 42, 43, and 52 pieces at his disposal. The player dismantled the pieces to use them to repair and improve his own pieces and obtain materials. After that, he tried to find the 8th piece, but the search was unsuccessful. The piece he is trying to find is hidden or protected. Choi-yul decided to address all the townspeople via video link. He greeted them and introduced himself. Then he said that they had all worked hard for the past 3 months. The city had almost been restored and was awaiting further improvements. Kang Ji-woo noticed that he was nervous. Choi-yul said that he believed they would understand why he was using a live broadcast as a means of communicating with the people who had left the city. His goal for this live broadcast was to reveal the truth about the game and the players. He will also talk about his future plans. The plan is dangerous and crazy, and he offers no guarantees. But he assures them that it will be much safer to stay here. Despite all this, sooner or later, he will explain everything. And now he will begin the most important part. The first truth about this game is that it is a great test of will, or a bad joke of absolute evil. Christina said that these were illusions that he still had. Choi-yul asked if that was not the case. Christina replied that the dream of a perfect being is an empty desire of intelligent beings. If they were perfect, they would have no needs. And if they had no needs, they would not even move from the spot. And if a creature does not move, there is no meaning to its existence. They need each other. They search for someone. They get lost in this ensemble. And that is why this world is imperfect. It's the same in the game. Players travel across the universe with the goal of finding the next planet to eat, a planet with intelligent life. It is not yet clear why the planet they choose must have intelligent life. Perhaps they are attracted by the emotions of the soul or physical shells, or everything at once. To make the victim tastier, they turn the game into a meat roast. Choi-yul asked why all this circus with the game. Christina replied that intelligent life inevitably creates games for itself. This makes it easier for them to adapt and immerse themselves in the process. In addition, games force intelligent life forms to work to their full potential and emotions. They have a habit of rushing headlong toward their goals. Choi-yul said that in the end, it was just a well-established system where beings lose and become part of the game. Christina said that a devoured world ceases to be a source of nourishment. We have to look for a new form of intelligent life, and that is the meaning of the game. Go Haiju asked if he was saying that they were suffering because they had become the target of a monster that devoured planets. Choi-yul replied that he wasn't sure. He doesn't know if the game is a living being. Kwon Jae-yoon said that even if they win, the Earth will be torn to pieces and become just a map. Kang Do-sik said that they would become monsters and compete with the next intelligent life form, and then what would the players do? Christina said he would explain. Once they were objects, but now they were part of the game. Few develop further. They also gain enough power to upset the balance. The game gives such beings the role of interfering in the course of the game and improving the quality of objects. This is the meaning of the player. Kang Ji-woo said that she generally understood what was going on and what the plan was now, but Go Haiju couldn't understand it at all. Choo-yul said that they would burn the game and thus save the Earth. More precisely, all the worlds in the game would return to their previous lives by the power of the game itself. In the end, his plan would lead to its destruction. Go Haiju said that she really thought they were going to burn it. Kang Ji-woo replied that anything was possible because it was Chai-yul. Then Chai-yul said that there were only 2 paths for someone facing a predator. Either existence or struggle, and he chooses the latter. He is too tired of enduring this game, so now the choice is theirs. To stay in the city and compete in the game until its destruction, or to surrender to the thief and live as part of the game. Choi-yul told Christina that he had a question. Christina asked what had happened. Choi-yul asked if he was a player, and he replied that he was. He was a player and a demon king, just like him, but he wanted something more than the power of a player. However, he was defeated. He was defeated by the 99th player who played by the rules and forced him to seal his power and use it as the Demon King. Choi-yul asked him what he wanted. Christina replied that he would only understand when the seal was broken. Only then would he understand everything. To this, Choi-yul said that he was being very sinister. In any case, they had an alliance until the game was destroyed. Christina laughed and said that this was undoubtedly true, and that he need not worry about it. Choi-yul said that he had had enough of his thieving laughter. Choi-yul returned to the team and asked how things were going. Kwon Jae-yoon said that there were no problems so far. They finished building a place for the residents to stay during the reconstruction. Gradually, more and more people are arriving. However, many were still undecided whether to stay or fight. It was too important a decision, and there was nothing they could do about it. In the end, they felt the difference between themselves and the absolute power. Choi-yul said to focus on improving the abilities of each individual. Defeating the 99th was not their main goal. They just needed to come in first. Kang Do-sik asked what would happen if they had to compete. Choi-yul replied that he would not be able to strike him. Therefore, he entrusted this task to them. They thought that maybe they should just stay. Christina thought about his enemy, player number 99. and said that it was strange. Just think, he was worried about Che Yun-ho, but he didn't understand why. He couldn't believe it himself. Chihue Eon said it was just a glitch, a paranormal phenomenon or a system error not intended by the creator. Sometimes errors occur in the game that even the developers cannot read. Christina found them and took advantage of them. In this case, using certain items and skills together with calculated timings, you can try to do something. Using items and skills, he found himself in the player's place. It seemed familiar to him. This equipment is not in the game data. This means that it was made by hand. If his brother created this armor himself, it was for one purpose only. He struck the player and learned something about the player's artificial intelligence and finally about the game. Chue Eon said that he was just like him and just wanted to live. If that was the case, then let him choose him. There is no player capable of defeating his brother yet. Then he saw the player he had hit in front of him and asked if this was the game's decision. Then he said that he just wanted to know who the strongest player was. 200 years have passed in the abandoned world. Chue Yul told Crayson to start everything again. He became young again, and said that this was his fourth regression. Surely it was time for his physical body and the other inhabitants to regress as well. The people were delighted that they had finally returned. Christina asked if there was any point in leaving the city as it was. Choi Yul replied that there was. This was because there was still a desire to protect it, even though it made no sense at all. But without his beard, he felt like something was missing. If time on the map flows more slowly, then after living for 200 years, they had missed about 2 moves. If so, he suggested staying for one more turn. Christina said that skipping the third turn would be too disadvantageous. Chue Yul said not to worry about it because he was worth it. In the end, they skipped another turn and then returned. A new turn began and the players had to roll the dice. Christina used a rush card, which allows you to roll the dice twice in a row. He used a big step card to replace the dice with a 10-sided one, and a jump card, so that only large numbers would appear on the dice. Chue Yul thought that there was no point in sticking to a strategy of hard work to get rewards. It would only increase their lag behind Iona. They had to get to his city as quickly as possible. During the game, 3 moves had to be made in the shortest possible time. This is to effectively increase their stats. After making a move, the city entered the flag capture zone. If they bring the flag to their city, they will win. The current mission is a one-on-one battle with another character. The characters are chosen at random. The opponent of the 8th character is the character numbered 62. Sanchez Miguel, the mayor of the city with a level of 271, said that the blueprints for the city cannon obtained during the Cannon Tower mission adorned their city. What a pity that they still haven't evolved from the Earth era. It seems that getting a flag for yourself won't be that difficult. Chue Yul laughed and said that he could see that the building frames had been reconstructed using high-quality materials, and also with the help of magic and science that had developed over 300 years. That was how they had created the protective barrier that surrounded the entire city. Surely that wouldn't be enough to destroy it. Since they were able to produce heroic-grade equipment themselves, all the equipment in the city had improved significantly. One such item is the K-Class Heroic-Grade Sapsan. The rifle was manufactured using the technology of the 8th city. Depending on the magazine, it can use magic rockets, ice shards, and lightning charges. Since they were able to produce heroic-class equipment themselves, all the equipment in the city has finally improved significantly. The abandoned world is formed completely at random, and the fact that they came across this particular map is an incredible stroke of luck. Therefore, it can be called a treasure map. The residents of city number 62 noticed something in the sky. Go Haeju and the other residents reached their city on Imperial Griffin. Go Haeju struck their mayor, Sanchez Miguel. He said that it was foolish. This time, it would be better to grab the flag quickly and return to the city before their player took action, because then they would be in for a rough time. Go Haeju asked when their player would start acting, and he apologized for his rudeness. Chue Yul said that he still needed to work on his new ability. Then he wanted to say something else, but Christina replied that he knew. He asked if that's what he meant by speedrun, which means completing the game in the shortest amount of time possible. Christina used the second wind card, which allows you to ignore rest and roll the dice a second time in a row. The reward for the next mission would be halved. The card was activated, and the player could roll the dice again. Chue Eon said that now he could see the end. Christina, meanwhile, continued to make his move. After a while, he made his 5th move after returning from the discarded world and continued the game. With each move, the number of cities they had in reserve increased. Very quickly, they completed the missions, reaching the 13th move. A little more time passed, and they had already made 25 moves. After some time, they made their 31st move and continued on. They moved forward until the system congratulated them on being the first among all players. Chue Yul said that everything was going according to plan. The final mission was the last push. The higher the player climbs, the more difficult the tasks become. Upon reaching the highest floor, the player has the opportunity to complete the final mission. Christina suggested that they start and not just play the game, but finish it once and for all. There are 4 paths leading to the top floor. If they are unlucky, they could wander endlessly. Chue Yuo believes that they should trust their luck, which has brought them this far. Christina made a move, and Choi Yuul called him a loser. If he had landed on the right step, they could have gone up to the next floor. They have reached the Demon King's seal zone. Demonic pillars that destroy the seals and the guards protecting them will appear in their path. They need to destroy all the demonic columns and defeat the Demon King Kumbaba of the 10th level of difficulty. This is Kumbaba's final form. This form is considered the strongest of all Demon King. Kumbaba said that they were brave enough to come to him. How brave they are. Finally, an opponent has arrived who can entertain him, but Jack immediately struck him. He apologized and said that he had no free time, so he would strike first. Tumba asked how a pathetic guard could possess such strength. Jack replied that it was all the result of 300 years of relentless training. Now he wields the sword of a demigod. The goblin swordmaster Jack had reached the pinnacle of martial arts and was able to develop his skills to the limit and achieve a divine level. Chue Yul asked Krayson if that meant they couldn't use the teleportation card here. He replied that this was the final stage of the special space. The energy in it is emotionally overwhelming. This is the best and final stage of the game. They want to enjoy it for as long as possible. A new turn began, and the player had to roll the dice. Chue Yul silently asked the dice to roll a 5. Finally, they reached the second floor. Christina said that it seemed impossible to continue on their own. Chue Yul noted that they had even used shortcuts, and the difference was only 4 moves. Then they saw a player. Next to Christina's enemy, the 99th player, was Cho Aeon. Chue Yul noticed his eyes. Christina said that this was the power he used. It took him several millennia to master it. Just think, this power is being used by an ordinary unit. Chue Yul said that this was to be expected from his brother. A new hit began, and the players had to roll the dice. Christina said that it was very interesting, but now it would not be easy to close the gap. Choi Aona rolled a 6. Cho Yul asked Christina if he was sure that this could not be exploited. Christina replied that he was just lucky, or maybe not, so he suggested checking. The 99th player destroyed the Devourer. Cho Yu asked Krayson if he was sure, and he replied that who knows. Now he at least understood that the Bridge Eater was not a problem for him. Cho Eon believed that Cho Yu had nothing to worry about because he would never be able to defeat him. The cities of the 8th and 99th players reached the top. Go Heiju believes that they were caught in the end. Cho Yu asked Krayson if he was saying that it was impossible. He replied that it was impossible, but he noted that it was impossible for an ordinary player. He used the final mission, Battle Without Borders. The competition will continue until the units of both cities are completely destroyed. But during the mission, it is possible to freely choose any city. Go Haiju wonders if they will change their city after everything that has happened. It's even more disgusting. The man said that they had gone too far and couldn't betray this city. Sun Tai-yun asked what they think about the unity of the residents of the 8th city. After that, Choe Eon joined them. He is the 99th figure. Choe Eon said that he wants to convey a message to the residents of the 8th city and offers them to surrender. The reason he was giving them this choice was because it was a waste of his time. They had nothing to oppose him with while he was still alone, and now that he is a player, even more so. Therefore, he offers them to surrender if they wish to preserve their pitiful strength, which they gained thanks to this game. Let them not be ashamed and turn their backs, and those who criticize them will die and disappear anyway. After that, the mission began, and they had 59 minutes and 54 seconds left to make a decision. Within a minute, everyone made their choice. Not a single person decided to change their city. Chue Yul said he was sorry, but that was not enough to destroy their unity after 300 years spent in another world. Only a few wished to leave the city while in another world. Others wanted to fall into an eternal sleep. And the people who remained decided to compete in this game until the very end. The last mission was to begin in a few seconds. Chahue Eon said that he would probably waste his time after all. All his men launched an attack. The people of the 8th city also prepared for battle. The mission began, and Chue Yul and Chue Eon started the battle. After a while, Chue Yul missed a blow, and Chue Eon offered him to surrender. Chue Yul told him to remember one phrase. After all, this was only the beginning. He used Ragnarok armor of an unknown class. His brother realized that this equipment was not in the game data, which meant that it was handmade. If his brother made this armor himself, it was for one purpose only, to increase his physical characteristics. Chue Yul said he thought he would hit him on the first try. His brother replied that with his speed, he could predict his actions. He could see his actions several steps ahead, but that was probably not all. Chue Yul asked if it was his intuition that told him. Kang Do-sik used Unsa's umbrella. It is a staff of mythical origin. Opening the umbrella causes clouds to appear. The size and power of the clouds depend on the user's level. Kang Do-sik suggested they start the battle. So Insok said that the 8th city was closed today for security reasons. Therefore, any intrusion was prohibited. He and Kang Dosik combined the gloves of the Fundak, Unsa's umbrella, and Unsa's cloak, summoning the power of a storm. Go Heiju said that, as expected, it would not be so easy. Their opponents used the legendary ice spears of the dragon assassins. The spear reduces damage from attacks with the opposite attribute and adds a freezing effect. The effect is enhanced if the opponent uses dragon power. So Insok said that here was Hwanun's sword. Kang Dosik noted that they reacted quickly, so Insok replied that it didn't matter because that was what they had expected if the special skills don't work. Go Haiju added that in that case they would simply defeat them with physical strength. Choi Yul said that it was not too late, they could still end the game, and that he should just trust him. His brother, Che Eon, thought he was just stalling for time. In reality, he was just a decoy, and the real culprit was Christina. In a moment, he approached Christina, but Choa Yul pulled him away and asked if he could just play once because it was so much fun. The people of the 8th city continued the battle. The commander ordered to disable the safety devices and launch an attack. Before that, Chahwei Yul realized that Einherjar's battle mantle had a very unique skill called Berserk. It is a mode of blind rage. In this mode, the player loses control of their mind and attacks both enemies and allies. Ragnarok restrains the power of Berserk. However, the player still has no control over their mind. At the same time, physical characteristics reach their maximum potential in the game. Using this skill, Cho Yul took his brother away from Krayson and asked him why he didn't want to play since it was so much fun. Before that, Chahwei Eon wanted to strike him with his sword, but his sword broke. Then Chahwei Yul attacked him with all his strength. People thought it was an earthquake. Kwon Jae-eun realized that the final battle had begun. His subordinate reported that the enemies were approaching. Kwon Jae-eun said to fire artillery at the target. Colonel Kim Seong replied that the target had been confirmed. He said to use ice shells, activate the identification spell, and then open fire. Kwon Jae-eun was informed that the Air Force of the 8th city had begun bombing. Therefore, thunder bombs were to be used. Enemy aircraft had been located, and the bombers were to speed up their operation. Therefore, let them take care of their enemies. They disengaged the safety devices and fired. Kwon Jae-eun used the Divine Mace of Destiny, which strikes enemies within a certain radius. He also used a Divine Split Grenade created using the technology of the 8th city. It causes a collapse. In his opinion, their enemies are more advanced technologically, but they can counter them with the intensity of their attacks. Victory will not be easy, but it doesn't matter. This is not the battle they plan to win. Chihue Eon thought about the fact that they had neither skills nor magic, only hand-to-hand combat. He said that even if it was just physical strength, in the end, it still obeyed the rules of this game. Chahwei Eon used the Aegis Shield card. It reflects all physical damage and is destroyed after receiving a certain amount of magical damage. Then he told his brother that it was useless, but he couldn't hear him. Choi Yul tried to attack him. At that moment, Christina used an explosion. At first, Chahwei Eon thought it was magic, but then he realized it wasn't. There are no magicians among the 4 demon kings. In that case, he decided to take advantage of something and use the equipment of Manananmak Lear of the mythical class. This equipment gives the ability to see through any magic. It is the ability of the great god of the sea and magic. As he expected, it was indeed a spell. It is magic that separates the soul from the body. When this magic is used, the body is left completely defenseless. Therefore, it is more suitable for a show than for battle. The body can be put into berserk mode, and the soul that remains outside can be sustained with magic. Chue Eon said that it was ridiculous and that he was indeed his brother. Chue Yul replied that it was a little off topic, but of course it was interesting. Then Chue Eon asked him to answer the question of why he wanted to finish the game so badly. People must be inside the game. They receive their life goals and tasks, and upon completing them, they are guaranteed to be rewarded. In the game, a person can become a human being because on Earth, people are no different from animals. That's why it needs to end. Chewa Eon saw that the entire city was filled with listening devices. Were they trying to hack the game? Before he got into the game, their parents died. Their mother spoke to Choa Yu on the phone and said she was glad that he was doing well. She told him not to worry about them because his mother and father were fine and to return to his beloved. She asked her husband what had happened. At that moment, monsters attacked the city. Their parents were in the game and tried to escape. Their father threw a dice and received a resurrection of the mythical class. If worn, it increases healing power. It also enhances skills. When used, it can cure one specific person of any disease and even death. But after use, the Ankh self-destructs. Their parents realized that this was their chance to cure their son. People began to fight not only against monsters but also against other people. Their parents tried to fight off their attacks. They decided that they had to get to the hospital and give the Ankh to Chue Aon. On the way to the hospital, they were badly injured and died after giving him the Ankh. Chue Yul and Chue Eon continued the fight. Chue Eon said that it would be difficult to predict this attack, but it would be much easier to destroy his brother's horses. Chue Yul said that they were not horses, but people. Chihue Eon said that the weak always become pawns of the strong. That was true on Earth, and it was true in the game. It was up to him to decide which was better, to be the horse of the strong or the prey of the same strong. So Insok told everyone to retreat immediately. The police guild must protect the citizens and stand to the last. Therefore, they must not take a step back. Kang Dosik told the newbies to be a little gentler. Kim Yu-jung, who had taken Imugi's pearl, replied that he understood everything. Then Kang Do-sik thought that at first glance the forces seemed equal, but they were gradually losing ground. Christina thought that after everything he had done to achieve this long-awaited goal, this would be his last step. Whether it was the game or him, one of them would surely meet their end. Che Yul and Che Eon continued their battle. Chu Yul said that winning the game had never been their priority. Chu Yul and Eon decided to break the game. He said that he should have saved this ace up his sleeve in case he lost. Che Yul asked what about this and attacked him. Cho Eon parried his attack and said that he was already used to it. Cho Eon used a soul strike. It is a burst of spiritual energy that damages the opponent's spirit. The soul strike hurt Cho Yu, who said that, as expected, his brother was incredible, but he knew this would happen. This was his last hope, so he offered to play. Cho Eon asked if he was going to use such a simple move. Choe Yuriul asked if he knew that they say that the simpler, the better. Choe Eon realized that he was trying to buy time. Meanwhile, Christina finished hacking the game. He used the spell Long Live the King, which allows him to control units. The lower-level units of the spellbook owner are subject to control. The number of units that can be controlled increases with the level and rank of the owner. Long Live the King has two modes, automatic and manual. Automatic mode operates according to the settings. There is also a manual mode where the owner takes control. Chue Yul said that his power had finally been unleashed. Let them release all the creatures that can summon tamed monsters and magical golems. Absolutely all of them, to do everything to attract the attention of Chai Yuna. From that moment on, Yoon took everything under his control. He finally showed his true power. Before that, Song Chuldong Kolio said that he knew this moment would come. How dare he treat people like animals? People don't obey anyone. Then he asked Miyamoto Kojiro what was wrong. He replied that nothing was wrong and that everything was fine, but he remembered his conversation with Choi Yurim. He had come to convince them that living in the game wasn't so bad. This made him think, but he couldn't tell the children that they were toys in the hands of gods, even if it cost him his life. So he took up arms and went on the attack. Sanchuldong Koleo told the gentleman to fill them with lead. There were only 5 of them, but why were they losing? Chvei Ionu found his brother's strategy familiar. Minimal use of resources to build up strength, all in order to deliver the decisive blow at the end. Other cities also joined the battle. Go Hiju said to go on the offensive and launch a counterattack. Quan Jae-yoon activated his hidden ability, Holy Battle. It is activated when Heldon's full equipment is used. The ability gives all guild members sacred armor and weapons. The goddess's blessing significantly increases all the characteristics of the guild member. Chue Eon thought that everything was as expected from his brother, but what was this feeling? It was familiar to him, yet at the same time foreign. Then Chue Yul said that it was not enough. Chue Eon thought the same thing. Colonel Kim Song said to attack with full force now. They released magical golems, tamed monsters, summoned creatures, and everyone else. Now they would do everything to distract Cho Eon. But Chahue Eon believed that it was all in vain because he had predicted everything his brother could prepare. He couldn't control all people. He thought too highly of himself and ultimately lost. Did his brother really hope for luck? Cho Yul understands that Eon does not know his limits. No one has ever pushed him to this point before. He adapts quickly. Even if he reaches his limit, it won't stop him. But when Eon reaches that state, at that very moment, they will have a chance to win. They just need to guess the right moment. So Insuk asked if that was possible, and Go Hyeju replied that of course it wasn't. Kwon Jae-yoon agreed that there was no chance. Go Haiju said to try to find him and then attack when Eon reaches his limit. Seo In-seok pointed out that Chaeyoul is weaker than him. He said so himself. Chaeyoul said that if they had another plan, he was all ears. Kwon Jae-yoon said that they had decided on a plan. He asked Mr. Chaeyoul to focus only on Chae-eon's weakness. Let them leave the task of hunting down Chae-eon to them. Choi Yuil said that was impossible. Kwon Jae-yoon replied that they had come together from the beginning to accomplish the impossible. It was logical to bet on the side with the best chance of winning. Remembering this conversation, Choi Uriol tried to concentrate. He tried to focus on Eon's movements. His comrades would surely create a breach in his defense. Choi Yu-ul decided to review Christina's book. Then he applied the ultimate secret technique of the Heavenly Wolf. And he used the technique of the falling gods. Cho Eon thought he had caught a fleeting delay that could barely be considered a breach. He really did manage to do it. Cho Yul said that was true, but that he wouldn't have been able to do it. Not multitasking, but focusing on one thing. Not managing people, but working with them. He learned all this from people whom Choe Eon considered pawns. Choe Yul was able to deal him a powerful blow. Cho Eon asked why he didn't destroy him. He would never have another chance to defeat him. He replied that he had no intention of destroying him from the very beginning. He must remain silent until his brother finishes his business. Then they would discuss everything. A place where this very energy has been exhausted. They are frozen in time, waiting to be called upon to carry out their mission. And even deeper lie cards so destroyed that they cannot be used in missions. This is the place of the fallen worlds. To become one of the 4 rulers, 2 conditions must be met. The first is to fill the fear meter to the maximum. The second is to fill the friendliness meter. Although he cannot guess how Eon will behave, he is sure of one thing. Eon loves him and their family. Perhaps with his help in the game, it is possible to create a perfect world. But a world created by the will of one person will never be perfect. In time, Chua-Eon will understand this. And now it's time to end this game. Chua-Yul asked his brother to watch the house while he went down to the place where all the fallen worlds were hidden. Jack asked if he knew what was there. He replied that he did not, and that even Krasina had never been there. Perhaps this was also the first time the game had come here. Going down, he noticed that it was very dark there, and then he saw lifeless bodies. Cho Yul said that this was a world that had become part of the game. To be more precise, these were entire worlds. Jack noticed that the lifeless bodies were very similar to his race. Then they saw an explosion, and someone said that no matter how many of them were destroyed, there was no end to them, but that was their fate. The cat said that this was the result of experiments on humans. The wolf replied that he had warned him not to play with food. Chue Yul said that it seemed that intelligent beings in this world were not humans. Jack thought they looked very cute. Finally, Chue Yul roughly understood how everything worked here. The worlds here could still generate emotional energy. Below was a warehouse of worlds where that energy had disappeared. They seemed frozen in time, waiting to be called upon to carry out their missions. Even deeper lie completely destroyed maps that can no longer be used in missions. Jack said that it looked like there was no way forward. Chue Yul replied that there was only one thing left to do. They had to break through. He managed to break through and descend even further. Jack said that it seemed they were on the right track. Choi Yuryul replied that they were. This was definitely the place where the Demon King Krasina was sealed. Any world that fell prey to the game would perish. But natural units are probably being used as Demon Kings or gods. Jack said it was unclear where Krasina was sealed. Chahwei Yul said that during a system check, there was mention of an anomalous element that could pose a threat or obstacle to the game. If this object is dangerous, it was isolated on its own. Jack said that it looks like someone is going to lead them out. Chuyul noticed that the book flew very quickly and crashed into something. Chuyul was surprised to see a rift appear in the void. Jack said that it was a rather crude method, but if they made too much noise, someone might hear them. Chuyul realized that they were in trouble because the NPCs had noticed them. He had a feeling that it wouldn't be so easy. Jack told him to be careful with these creatures, and he replied that he knew they could copy his characteristics. But they couldn't stop him with just his characteristics alone. He understood that they had to hurry, because if they decided to attack him, then the city was probably in danger too. The creatures realized that they were trying to finish the game. The living statue said that the special mission aroused his rational curiosity. Another statue replied that this was quite logical. A creature from another city said that the vile creatures from the 8th city were trying to finish the game, but he will repay them with justice. Kang Jiwoo believes that this is no surprise. Many people prefer to live in the Matrix, rather than in the real world. The soldier reported that 42 enemy cities had been confirmed. The enemy forces number approximately 5 million people. 15 players have also been confirmed, and 9 or 10 devourers, but their numbers are still growing. Seo In-suk asked why they were so unlucky. Kang Dusik agreed with him. Until now, the game had tried to stop them within its rules, but now it was clearly going beyond them. It seems that the game senses that its end is approaching. Meanwhile, Choi Yul and Jack were looking for where Krasina was sealed. Choi Yul fought off the NPCs that attacked him. At that moment, Krasina's book made a breakthrough. Jack said the road was open. Choi Yul immediately rushed there. The NPCs tried to catch up with him, but as they passed through the breach, they were destroyed. Go Heiju told the attackers that she was giving them one last warning. If they took another step, she would attack. But they threw their swords at her, and she said that it seemed that dialogue was not possible. Kwon Jaehyun said that there were too many enemies. They needed to respond with an open battle. They used a shield to protect their city. Sangchul Dongkoleo told everyone to retreat to the shield. The living statues tried to stop them. One of them said not to let them go. Let them destroy the hungry pigs who remained and who still regretted the past. Kwon Jae-eun said to attack to protect those who were evacuated. Then he asked the living statue what he had heard from the game. He replied that they wanted to destroy this paradise and return to Earth. He considered them naive. Even those they considered gods were just puppets of the player. Had they really decided to destroy a game controlled by such a player? How was that even possible? He suggested that his men surrender and accept their fate. Kwon Jae-eun apologized. Then he said that he didn't want to upset him, but there was one thing. They were a people whose DNA was programmed to reject death. Kwon Jae-in strikes him, and his subordinate informs him that the first line of defense has been destroyed. Kwon Jae-in inquires about the situation. He replied that about a third of the work was done. Kwon Jae-yoon told him to retreat while maintaining formation. Even if they die, they must not let them break through. Kwon Jae-yoon thought that if the city was destroyed, the game would be over for Choi Yu-ryul. Therefore, they had to hold on at all costs. After breaking through the breach, Choi Yu-ryul asked Jack if everything was okay. Then a huge demon appeared before him. Christina said that he had finally arrived, so he should quickly destroy his seals. Choi Yu-ryul immediately noticed this big guy. Christina said that the key was already in his hand. He looked at the sword and said that first he wanted to check something. He asked what the game had taken from him and what his true goal was. Christina asked what would happen if he didn't like his answer. Choi Yu-ryul replied that he would destroy him and end the game. But Christina asked if he really thought that was possible without his help. Choi Yu-ryul replied that if it were a matter of possibility, he would not have made it this far. Go Haiju thought that the enemies were strong, but they could be defeated, although it would not be easy. The problem was that the two of them were not enough to fight the player and the city devourer. The player used the free archer card. It strikes the highest level unit in the enemy city. But at that moment, Christina reaches them. He immediately destroyed the player. Go Haiju asked if he wasn't going to fight against the game together with Choi Yu-ryul. Christina thought that what had been taken from him and what he wanted was freedom. The game had turned him into such a creature, and his world had long since perished. But it opened his eyes. Endless worlds were engulfed by the game. Looking at this place, he thought. He wanted to see what lay beyond, to leave the game and enter the vast universe and look beyond its boundaries. Christina used the cards and thought that this was why he had resisted and why he had been sealed away. Jack told Choi-yul that it was unexpected that Christina had left the completion of the game to him. Choi-yul replied that his goal was not revenge. It was a very winning strategy. Christina, possessing all the data about the players and devourers, protects the city, and he will take on the battle against the game, about which there is no information. Jack said that in a competition with an unknown and stronger opponent, there was no one better than him. Choi-yul replied that the assessment was burdensome, but he would try to live up to expectation. He managed to look inside the game and told Jack that now they would see what they had there. Then he shouted that there was the face of a monster that devoured worlds called the game. Choi-yul began to fall somewhere. He felt as if he were in water, and then he started laughing. Jack asked him what had happened. Choi-yul felt a powerful wave of emotions. These emotions were so strong that they were impossible to bear. Jack asked him if he was crying. Choi-yul understood what was going on. Emotions were the food of the game. They were so powerful that they became material, and by feeding on these emotions, the game continued to live. Going downstairs, Choi Yu-ryul saw something huge and thought it was the game. It looked like a whale, but maybe it was something else. Maybe it was a whale after all. He felt nothing, neither good nor evil, and no signs of life. It existed and did not exist at the same time. Then he felt a wave of emotions again. Jack told him to control his mind and that he needed to pull himself together. Choi-yul thought that this was an impossible level, but if he continued to experience such strong emotions, he would go mad. But he had one way to get rid of it. He said that emotions were signals caused by brain stimulation, and if he was in a state of soul, or more precisely, outside his body, then there would be no problem. He activated Berserk and his body attacked the game. Choi-yul's body said that he definitely hit him, but nothing happened. Choi-yul realized that they had the same feelings. But what was this feeling of dissonance now? He noticed that the whale was using magic weapons, and realized that there was no end to this. Choi-yul said that even magic that strikes the soul didn't work, and they couldn't feel his energy either. The power Christina had given him was also useless. Choi-yul told Jack, who was in his body, that he was leaving and to follow him. They tried to dodge his attacks. Choi-yul decided that they needed to think simpler. Physical and spiritual contact was impossible. If there is no energy, no magic, no will, they can see him, but he does not exist in this dimension. Therefore, he must either move to that dimension or drag the game here. Meanwhile, Go Haiju and everyone else felt as if a storm was coming. Christina fought against the devourers alongside them and realized that the cheat was reacting to something, but this had not happened before. Choi-yul said that he had used all his skills in the game, but it was useless. Jack in his body replied that there would be another attack, so they needed to be careful. The game attacked them. Choi-yul said he had a plan, so everyone should get ready. Jack replied that he should hold on because he wouldn't last long. Choi-yul realized that the game's body was reacting to every glow. There was nothing left to do but find out what it meant. Jack tried to attack the game and then something strange happened. Choi-yul didn't understand what it was. He noticed that a piece had just separated. He said that part of the game had changed and moved to this side. It must have happened in exchange for the cheat. This happened after Jack touched the game with the sword he got from Christina. Jack said they found a way to destroy it. Therefore, They must continue. Chae-yul understands that they don't have enough cheats to completely extract the game, but they have no other choice. He decided that they need to use the most powerful magic attack on the visible part. The picture changes when the cheat collides with the game. Perhaps the worlds that were absorbed by the game are using cheats to move the game into this world. In that case, this amount is indeed insufficient. They found a breach through which they entered here. Chae-yul said they needed to move here and asked Jack if he had a plan. Passing through the breach, they saw NPCs waiting for them. The whale-shaped game continued to follow them. Chae-yul thought that if the world was taken over by a game that gave power through cheats, then why did it only start acting now? But the answer was simple. It had been waiting for someone to figure out the whole thing, and for that one moment to strike at the heart of the game. Chae-yul said that it had finally appeared before them. This was the true face of the game. Then they felt an incredible power. Jack said it was powerful energy. Chae-yul returned to his body and replied that it was true, and that this power far surpassed that of a berserker. Chae-yul told Jack to be careful. They had to try hard because the enemy was still stronger than them. Jack replied that he knew. But it wasn't worth swinging his sword. Jack immediately went on the attack, but his attack didn't work, so he retreated. Chae-yul thought that if emotions were food for the game, then it would gain endless strength from this ocean of sensations. So he decided that she had to be expelled from here. He began to circle around the game, using the power of the sword Christina had given him. Then he told Jack to push. The game had to be thrown away somewhere far away. Jack replied that he understood. While fighting the consumers, Christina saw the game. Chae-yul and Jack managed to push it out. When the first cry of the game sounded, all the creatures that belonged to it fell to their knees, except for the 8th city, which was protected by a cheat code. Then, when the second cry sounded, all the creatures belonging to the game plunged into madness, filled with a thirst to destroy the 8th city. Kwon Jae-yoon said that even the inhabitants of the allied cities had become enemies. He felt sorry for them, but they couldn't stop there. Then he attacked the attackers and thought that he would be happy even if he had to. Chae-yul asked if he couldn't accept the quick destruction, but the preparations to capture the game's forces were complete. They needed this power to return the land to its previous state. Analysis of the game's situational field and cheats capable of changing reality helped in creating the code for the hack. For now, only objects could be controlled, but if they took more power, it would work on the players as well. The game attacked them. Chae-yul and Jack tried to hold back the attack. At that moment, help arrived. Chu Yo-reong saw Go Haiju and Junior Lieutenant Kwon. Go Haiju said that they needed to get out of there first. So Chae-yul used the emergency evacuation code and then asked everyone how they were doing. Go Haiju replied that Christina had also shared his power with them. Chae-yul asked if he was serious and wondered if he had any more cheats left. Christina said that these were cheats that had been saved in case he failed, to be used at the right moment. But he was also a player, and realizing that there would be no other chance like this, he put everything on the line. Chu Yeju remarked that he never lets his guard down. Go Haiju asked him to focus on capturing the power of the game. Kwon Jae-yoon said that they would take care of the defense in the meantime. Jack noted that they would see how much his student had grown. Chu Yol thanked them for their help and said that in that case, he was counting on them. Go Haiju, Jack! And Kwon Jae-yoon continued to attack the game. Kwon Jae-yoon used a shield to defend himself. At that moment, Jack and Go Haiju tried to attack the game. Go Haiju asked if the damage they had tried to inflict on him was working. Jack told her to focus on preventing him from getting close to Chae-yul. Christina noticed something and wanted to tell Chae-yul about it. But he understood everything himself and said that he could not interfere in the game. More precisely, he could only do so with the help of the system. Colonel Kim Seong said that the Demon King and the gods were coming, so they needed to calmly deal with each one in turn. He told everyone to continue defending the city. Soldiers Kang Ji-woo, Kim Yu-jung, and Park Woong-ki launched an attack. Meanwhile, Christina, along with So In-sok, Kang Du-sik, and the ruler of Gang Cheori, fought against the players and the city devourers. Cho Yu continued to hack the game. He needed a little more, but he didn't have enough cheats. Christina also had no more aces up her sleeve. For a moment, he thought their last bet had failed, but in fact, all was not lost. At the very least, with the power of the game stolen so far, the land would be restored. At that moment, the game swallowed it. Cho Yul said that perhaps the game had absorbed the land. Did that mean that when the protection of the book ended, he would also disintegrate? If so, he had to gather his remaining strength, and then land at least one blow. Then the book spoke to him. He heard his brother's voice from the book asking if this was his brother's worst move. Choi Eon began to climb out of the book and said that when different worlds collide in the game, an error occurs. Of course, if it is not the energy of a collision between worlds, then no error occurs. But if you analyze the collision formula and the calculated speed and power of colliding objects in a given world, it will cause a small error. Choi Yul thought that his brother had created a cheat with this power and managed to get out of the book. It sounds like nonsense. Choi Yul asked if he really wanted to compete again, but Choi Eon did not answer. Choi Yul asked if he really wanted to help, why he had suddenly decided to do so, and if he could even hear him. Choi Eon said that this error was not enough. But if you collide more than 74 and 0.3% of the items in the game, you can create enough mistakes. Choi Yul pointed out that they didn't have time to collect items. Choi Eon told him not to worry because this was their way out, a 100-sided die. It is given at the beginning of the game. It contains all the equipment that exists in the game. They will use the cube to summon and collide all the equipment. Choi Yul asked if he had used the dice and kept it with him, and he replied that there was no need. Now the choice is up to his brother, but he is still against leaving the game. Choi Yul asked why he was helping him. Choi Eon said he had already explained. It was because he had lost, and creating the world he wanted was not necessarily inside the game. The game was just the easiest and quickest way. People continued to defend the city, but in an instant, something happened. It was as if everyone had been transported somewhere else. So Insok asked if the game was up to something. Kang Dusik asked why everything had gone quiet. Using an umbrella, he rose up and saw their city that was in the game and said, "Have they really returned to Earth?" People couldn't believe that this had really happened. The game window no longer opened. Sun Tae-yun said that the phone connection had been restored. Everyone immediately started calling their family. Someone called his mother and asked where she was. A man called his wife. Go Hae-ju said that Chae Yu-ra and the master were nowhere to be seen. At that moment, Chae Yu-ra was next to his brother, Chae Eonam. Cho Yul thanked him for his help in getting them out of trouble, but they still had one last thing to do. They still had to deal with the game. Christina told Jack not to let his guard down because their enemy was the game. Jack replied that a wounded beast is the most dangerous. Cho Yuryul said that it was approaching. Then he saw that the game's cubs had escaped. Chue Yuryul realized that he couldn't hurt them. Christina asked if the game had hidden the cubs using its remaining power. Choi Yul thought that all the power had disappeared in an instant, and that the game was definitely dead. Surely it had transferred its remaining power to its cubs. His brother, Choi Eon, asked if she had entrusted revenge to her descendants. Choi Yul replied that who knows, maybe she just wanted to protect them. Choi Eon remembered their parents who had died trying to save him. As a result of this battle, there was no great victory, nor was there any great evil. It was just a normal struggle of the ecosystem, where some eat and are eaten, and only the Earth survived. Choi Yul asked everyone if they were returning. Now the Earth was reunited, destroyed as it was in the game. To prevent great chaos, they had to act quickly. Of course, he had already thought everything through. After some time, they created a special external space defense unit of the United Army of the Solar System, Sambel Cho. The commander-in-chief of the White Comet, Kwon Jae-yoon, said that this mission was to protect the elven race that had asked for shelter, but that they should be especially careful. Now they were leaving the solar system and beginning their discovery. The news reported that 2 years had passed since the end of the game. Earth had fallen into chaos. But thanks to the efforts of Choi Yuryul and the citizens of the 8th city, the situation quickly stabilized. The 8th city is now called Asadal. It has become a key city. Sun Tae-eun said that the borders that existed before the game no longer made sense. The world was reorganized around megacities called key cities. Asadal became the largest key city in the new land. The news anchor said that there must still be people who missed the game. He replied that this was indeed the case. Those who believed that the game was a paradise created by God are called the exiles from paradise. Those who died in the game could be reborn many times, but these are copies embodied in the form of data. They are beings that can only live in the game. Their real bodies have indeed met their demise. But for some, it doesn't matter if they are real or not. Some want to return because they believe the game is an eternal paradise. Some want to return because their children are there. This will probably remain a topic of discussion. The host suggested changing the topic. Sun Tae-in agreed. He said that they would then talk about the latest news about the heroes of Asadal. During this time, the first investigation department was created. It deals with special crimes in the solar system, so Insok said that it bothered him. Those expelled from paradise are becoming increasingly aggressive. Kim Yoo-jun said that he could partly understand them, but they had chosen the wrong methods. Then he turned into a dragon and told his superior that he was ready to go, going down to the people, so Insok told them to stop because the police had arrived. Black Bear. So Insok noted that resistance would only result in injury. Kang Dusik was informed that 16 pieces of legendary equipment had been found. He asked if the quality had been confirmed. He was told that it had been confirmed. He said he understood and warned them to return carefully. He believes that her abilities are unchanging. It is interesting when she will accept their offer to join them, because there is no place that can offer better conditions than they do. Kang Dosik became president of Hongik, a leading solar system company. Now he is the right hand of Midas. Go Haiju asked Kang Ji-woo if she had refused the offer. She replied that she had said earlier that she preferred to be a freelancer. Go Hee-ju replied that she was glad she was helping them anyway. Kang Ji-woo remarked that she was taking good care of herself. Kang Ji-woo became a senior appraiser of the Eye of God. She asked Go Hee-ju where she was now. Go Hee-ju replied that she was on Mars. Kang Ji-woo asked if she was still sticking her nose into other people's business. She replied that it was necessary in order to catch up with the master and Che Yura, but now she had to go, so they would talk later. Kang Ji-woo wanted to say that she shouldn't even try, but she didn't have time because Go Hee-ju hung up. Earth was not the only planet to be revived. Most of the celestial bodies returned to their original universes. But by merging with other stars, fragmented worlds were created. Some of them rebelled against each other. The creature said that the mine was too good for pigs who knew nothing about art. All they could do was create ugly weapons. Another creature replied that weapons were practical and that goblins should stick to design, but some did not agree. In his opinion, beautiful weapons are the highest form of practicality. Go Hee-ju told them to stop arguing. Now she was the second son of the solar system, a blue dragon flame. She said that enough was enough. The creature immediately noticed her magnificent, perfect weapon. He asked to touch it just once. Another creature told the strong woman, Go Hee-ju, to compete with him, or better yet, marry him. Go Hee-ju thought that maybe she should return. The Special External Space Defense Unit of the United Army of the Solar System left the solar system. Chve-yul asked Krayson if he was leaving. He replied that it was interesting to observe this universe, but let him remember that he had a greater goal. To see the vast expanses beyond the game, to go beyond the boundaries of a single star's ecosystem, and see the ecosystem of the entire universe. Chwe-yul asked if it was really necessary to go. The plan to free the other universes absorbed by the game was already underway. Christina replied that he had said he wanted more. What if the game was not the highest predator in the ecosystem of this universe? Is there anyone who uses the game as food? Choi-yu-il told him not to say such scary things with a smile on his face. Christina said he couldn't resist the urge to see it all and would leave now. Chve-yul replied that he knew it would be like this. Turning to his brother Che-eon, he asked him where he was going. He replied that if he stayed here and played with him, would he win? Chwe-yul replied that that was not the point. Chwe-eon said that his whole world was him and his parents, but the opportunity to save them here was already lost. Chwe-yul said that when he stole the power of the game, he wanted to somehow revive those who had died. But that was impossible. Chwe-eon said that was why he was leaving, to find a being that surpassed the game. If such a creature existed, he could use its power to bring his parents back to life. Chihwa-yul asked how that was possible since they were already gone. Chihwa-eon replied that his parents were here. He had transferred their data before the game ended. So wait, and he would return with his parents, and then they would play again, risking the world or even the universe. Chu-yul said that he still felt like he had let something much more dangerous than a game go. Jack said that they had a lot of work to do. Choe-yul agreed with him, but that work remained the same as before. To prepare, train, share knowledge and strength, and move forward together. They would definitely survive, even if the game came or something worse. The game system announced that all the materials needed to create seeds had been collected, and that seed creation was underway. Life in this galaxy is created randomly. The game system asked the players if they wanted to start a new game.